कितना हैरान हूं मैं इस जंगल में, इस दूर दराज जजीरे पर, मेरे इस खैमे की तन्हाई में कौन बसा गया है आपको।
हीरे तो महंगा सी प्यार मेरा, हीरे तो महंगा सी प्यार मेरा, चांदी दे पिछे भज भज के तू गवा लिया प्यार मेरा, लोकां दे पिछे लग लग के तू गवा लिया प्यार मेरा। हीरे तो महंगा सी प्यार मेरा, हीरे तो महंगा सी प्यार मेरा। नहीं लभना तेनू प्यार मेरा, नहीं लभना तेनू प्यार मेरा हुण, नहीं लभना तेनू प्यार मेरा हुण। लोकां दे पिछे लग लग के क्यों तू छड्डता साथ मेरा, लोकां दी गल्लां विच आके दिलों तू कड्डता प्यार मेरा, लोकां दे पिछे लग लग के क्यों तू छड्डता साथ मेरा, लोकां दी गल्लां विच आके दूर करता प्यार मेरा। मंगिया सी मैं तैनू रब तों क्यों नहीं मिलिया प्यार तेरा, ओ मंगिया सी मैं तैनू रब तों क्यों नहीं मिलिया प्यार तेरा। होरां दी गल्लां विच आके दिलों तू कड्डता प्यार मेरा, होरां दी गल्लां विच आके दूर करता दिल तू मेरा। हीरे तो महंगा सी प्यार मेरा, हीरे तो महंगा सी प्यार मेरा, चांदी दे पिछे भज भज के तू गवा लिया प्यार मेरा, चांदी दे पिछे भज भज के तू गवा लिया प्यार मेरा।
हैरान हूं मैं इस जंगल में, इस दूर दराज जजीरे पर, मेरे इस खैमे की तन्हाई में कौन बसा गया है आपको।
हीरे तो महंगा सी प्यार मेरा, हीरे तो महंगा सी प्यार मेरा, चांदी दे पिछे भज भज के तू गवा लिया प्यार मेरा, लोकां दे पिछे लग लग के तू गवा लिया प्यार मेरा। हीरे तो महंगा सी प्यार मेरा, हीरे तो महंगा सी प्यार मेरा।
Hello guys, welcome back to another live stream. अबे यार क्या सही है दोस्तों, इंडिया तो गई रे बाबा। La 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 la. La la la. Oh, 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 oh. Close steps to the right. क्या चल रहा है गाइस? इंडिया तो गई भाई, सब चले गया ऑटो। क्या क्या खेल रहे हैं पता नहीं, मेरे को समझ में नहीं आता है स्टॉक्स। La 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 la। सर की जो सर से वो धीरे धीरे। शॉर्ट है यार, शॉर्ट नीतीश। पागल हुआ रे मैं धीरे धीरे। 117 में 5। सब कुछ थोड़ी बता दूंगा। आओ यार आओ भाई, स्ट्रीम पे आओ लौंडे। हाई फ्लैट पवन क्या था? ब्रेव। PMGC भी लाइव आ चुका है गाइस। पहला मैच करेंगे हम वॉच पार्टी। चिल गाइस लाइव PMGC। ओके ओहो हो। ओ बेटे ऋषभ पंती कह दे भाई, ये भी चौका लगेगा, बीएसएनएल चौका। भारत 36 रन से पीछे पर 5 विकेट खो चुकी है 121 पे यार। ला 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 ला। स्कॉटी पोलैंड। ओपन और 4 स्लिप 5 स्लिप। What the fuck भाई? Nothing to take away into it. ओके बाहर की बॉल जाते छोड़ दी। को आ चुका है और मैं ये सोच रहा हूँ ये मैं समय हूँ। ओके ओरे बेंचो Born in red, peaked in blue, died in white. जो लंस को हो जाए आखिरी गेंद भाई, आखिरी गेंद पिंक बॉल टेस्ट मैच के दूसरे दिन की, और उड़ाया और गैप में मारा है। क्या चौका मिलेगा? जी हाँ, बहुत बढ़िया खेलते नीतीश रेड्डी, माफ कीजिएगा। चलो भाई, इंडिया से ऑस्ट्रेलिया होगा, हम चलते हैं अब PMGC पे। भारत 29 रन से पीछे, 128-5 स्कोर है। कोई आ नहीं है लाइव देखने, कोई बात नहीं, नहीं आता है तो भी कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता, आता है तब फर्क पड़ता है। अब हम देखेंगे PMGC ग्रैंड फाइनल्स। ये बंदा लाइव है नहीं है मिस्टर स्पाइक। कौन तुझे करो तैयारी, आ रहे हैं भगवाधारी।
Well, we're back here once again for day 2 of the PUBG Mobile Global Championship Grand Finals here in London, and I cannot wait to get things underway today. I'm your host, Jason Kappen, joined once again by the two handsome gentlemen to my left, Seven Worlds Gaming and Seven Worlds Gaming. No, I'm just kidding. And MaxMan.
Okay.
Going to be joining me here to break down everything that happened on day 1, and of course, get you ready to go for day 2. And gentlemen, day 1 had some very unexpected results, but we got to see some glimpses of what teams can bring to the table, and I'm looking at you for MV.
For MV in first place after just making it barely in here to the grand finals and able to hold on strong to that first place and also creating a bit of a lead for themselves. But Seven, we know they like having circles coming their way. That happened a lot. What's going to happen today if the circle goes north?
That's going to be the biggest question for me. How is this team going to react when they don't end up getting blessed in a way by the circles in military base? We saw them being able to do some great things. The biggest question mark for me for this team, besides what they're going to do if the circles don't go their way, is also how they're going to be handling 2-2 splits. It's something that happened in the Miramar and it didn't end up working out well. It would seem like an unnecessary 2-2 split, something that I've seen out of other teams. One that I think of right away, Influence Rage, and another one, Falcons.
That was a little bit of an issue for Falcons because Incilio is a Milto. We don't want to forget about it this time, hopefully.
Well, I'm glad you bring up Incilio, a team that we've been heavily focusing on because of our use of these hovercrafts. Now, when we went to Miramar, unfortunately for them, they had 2 16th-place finishes with 0 eliminations. But just to get you caught up on all the teams that are participating here, here's your list. And any other teams out here that kind of stand out as having a good or bad performance when it came to day 1 here, Max?
Well, bad performance. I think we have to cover the PL teams, unfortunately, right?
Yep. Hey, day 2 is the real day 1.
Wait, exactly. So, like, day minus day 0 was not good.
Day 1 is media day for them.
Oh, okay.
Day 2 is the real day 1.
Rehearsal day for them. No, really, we expected a lot more coming out from Tong Jabao and, of course, Thunder Talk Gaming. A little bit of an upsetting start, but, you know, as you said, yes, day 2 is the real day 1. And we talked many times about the comeback potential of TJB in their home region. Globally, it's a different ballgame because they're not going to be the only team trying to adapt and step up their game going into day 2 and day 3. The entire 16 teams here, 7, are going to be improving over time to become an even bigger threat in this grand finals lobby.
That's the thing. I think TJB is currently 39 points away from first place, and we'll get a chance to look at the overall. That is a massive task. Unless they end up having a performance like we saw yesterday out of 4MV, a record-breaking performance, and that's why you're currently seeing 4MV there at the top with those 63 points. We'll have to wait and see what's going to happen. One team that I do want to take a look at here is Team Spirit. They played so well yesterday that they were able to get those 2 chicken dinners. On top of that, I really enjoyed the quick decision-making that this team was able to do. There was some question marks here and there in one of the errand girls that we were talking about yesterday, how they were a little bit too split. They decided not to regroup. I got a chance to talk to Kitsune and the players, and they were saying it was just because they were already getting pressure from some of the other teams. They were already getting shot at. They didn't want to end up making that push. So for them, what I want to see, continuing to see those quick break rotations, decision-making as well. And the main one for me, and for the players, is they want luckier circles. They want to get lucky. They want to get blessed by the circles. but they were so consistent yesterday, man.
Yeah, I mean, they were so consistent. If you're consistent like that when the circle is not already favoring you too much, the moment you get a circle, we're going to be expecting a 20 elimination chicken dinner. You know, that's what we're going to be expecting at that point. But
Guaranteed.
No, Team Spirit, after their step up we've seen in the league stage, I had really high hopes for them, and I think that they've already set expectations really high for the second and third day. So Team Spirit, for me, this is the best this team has looked in the past 2 to 3 years.
One that we mentioned yesterday too, especially with Team Spirit, is that Kitsune is also being able to put up good performances for the team right now, which is massive to see. It's not just Nomi, it's not just the rest of the squad, also their IGL is putting up great numbers.
I mean, the fact that we got to hear Kitsune at the end of the day talking about how him and Matic are co-leading like they did with G Gladiators, but it's more about how do we, you know, accomplish what effect and what Nomi want to do, and how do we, you know, give them that potential, or how do we strategize around allowing them to actually pop off. And when you have 2 players like that in your team, I would definitely sit there and be like, yeah, let's make them do the best they can here for the team.
Pretty much the IGLing is, Nomi, you see that team? Go get him! Go get that team right now in that compound. But it's been working out great so far. I got to say the synergy's on point, and it feels good to see Nomi in a team. I feel like this is the best team he's ever been in.
Yes.
Fits right in, and giving him an MG3 in particular.
Oh, I mean, anyone that gets an MG3 Max becomes your favorite player for
especially
the rest of
Nomi.
the time they're
He's
using.
gonna pull a monkey if he gets an MG3.
Oh man.
Big fan of him.
Well, you know what, Seven, I know you're a big fan of a certain team, and they finally had the breakthrough performance back at PMWC, and they're currently sitting very low on the leaderboards here. Now, whether that's just due to underperformance on day 1 or Maxman predicting them to win, that's going to be decided later on. But Alpha 7, they had a very rough day 1, and I even went back to the hotel and I saw them in the lobby reviewing the games right when the matches were done.
I mean, we saw them. We saw them being very focused, especially after yesterday. They didn't really want to have much conversations. I think at one point you can see Korea. Today, though, when I got a chance to talk to the players, they were in bigger spirits. They realized, they even acknowledged to me, yeah, we made too many mistakes yesterday. The rotations were off. They felt like they were really unlucky in regards to the military circles. But I feel like that's a broad statement, because I was getting a lot of those comments from a lot of teams, not just Alpha 7. I think a lot of this, I think a lot, which is crazy to say with Falcons. We'll go back to that because they usually land military. But for Alpha 7, I think they're going to be looking to do just much better rotations, their timing as well. And for this team, it comes down to that decision making. You don't want to end up getting stuck making decisions that you're not used to, which their coach was telling me. They were just doing stuff that they were not expecting. The one that we kind of pointed out especially was when we saw Alpha 7 go to Novo, thinking that there was going to be nobody there. Yeah, their coach actually told me that they saw Falcons and Insular fighting. They thought that they were going to be fighting towards Bridge, so that's why they decided to go towards Novo. It ended up backfiring, so I think they're going to try to scout a little bit more if they do try to commit to a certain area.
I feel like assuming in a lobby like this is a double-edged sword, is or you can get a great position really early, or you just unfortunately have a team that kept 4 players alive and they're going to be holding the entire ridge side of Nova, and you're just going to get completely obliterated upon impact. So it's a bit risky, but you know, we got Falcons and Alpha 7 down at the bottom. Do we expect them to do no changes here going into today and just stay at the bottom? No, I think that this is the time for them to initiate that comeback and go strong today.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because Alpha 7 is going to be looking to be very aggressive today. They feel like they have to be aggressive. They cannot play passive if they want to start pretty much bringing down that big gap that they currently have to first place. So we'll see what they're going to do in the first match in Sandhawk.
I mean, Falcons in particular, they're going to have a tough time trying to replicate the performance on the last day of Last Chance as well. I mean, they had one of the most dominant performances in a single day of play we've ever seen out of a team. And to replicate that at this kind of stage is going to be extremely difficult. But a couple of other teams are going to bring up D+. They were very low in the leaderboards. I think they were on like 16th, 15th place for like the first half of the day. And then they had a great glow up later on in the day to able to show what we've seen in the group stage out of them. Do you think they can maintain it today, though?
Yes, on Miramar they were doing really good, but we got to see something on Erangel, right? I think that you're looking at all the teams that are currently really high in the leaderboards. There's all the teams that do well on Erangel. You're looking at Incilio, you're looking at Team Spirit that did really good. That's why they're currently on top. 3 matches out of your 6 being on that map is very important. But D+, Miramar, they had it down so well, except like on that first game, but the second game, they obliterated everyone after having that 2-2 split, 2 players in the compound, 2 players on the mountain. If we see something similar to that on Erangel, I think very easily we can see them competing for top 3, and maybe if they keep it up for the last 2 days, in first place.
The confidence, too, that we saw at D+ when we compare what they were able to do in Erangel and then on Miramar, they were being a lot more confident, they were willing to take fights, and they were ready for the third parties, too. That's something that kind of stood out for me. I believe it was in the first Miramar that we saw with them taking a fight early on and then seeing Boy and Donkey trying to push them, and they say, no, slow down. You're not going to be trying to third party us here, which ended up working out wonders for this team, but I'm with you. We need to see them being able to perform, not just in Miramar, right off the bat as well. Sandhawk, how are you going to be starting off here day number 2.
Actually, because then Edge team on Sanhok is going to be quite interesting because we saw a lot of teams gunning for the center really early on. But it's depending on the circle. Hopefully we don't have a quarry finish because that was always a bit rough to deal with.
Let's have a quarry finish.
No.
No.
I think we can have a Northwest Island finish. We've seen it so many times in league stage. We're going to have one in these
That would
finals.
be interesting.
Yeah.
You were talking about just fully sending it to the center of the circle. Remember the one from yesterday, Nick McGalaxy?
Yeah, it's risky.
No, but for them, I actually went up to Raouf and I was asking him, why do you guys do that? This is not the first time that you guys do that. And he said that that's how they play Sanhok. They just, if for some reason they are going to be late towards the circle, they're just going to fully send it towards the middle. And they are expecting that hot drop again.
I mean, it worked out yesterday. They lost Norvalo, unfortunately. But if you get 4 eliminations from the get-go for them on a Sanhok, that was pretty much a win for them. They were like, we're happy with the game. We got 4 eliminations. We got a little bit later on into the game, but the full send center was always a bit risky. But if they could have survived in that spot, maybe they could have got like a top 5 finish there, and that would have been amazing for your first game of a PMGC Grand Finals.
Well, speaking of amazing, you gotta talk about the devices these players are using. Their Infinix GT20 Pro with this dual chipset, 144Hz AMOLED screen. Oh no, guys, here, you can't do this. 7 does not look good at 140 FPS.
You can do this, mate.
I don't think the camera can even
There you go.
see this. You guys are setting up this whole bit. I don't think the camera can see. You know what, Maxi, get out of here. Go walk up to the camera and show it.
Do I have to?
No.
No,
I was
about
gonna do
to.
it.
You can kind of see it, though. You can kind of see it. Let's see.
Kind of see it.
Kind of see it.
Can you see it?
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, picture. Not bad.
More of that, please.
It's a
7
great resolution.
HD, that's a scary thing.
I mean, in real life, it's pretty scary, but HD is a little bit more scary.
Just feel taller right now, okay.
You know what, we're going to take that box away from you eventually, but also a big shout out here to another sponsor, Kadia, because the entire district is designed to be like a real-life video game, which honestly is so cool. If you guys saw the video earlier on today as well, I would love to go there someday. Maybe next year we can pull this one off here, because every detail is about play and entertainment.
I wonder if there's going to be good loot in Kadia. I found an MG3 around there. That'll be cool.
I hope.
I've seen your DBS.
I hope you don't find an MG3.
I've seen your DBS on Pandemonium_News. You can check them out on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
The 7WG. Yeah, go on.
Bro,
Wait,
we're just plugging. I was like, all right, I'll plug.
No, we can plug. You can't do that.
Well, also, while you guys are sitting here at home, or whether it is after the show is done, make sure you use this code PMGC Dragon because the Ice Matter Frontier Frostborn Dragon has awakened. If you haven't checked this out, Max, we talked about this so many times yesterday, and as well as 7, the greatest fight you will experience in PUBG Mobile. The best event we've seen so far, for sure.
Yeah, you had Dracula in the update before that, but no, the Dragon is even better of a boss to go against. I even recommend going with an M249 if you can, because you're going to need to shoot
Well,
Not an
a lot to
MG3?
take him down.
You gotta get across.
You got to get like a crate before going in. It's hell. But it will drop an MG3, actually 2 MG3s if you beat him, so go
Should try it tonight.
Well, you got to get across the bridge for the first part.
Well,
And
that's
we already
hard, yeah.
struggle with that one, but use the code PMGC Dragon at PUBGMobile.com/redeem to get yourself 30 extra Frostborn Dragon scales to help you out with the event. But gentlemen, it's almost time to actually kick off our first day. We got our teams to focus here down towards the bottom of the screens. For me, I went with the 2 PEL teams, of course, because day 2 is the real day 1. But obviously, we expect very high standards out of teams that come in from PEL, and we haven't seen it just yet. But also in Celio, if they fix the problems of not being able to do well in Miramar without the hovercraft, that's why I went with these teams to focus. What about you, Max?
I think they went out asking to spawn the hovercraft on Miramar. That's what they were trying.
Well, no, we got a chance to talk with them yesterday, and they were talking about the hovercraft. They were saying how much they actually do focus on trying to get one before they leave Meltdown.
Yeah, they delay their rotation so much to try and get as many hovercrafts as possible. Of course, it's depending on are you lucky with the spawns. Are you going to get a jet ski like Alpha 7? Are you going to get a boat? Are you going to get a car boat like Team Spirit? Or are you going to actually get the hovercraft? It is very important to get it when you are a river team where you drop.
Could we see in Celio all drop different locations with all their players just to get as many hovercrafts as possible and meet up wherever it might be?
If I have 4 hovercrafts coming my way, I just go back to lobby. You know?
I just
Influence Rage is going to hate themselves.
Well, you know what? We do have 2 more gentlemen here to cover PMGC if you missed out on yesterday's action. We've got our 2 commentators of John Anna Blank looking good, looking ready to go. So, gentlemen, what do you got for us?
What do we have for you? Well, we've got a game coming up very shortly. We're going to be jumping into Sanhok first, of course. Thank you very much to the guys on the desk, but
भाई इस बंदे की आवाज
oh, yeah, oh,
भाई,
your toy.
क्या हाल है इस बंदे की?
It's my twin. Look, there it is. Whoa, is that?
That's crazy. The double lower third. Love to see it. But yeah, we do have some crazy plays coming out today, I'm imagining. More stuff to be had today. Team Spirit looking for that first place position. Alpha 7 not doing so great either, though I said it many times yesterday, slow burn type of team. Can they bring things back today? That's the real question, because I do think the further you drop now, you need to have somewhat of a decent day today to have that chance going into day 3 to get a top 3. Today 3 to get a top 3. We're all
There's
over
something
the
in there.
place.
There's some rhythm going on, you know. There's a little bit of a beat underpinning the entirety of it all. And you're right. You do need to absolutely give yourself that platform. The more runway you have, then the more likely it is you're going to take off, right? So. True, we'll see. Our teams can lay out that tarmac for themselves on the points tables, because 4MV at the top right now is quite an interesting factor, right? Obviously, coming through on their sort of like double extra super duper last chance situation. They've come into the first day. They had two massive one very massive game, record breaking in fact, with 23 elims in a chicken dinner, and then topping it off with a second chicken dinner as well. To be able to do, with a second strong game as well, to be able to put up that sort of a number, to extend that sort of a lead blank is phenomenal. The question is always, in the same way that Alpha 7 needs to step up today, can 4MV keep going today?
I think for 4MV, it's an interesting one. I mean, 8k damage overall for them is very good, but a Voindonkey ID with 7,783, that's a lot of damage done, and Voindonkey ID is certainly a team that is attempting to get towards that top side of the lobby. We had the pleasure of speaking to Defi yesterday, the coach of Voindonkey ID, and he said that, look, not many changes had to happen from yesterday. I think they were quite happy with how things went down. I think at this point, it's a smart decision to make. You know, you just want to keep going forward with what's working, and it is working. The damage numbers don't lie either. For the positions they've had, they've been getting a lot of work done, not necessarily all the way through to that end game. They got 2 second places yesterday, but they are putting up the numbers. And I think teams at the top do need to worry about that slightly. Team Spirit, on the other hand, good performances overall, all round yesterday, from difficult positions as well. So everyone was saying that they like some more circle look. Wouldn't we all?
Absolutely. I mean, it's always so much easier when the circle just comes to you. You don't even need to rotate. It's great. But yeah, Team Spirit, they were adapting, and they were playing smart and fast enough to take down the opponents that stood in their way. That was the big change that we've seen, the ramp up in pacing from Team Spirit.
This is quite funny. I mean, Creo, fair play to him. Like, these things you do not need to move around at all, but the guys are so used to at this point shaking around the old hand warmers that you just can't quite get out of the habit. There's Revo on your screen as well. Absolutely awesome player from yesterday. I think he honestly kept Alpha 7 afloat. Sure. Right, you can even see here 6 eliminations for him yesterday on Sandhog, staying alive all the way through to his second place. Really strong stuff from Revo, and people were expecting him to do a lot better. These type of tournaments is where he shines the most, because it is under pressure that Revo performs his best.
That is true. Alpha 7 definitely needs some strong performances as well. They are down in 13th place right now with 22 points. So it is quite a way behind the 63 that 4MV currently hold. Over 40-point gap that needs to be made up over the next 12 matches, Blank. That is not easy. That sort of a gap does start to loom over your head. So if you kick off with three poor performances today, Alpha 7 are really going to be stuck down bad at the bottom of the tables. We'll have to see if they can pick up the pace, and we're hoping that they can. Over the course of yesterday, I think that you're right, pointing out Team Spirit and Voindonkey ID is probably the two most consistently impressive teams to be able to come on through. But we also had an interesting turn of events for the Falcons, right? And in fact, the entire opposite. They started off 11 elimination chicken dinner on Sandhawk, and then they kind of just faded away. They disappeared for the rest of the day, right? So I'm hoping that the Falcons can spread their wings a little bit further, because we were expecting great things from this team coming into this tournament. It would be a little bit sad to see them go down so early.
It's somewhat weird starting off very strong on Sandhawk and then not being able to translate that to other maps, and sometimes that can happen on a Sandhawk, where it's such a small map, right? Sometimes you get the look there. They did have to travel far off towards that east side, and they picked up a strong position. It is sad that they were unable to pick themselves all that much more coming through from Sandhawk into our other matches. It did feel like a lot of their splits were wrong. I think that is what it clearly comes down to, is that some of the splits were over-aggressive, teams were taking advantage of that. We even saw that very clearly over towards Mirror and Sejong over in their group stages. Their splits were unbelievable going into the group stage. Sadly, that team could not translate. Now, the big difference between Falcons and Mirror and Sejong is, I would say, the firepower is way more there for the Falcons over Mirror and Sejong. So despite them having these splits, they can still find the good off angles. And I think that's something that East and Icy have both been extremely good at doing in the past, playing almost solo or as a duo, providing strong anchors for the team. It's a difficult one though, because what do you do going into today? Do you change things up too much? I don't particularly think that their playstyle was wrong yesterday. I think that it was maybe a little bit disjointed and some of those things need to be brought together, but you might have this shift in mindset. As the boys are saying, day 2, that's your adaptation day. But I don't really want to see a crazy change from Falcons. I just want to see some of those minor mistakes fixed.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, they had 2 early game losses in 16th and 14th place for matches 3 and 4. It was not great, so hopefully they can pick up a tidier set of rotations in that early game. Well, Incilio on your screens right now. This is a team that I think people weren't expecting great things from, but these guys have absolutely stepped up to the plate. They've been on some pretty solid rotates. One of the most improved teams this year, I think it's safe to say. Yep. Slightly overshadowed, I think, in this case by Donkey ID, but overall, Incilio, excellent, impressive changes that they've been able to make, and strong presence on the map. They're able to hold their ground.
I think when you talk about Incilio, it's very important to mention that although you can say, I think people didn't expect much from them. As soon as we saw their group stage, and then into survival and last chance, I think at that point, it was very clear to everyone going into PMGC that they were a fearsome contender. So it wasn't a case we came to PMGC and we were like, look, maybe Incilio's not going to do too great. I think we all had high hopes for this team coming into PMGC this year. The Grand Finals was where they were going to stand out. So I'm very excited to see Incilio continue to bring that kind of presence, that kind of power through to the maps going forward. Especially Sandhawk. I think this is a team that does very well. Basically flying by the seat of their pants sometimes, and they're good at that. They're good at that, especially with the hovercraft. And I think it kind of buys into that strategy of we're going to make it work no matter what happens. We're quick to adjust on the fly. It takes a very rare team to make that sort of thing happen. A lot of teams have plans that they will make out early game into mid game, and then how do they want to transfer from there. Incilio is very good at like, oh, I'm in a bad spot. Doesn't matter. We've got to move for this.
Yardstick, really, I think it's safe to say. We'll be digging into that over the course of the next 2 days. Refresh with the sunnies there. Polarized glasses for the Falcons, making sure that they are keeping themselves focused.
I mean, top handing off the map like you just don't care. Fair enough to him, honestly.
That is one Zen guy.
भाई 5 मिनट में स्टार्ट होगा मैच क्या बसूड़ी है.
Great team from South Korea. DRX, sorry, doing a lot of work. I genuinely think that when you do look at DRX as well as D+, you're fairly happy with how much they've been able to get done throughout the year. I think for South Korea overall, they're a very strong region now, and a region that was sort of underestimated in 2023, coming into 2024. So much more work was done by them. I think it used to be a case of, look guys, this is 100% a fact that D+ Kia had the strongest central circle performances in the world. They were very, very good holding down those compounds, but they have extended that kind of presence now over towards rotates, over towards playing edge. I think those were the things that South Korean teams absolutely had to focus on.
Yeah, and they've definitely come through for the region and made their presence known. D+ came 5th back in that last chance stage, with DRX as well, placing 2nd behind Team Spirit over the course of their group stage and getting that direct qualification spot. We also saw good things from teams like Miran Sejong. Unfortunately didn't quite make it all the way to the finals, but really looking to expand and deepen that talent pool for the region, which is, of course, always such an exciting prospect. So we'll be looking out for them even further into the 2025 stuff, which was really interesting to hear James Yang revealing all of that information about how the pro scene is going to adapt and potentially expand to that new set of up-and-coming players who could bolster every region, not just South Korea as well.
Well, I think it's a great move, honestly, from PUBG Mobile in general, in the sense that, you know, with our PMSLs, we did restrict the amount of players that could be in those, and now it's really nice to have more of this open amateur scene where teams can now select and choose from the new up-and-coming talented players, but they also have an ecosystem to exist in at the same time, because at the top it's very limited on those spaces you can have. So for a lot of our teams, I think that they'd be very excited to see these new up-and-coming players potentially be able to rip a few from a couple of rosters and be like, that could be added to our team. And speaking of rookies, we're talking about Void Donkey ID. I mean, a lot of those players are rookies on that squad, 3 total, with Potato being that experienced player, taking the lead, taking the charge for that team. So there is a lot of potential. And you in the crowd could also be the one, potentially next year going into 2025. So make sure to check out that scene when you have the chance.
It could be me, but more likely it could be you. I don't think I'm going to be stepping into the battlegrounds with these guys anytime soon. There is plenty of fierce talent to be triumphed over. If you think that's your thing, clock it, get ready, because 2025 is just around the corner. But first, we need to conclude 2024, and PMGC is the place to do it. As our teams mounting up for the start of day 2 for our Sandhawk, our second entry. Are we going to get that Northwest Circle blank? I know you're excellent on these predictions. What do you think?
I'm thinking Painan, probably. Yeah. I'm feeling a Painan. You know, it has to be, right? Yeah. Certainly. But we are almost underway here. 10 seconds to go before we do get into our first match of the day here on Sandhawk, and then into triple Arangel, double Miramar, and then we'll be finishing off for today before the final conclusion going into tomorrow.
Sandhawk playing path getting locked on in match number 7. The jungle awaits, and it will be deadly dangerous for 15 of our teams. Only one team will last to the end. It is
PMGC
time to get underway.
4MB Team
Sandhawk
Spirit
flies on over Northside playing path. We saw this yesterday. Should be fairly chill. Maybe we'll get a hot drop or 2. We'll have to wait and see.
Now, if I remember correctly, I do think there is a little bit of a 4MV crowd going on down there. So maybe they can show some love to 4MV as we head in to our first Sandhawk of the day. We know they did really well on this map yesterday. Potentially they can do it again.
Actually, जो 16 नंबर पे टीम थी उसको वीजा इशू हो गया. 17 पे थे 4MV और वो 4MV वाले आ गए.
Start things off. Nick Galaxy down
16 नंबर
towards
टीम में वीजा थी 17 वाले वो टॉप पे है.
It's all very prominent positions in the map here. Team Spirit actually definitely going a little bit further into this one. Kitsune taking a dangerous approach over towards that northern side of Bootcamp. Falcon's got to be a little bit wary about this one as they have been caught off on such a rotate before.
The Falcons shifting out of Bootcamp, it seems like Team Spirit have their turn to play the area. The south side of Paradise Resort now Influence Rage may have some trouble brewing, but there is a little bit of a scrap. TJB and the Vicious, I think there was first blood drawn, certainly a knock sent out in that region of the map. You can see shots still ringing through, and TJB doing a lot of damage there to the rotating Vicious.
For Vicious, I think that they're a very strong team. They'd like to do a little bit better going into today, but we'll see what does happen for them.
वो 4MB के बैरन को डाउन किया है TJB के 676 ने.
Tongjiabao, they take one off 4MV. They will receive a little bit of punishment back their way though.
और डॉग ने डाउन कर दिया 676 को.
Tongjiabao lose another. Down to just 2 players. Our PEL teams not enjoying themselves here.
Unfortunately not, no, they have lost 2. The Vicious have lost 1 as well. So we'll see who's able to get this one out. Yeah, no, 4MV lose 1. Everybody around that South Painan area. You said the circle was going to end there. Blank, we've moved away, going up to Paradise Resort, but there was plenty of action around that Painan position. And there has been nobody who's actually survived unscathed, which is really unfortunate for these teams who are going to have to transition across to that mainland, who are going to have to try and go for those fast rotates. You've already expended a player, which means you need to be so tight on those rotates.
You look at this map at the moment, RCB actually have a very strong spot over towards Cow, and then they've actually got quite a few outposts down towards Torre Armada. Not Torre Armada. Goodness me. We're not on Miramar just yet. But yeah, down towards Tatmok, which is a good position to play around the lumber yard. So I think that on that position, you can get a lot of scouting done early up towards Paradise Resort, with Influence Rage playing around that area. I think there is another team close by to that one, including Falcons. But Team Spirit completely have taken over Bootcamp off the back of this one, with Kitsune being that outpost earlier on. He spotted the rotate going through from Falcons early. This is fantastic news for them. Getting out from that Confluence compound is awesome. Sometimes a little bit more difficult as you do have a small hilltop looking over towards the east side of the map, making those scouting and getting information a little bit harder. But with Kitsune there, it meant they could immediately read the circle, so fantastic stuff. Hats off to them.
Nicely done. DRX moving in from the south side. They've managed to push up to one of the junction compounds that sits south of Paradise Resort. So a nice little stronghold for them to wait for the second circle to show its hand, to tip its hat. Na'Vi over on Ruins, yet to make their move, but the south side with the Vicious, actually, I take it back, they did manage to get out of that Pioneer position unscathed. They rotated down south towards Camp Charlie, but I think their crossing ahead of them is going to be pretty treacherous, Blank. The Vicious's path goes either through TJ, wide boat take,
oh, nice shot, yaar.
Not
GG, not GG की तरफ से.
Likely they head into the vehicles and go across the bridge.
I see चुपचाप लेटे हुए हैं.
TJB will maybe push up towards again. What's interesting, Blank, is Incilio. I'm looking at where Incilio started around that quarry side. They're moving in to guard out Painan's crossing. They've moved out west, away from the circle, where they had an option to just hold the edge inside the circle to try and guard all of these teams on the southwest side.
Yeah, I think this is a very basic play coming through from Incilio, actually. I mean, it's the one you'd want to go for usually on this circle, because there is this hilltop that runs through just underneath that southwest side of Quarry, which looks down towards Painan. You can catch a lot of players off by doing that. You do need a little bit of a split here, but you have hard cover up there in terms of rocks as well as tree line. So I think this is the right play from Incilio. It's pretty much a set play coming through from them. For the Vicious, easy enough decision for them to make going forward. They had information over towards TJB. They took down a couple of their players early, so they know that they are definitely weakened. Falcons, though, is an interesting team that we do need to talk about, because they did just take a knock. It was rezzed, but they're not in an ideal position just yet.
Just from the east side of Paradise Resort, they have, as you say, managed to get that res through, though, and staying as 4, wait for that second circle. It's unlikely too many teams are going to be able to make their way towards you as well, so you can re-strat, go into that next phase, hopefully unscathed. We'll just have to wait and see if they can repeat their performance from Sanhok, because if yesterday was anything to go by, this is the only game they can get any points on, so they need to make it worth their while.
Falcons, when you're on this eastern shift, though, it's quite easy to make that rotate to get into position. What they need now is a couple of knocks, a couple of flushes. They need to expand space around this area. At the moment, it's just getting more and more claustrophobic for them. The walls are closing in for Falcons at this minute in time. V's, they head up that hilltop. This is exactly what I was talking about earlier on in Incilio. Starting off with a bang here. 2 elims found there for Redlick. And 4 of V got to play earlier on, so now down to just the 1.
Table toppers.
Apex, the last to stand for 4MV, unfortunately, and trapped inside Painan, not in this circle, meaning you're going to have to move. The question is when, for me, right? When does Apex try and make that breakout? Because in Incilio, they will probably think about moving at this stage, but they're aware that they haven't fully pushed the team. They're waiting for the remnants of 4MV to leave Painan. And as Apex, you can probably outlast the blue for quite a while. So do you just want to allow Incilio to get away, try and play solo into this, or maybe try and pick up a frag from it? I think we're just going to see Apex hunkering down, waiting this one out a little bit longer to see if he can sneak away and try and play solo into this Sanhok.
To be honest with you, I think that 4MV just really do blunder. That is a big blunder. I'm sure the desk will talk about it. If not, I'll talk about it right now, because it's a case where 4MV, if you're in this position, you know that the circle still benefits teams holding that ridge side down towards Painan. But you also equally know that Falcons on this circle yesterday immediately moved east. Team Spirit followed them shortly afterwards. So there is that ability to head up towards Confluence Compound. That was always availability to 4MV. I think the play of we're just going to run up the hill and hope a team's there, not there, is somewhat manic.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Especially with only 3 players remaining. Right?
Yeah. That's, well, they sent 2 up, which was even worse.
It's kind of an interesting decision. Interesting, putting it nicely.
That's what 4MV is all about. Decisions all around. But those lead to 23 games. Sometimes.
That is true. It's sort of like a weird.
और यहाँ पे नावी versus Falcon और गाड़ी पलटी और 2 बंदे उतार दिए गए हैं ईस्ट की तरफ से
min-maxing there
और यहाँ पे पीछे शॉटगन लेमन ने फिनिश कर दिया.
The Falcons, they lose a player here. They're still on a little bit of a split. They've got pressure on the north side with Guild going in as well. Losing one of their players here not
और एक्शन
ideal. Lemon
वर्सेस
could potentially
टॉप
get
एंड
flipped
लेमन
back
और
up.
आईसी वहां पे
There's
खुद
not a lot
अकेले
of
फंसे
time
हुए
to make
हैं.
that work though, and I think getting
Oh,
across this
not
road
good
is
for
maybe a little
Falcons,
bit
yeah,
too
not
tall
good
of an
for
order for
yeah,
Lemon.
they are
But he's
pushing
going to
it,
give it
they
a
are
go.
pushing it,
Smokes
they
dropping
already
out.
know.
Looking to try and cover
We
the cross.
can
Falcons
let
are there. Alpha 7 on the
Lemon have
hillside further back. Could potentially third party.
give us more
I think
lemons.
Lemon's going to give up on getting flipped back and maybe
और नीड है
trying to exact
क्या
more of a
टॉप
toll onto the Falcons. A lot of damage.
और
And
एक्शन
there's
को डाउन
Alpha
किया
7
कोरिया
trying to
ने
fight Lemon on the
और
outside
लेमन
as
डाउन
well.
करते टॉप
There
को
is no
Falcons.
safety for Falcons, and they fall
They
flat.
blundered
The
it.
team on the north side as well.
They
taking them
fucking
down.
blundered
It's
their
Guild.
centered
Guild's
position.
going for the scrap with
आईसी
the
ने
last
फिनिश
player.
कर दिया
Icy,
एजर
however,
को
Guild not so fortunate
और आईसी
to
ने
stand
एक्स
on.
को भी मार दिया.
Icy looking to move
आईसी
forward.
1v2 कर चुके
Triple the
हैं.
players from Guild here. He pulls out the DBS, but
Can
not
Icy
one
make
play
a-
here. I think
do
it
another
was a
1v2 or
slight
it can
mistake
be
coming through
1v4?
for Falcons. They do pick up 5 elims total, but now Icy all alone
Icy.
versus Guild.
Icy
here.
versus
Can take the shots
Guild.
through the window. We'll try and go for it. Sees a player on the
Oh, oh.
outside, long distance DBS
Oh,
shot.
reload.
He is dodging, ducking, diving, trying to get out of the way, but it's not working
Reload,
so
reload,
far.
reload,
Has to
Icy.
get the reload on the DBS. Short time ahead of him.
6 now in the chamber, ready to take the fight again. Looking for the pop
Molly
shots,
ऊपर से निकल
nade
गई.
over through the top, not going to connect here. No third parties just yet. It's possible though that we're going to see a team like D plus Kia rolling from
Wagner
the east
versus
side.
Gonton.
RCB may be poking their noses in from the north, depending on how fast this fight can conclude.
No nades,
Icy still just hopping about, but it's such a nuisance here to Guild. And not quite finding the shots, but neither are Guild.
Okay,
as the
okay,
Vicious
TJB की
picking up
उतार दी
all
दोनों
the
बंदे.
teams
VC
on
की
the
डेविड ने
south side. We've got
Davi.
3 teams, well, make that 2 with TJB
Davi.
finally going down all the way. You got Nick Galaxy ahead of this one as the
TJB
Vicious.
भी बाहर.
Reyes taking a knock.
और आईसी ने knock
okay,
किया. Oh.
back on board on the northeast side.
आईसी
They are
1v3
gonna be
कर
taking
चुके
the
हैं.
fight
Can you do
continuously.
1v4? Last बंदा
Finds
गिल्ड
one,
का.
and now it's a 1v1. Steps
Oh,
corner.
nice
The last
try,
player
IC.
just a little bit too much, and Guild stay alive.
It's a good play from
Okay,
Wagner,
so-
actually. The fact that he swings out
So
wide
6
is
kills
not
के साथ
what you would
I
expect. You
think
expect
Falcons
him
are
holding
out of the
inside,
game. 6
the
kills.
small cubby inside
Not a
the
bad
building.
game, yaar. 6
So fair
kills.
play to Icy
Still
to free load onto
After
that
getting
position. Sadly,
team on his way,
the
third
Vicious come
parties.
through. Nick Galaxy looking over towards Vicious. They already pulled one out of the vehicle. They have a
Vicious
player
के-
in the wings as well, looking down the hillside. This
Reyes
is good news.
के-
Should be able to
A7
pick
के
up
Revo
more
को
onto that
नावी
north
के
side, but
11
it's
ने
already
निकाल दिया.
so low that the Vicious is
अच्छा,
down
okay, A7
to 2.
कैसे
But Nick
into
Galaxy putting a
that
lot of
center
stock
compound.
into holding out
VC
this
के Reyes
format.
zone से जाते
And I mean,
हुए.
as 2
क्या
players,
बात
you get
है.
4 elims on the game. That's
और
4
11
easy
को
points.
Meg-
That's
Megrelin
typically
ने
what
पिला.
you'd want here, even if you don't get too much further into this game. For Falcons,
Diamond.
again, it was a weird play in the sense that they held down the crossroads. You typically want to play a 2-2 on that position. They're way, again, it's that heavy split that comes in to bite them. You play a 2-2 on that one. You
Paradise
have to
Resort
open
का
one
zone
up.
होगा क्या? Paradise Resort, yes.
You open up one that's
Crazy.
isolated
मैं
on the
इस
side
zone
of
को
the
Paradise
road,
Zone में देने
and
जा
you
रहा
play
हूँ.
off the back of that.
पूरा
The
Paradise
Falcons,
Zone में हम
unfortunately,
टीम में
allowed
बैठी है
down
हर एक घर
to
में.
2 of them with barely
इसके
any
माँ का
contest.
कोई need नहीं किसी
It's
के
just,
पास.
it's an unfortunate approach in my opinion.
And Lemon was able to take down
Oh,
that
oh,
south
oh,
point,
oh,
but
oh.
Narvalo
Narvalo. Oh, he making one
window still
HP.
there, has backup from
And
behind.
he clutched it.
The regroup,
NGX के
the
Narvalo ने
redox coming
clutch
on
कर
him, but
दिया
it's not
है.
going to be
1v2.
necessary. The Vicious fall to
Getting
the
him
shotgun
from
shells
blue zone.
over the windowsill. Narvalo picks up another, but they're still so far south. We're in
Value,
stage 3,
BKK,
and we've already gotten rid of 4 teams though,
number,
so a lot of
okay.
open ground
नहीं वो.
going to be seen into this next circle
D plus K
compared to what we
Wagner
used to
पे.
see.
Okay, RCB की
You know, I
entry
think
थी
it was
guys. Royal
Paris
Challenge
Rock,
Bangalore.
Rage is extremely happy with this.
Virat Kohli.
Donkey ID takes 2 knocks in the process. They're currently hiding down towards that south
Who is
side.
Virat
lane,
Kohli
getting
of this
ripped to
team?
pieces. Luckily, they
मैं
do have
देखना
a
पड़ेगा.
compound, but these nades are coming through thick and fast. A
और
barrage.
VD को
over the
भाई
top
और यहाँ
side,
पे
explosions
red
galore.
zone.
Boy,
Oh,
Donkey
no.
ID
और ये red
holding
zone
on
kill
as
is
best
here.
they can.
That need is sexy. ये नहीं
Spirit
मिल गया
chiming
ना.
in as well. Influence Rage just raining down hell from above. 3 players with 1 player getting flushed for Void Donkey.
Lil boy,
bringing
Lil boy,
Vexy back in. They're
lead.
looking for healing. They're looking for a little bit more safety. The
Okay.
nades continue to come through, but they're not connecting anymore. So 1 player down.
RCB
but
की तरफ
Void
से
Donkey
अरे सारा
ID,
जीवी
a
आई हुई
really
है.
important building on the
अरे
south
Wild,
side of
Silas,
Paradise
Sarah
Resort.
and
It gets a
Loxy.
lot of pressure.
क्या
sent
RCB
towards
यहाँ पे
those
जीत
ridge
पाएगी?
lines that Influence Rage are holding.
IPL
Should
में
they need to
तो
move
नहीं
south on
जीते.
Team Spirit been extremely quiet this
Okay,
game.
VD के पास अच्छी
Heading out
position है,
towards
बस
the
they
western
have
side.
to
There is
wait.
the cliff sides on
They have
Paradise
to
that you
wait
can
only.
play around with. I think for Team Spirit at the moment, it's typically going to be Thunder Talks that they're dealing with. They're coming down from Tap Mark on the western side of Paris Resort, so if Team Spirit can hold them out, they actually do have a strong compound to work with as well. This could be a good Team Spirit game for them. Really depends whether we keep heading over towards Paradise Resort or not, in which case Influence Rage win, potentially. Alpha 7 though, this is a much better game from them. I think I was talking about this earlier, where
Alpha 7 2 kills.
One of you guys.
I
was just spouting nonsense earlier today. But Alpha 7,
okay,
I think that they're struggling with the fact that there
एक
isn't
बंदा
enough
वहाँ बैठा
feeder
हुआ था,
to
अब ये
inside this lobby.
कहाँ
It's
है?
such
वही
a
तो हाँ था.
packed lobby of talent that Alpha 7 like to cut in
Okay.
over towards stage 5 and
Okay,
take
they are
like a
giving late
third party,
rotations.
remove 2 teams.
DK is
and they
giving
gain
late
a lot of
rotations.
space.
Okay,
on there.
NGX के
I
Redex
think
को
they're
support कर
forced to
सकते
play
हैं.
more passive, which really, that's not their play style, but it is going to give them a more consistent average, which is what they'll need going into tomorrow.
Okay, Redex versus
I mean,
D
they've got
plus
2
ये हो
points on
सकता
this
है क्या?
match. They've got 3 players
DK
alive.
इधर आ रही है,
on
Redex
the
इधर वापस
side.
आ रही है.
They
ये
have
क्या
Comp
चल
down
रहा है?
here. But you're right, they really want to get a little bit more fresh with it, and not being allowed to do so far. 13th place, 22 points, and the extra 2 they've got this game will be a little bit of a consolation, but they definitely need to open their
उल्टा
stride,
alternation
get a
है.
little bit
DK
of
वाले
pace
उधर से
on
आए हैं.
board.
अगर DK का इधर अरे
Shift goes
हाँ
up.
DK can still
May
play.
just be a
TT पे
Paradox
crash
is
मारा जा
all finished.
सकता है
We'll have
DK
to
की
wait
तरफ
and see
से.
a couple more circles, but this is good for Point Donkey ID.
Okay, NGX गया Redex done है.
It is still just so
Velo को knock
messy.
किया, Redex भी done है.
Everybody
Redex
moving
भी done
in.
है.
D plus K have gone for a wide wrap around,
भाई
and they may
सबसे
push it
top best
behind
16 teams
Hidden
ऑफ द वर्ल्ड खेल
Galaxy,
रही हैं.
but
इतने
Hidden
मौके भी नहीं
Galaxy aren't there
छोड़ेंगे यार.
anymore.
आपकी
They
गाड़ी
get
भी
upgraded
घूमी
on the
आप
approach to Incilia.
डन हो भाई इस लॉबी में
Yeah,
आप
for
गाड़ी
Incilia, I
घूमी
think
आप
they played this game very fantastically. It's been a slow move up over towards that north side. They understood the assignment given to them, which was basically just to hold out players
DRX.
as they move through. And they've kept taking outposts, further and further up
Oh,
inside the
भाई, क्या
lobby.
control
It's
है
very,
बंदे
very
को
good
पूरे
stuff from
express पे.
Incilia. I hope it
Fetch.
continues inside this match, but now they're getting to a point where they need to start breaching inward, and there's only so many more teams on the south side that they can punish on the rotates. But they've already got themselves a fair few points, 4 total off the back of this one. DRX, though, is standing in their way. RCB over towards the warehouses, good position for them, and will keep them safe for a while. And honestly, so many teams have already gone down on the edge that RCB isn't in too much danger for the next 5 minutes.
Cooks G
That could put them into a sort of a top 5.
गिल्ड के वैगनर
See if they're able
अभी
to.
भी अपनी टीम को 1-4 होने से बचाने के बाद अभी भी जिंदा. लीड खेलेंगे, अच्छा खेलेंगे. ये 7 2024 की वर्ल्ड चैंपियंस, वर्ल्ड कप के चैंपियन, स्पोर्ट्स वर्ल्ड कप के
not ideal.
क्या वापसी कर पाएंगे? अभी 13 में
But
पोजीशन
so
पे
does
हैं.
Apex for 4MV on the southwest side. They're on opposite ends of the circle, so we'll see if their approaches will be the
फुल
same.
लेवल 3 गियर के साथ
Despite being
3 नेड 4 स्मोक
opposed. I'm interested on this west side, Blank, on the
एक
southwest side.
मेडिकेट
I'm looking
11
at
फर्स्ट
Team
एड के
Spirit's
डे.
split
ओके
at the
हील
moment,
बैटल विल बी
as
देयर
they
आल्सो.
approach up
नाइस.
towards these compounds.
और टीम स्प्लिट के इफेक्ट का नीड.
Thinking about how to approach
ओके
this one.
डी प्लस की और
Looks
टीम
like they're going to
स्प्लिट.
find effect here and find him alone.
डीके के चिप्स. ओके नेड
currently holding
नेड. ओके लेफ्ट में गया.
on a very prominent position inside the
Okay, they
circle.
don't
It's an interesting
have
spot. It
exactly
does
what
give
we needed.
Effect a good ability to
और
just quickly
Noibu ने
move through
SDZ को down
this
किया
rock
DRX
face,
के.
which looks like it has just been chopped in half by a massive sword. But for Effect, that does give him a very nice escape
Okay, he
path
got the audio
onto
cue.
the back
Oh!
of this shack. Matic does come down for an assist. Now,
Bro,
this will be a
how
full
does he
man
survive?
squad coming through from D+, so Team Spirit will struggle
INS
slightly.
के Red League
Nomi's doing the right
310
thing, which
बचे.
is holding out players trying to come in from
How
that
do you
southwest
survive,
side. But
yaar?
all of a sudden, it gets very
That
hot
need was-
over towards
okay.
Team Spirit's location.
Okay, DK got it.
They're going to
They
have to play in the
push.
fire.
See if they can
They can't wait
rebuff the approach
Okay,
here, the
Matic
advance
का
of
नेड.
D plus
नहीं
gear.
कोई बंदा नहीं है.
On this south side of their hold, it's a really
Okay.
difficult
Team
situation
Spirit के
for
दो ही
them.
बंदे defend कर रहे हैं.
Ideally, what they've been looking
Oh,
for,
फटा.
especially with this circle
नहीं
shift,
फटा.
is to
पूरम भी के
regroup
Apex.
towards
Oh,
this
भाई
north
nice
side.
नेड यार.
With effect
उस
going
साल में
down to
अरे
a
उस
nade
साल
from
को तो जानते
Ocel,
हैं.
there's just
पहले
no
भी
way
देखा.
you can extract from this. Another nade over towards the top and Matic. Yeah, okay, he is going to
Team
get out of
Spirit के
there,
दो ही
trying
बंदे
to give
कर रहे थे
effect a
defend.
passage out. But
Oh, भाई, मजा आ
Spirit's
गया,
gonna
भाई.
play on with 3. I think
INF RCB का game, भाई, मैं तो कह रहा हूँ
that
city
specific
जाए.
spot just then.
INF
Because
का
D plus
अच्छा
gear,
game
they're
होने
going
वाला
to
है.
be drawn in to go for
RCB
that flush,
UCB
right? So
UCB.
less attention given to the retreating player instead of both of them falling back at the same time. But still,
Okay, INS आती
far
हुई.
from ideal for Team Spirit to lose a player at this stage.
They held
INX
on,
versus
right?
DRX.
I mean, they tried to hold maybe too much, let's say. I think always holding onside that rock is very,
Nades
very
spinning
difficult
है, West
anyway.
Ham की
You
तरफ
need
से.
to have a very quick
Sykes,
response time.
okay.
Effect maybe got a little bit
He
too
missed the
aggressive.
UMP shot.
Incilia,
Oxygen
this is the
away.
fight we were talking about earlier. They would have to push through DRX at some point. Right now, the
Sexy
fight's not
down
going
there.
terribly badly
But
for them.
he
Red League
win.
does hit the deck, who has been a pretty phenomenal player for them. And now they have to hit one of
He
these
can
nades. They
easily
need
have
to get
2
a
kills,
second
yeah.
knock or a re-knock on side so they can invest time Gaming's getting Red Lit back up again.
Ooh, is that third party? It is. It's D plus Kia coming in from the west side, and DRX
nice
over the
one from
hilltop to
SDZ.
tumble on down. You've got Kaixei still
What do we
on
do?
the grass, looking to try and snake
got
this
it
one out,
last
but I think
win
he's waiting
second.
too long to strike. Finally
What are
stands
you
up,
doing,
but
my
it will
man?
get put down
Yaar,
almost
DRX में अच्छी
immediately. And
position
Cilio
पे
looking to
उधर,
repair now, but D plus
sexy.
Kia bear
जो भी
down
नाम है
upon
भाई
them.
का.
Two of them
और
down,
he come
two of them
DK.
right by the rock. A
DK
single
आ गई.
nade could be all they need, and over the top
Westron को down किया.
launches into the fight. Westron
Okay,
is
they can
already
also
down
have 3
and
kills.
flushed as well. It's all up
Maybe
to
they can
Bashford
also have 3
Cilio
kills.
on the
Kills.
south edge,
Still the kills
trying
present.
to keep his team alive, but there's 4 players to deal with. First, handled. Second, up to bat, low HP, looking for the reses.
D+, an interesting approach from them, honestly. The fact that they were able to get back into this one.
Ore,
down
nice,
the hill,
yaar.
Lovely stuff. Ash, though, an extremely
Ore,
strong
nice
play
try,
coming
yaar.
through
Nice
from
try,
Incilio,
Ash, yaar.
making it
Nice
work
try,
somehow, and
chill,
suddenly
yaar.
D+ is on the defense.
See, this team spirit as well. They're
Well,
rotating
team
back
spirit
down
knows
in,
it.
trying third party. We
That's
saw
why
this
Nomi,
style from
one
them
of the
yesterday.
greatest players
Looks
right
like they're
now.
trying to re-engage that booster thrust over towards that third-party situation.
Okay, only-
Instead of finding those knocks, though,
Damn,
not quite
Ozal is
flush
remaining?
D plus Kia. However, the blue
But
zone
6 kills.
may
Nice
just do
game
the
from
work.
DK.
Pushing in towards Point Donkey
Nice
ID.
game for DK.
Now much
A7
more
is
likely
still
to
3
Spirit
member
after they
holding.
healed up a little bit.
And whereas A7
I
has
don't
a
think
good
that
position.
went at all how
Like,
D+
A7 is
expected
Alpha
it
7
to,
in a good
right?
position.
You know, they're already down to
Okay, nades are
a
going
few
on.
players alive, which
DD,
is
Potato,
unfortunate.
assisting
Just
split,
Oshal has to continue
Matic,
going forward, and
Nomi,
Cilio is cut
Kids-
out. I think
Kidsum.
it was the right decision, the right call
Okay,
to
वही
make,
team
especially
जो
on Sandhawk,
second
to try
battery
and
the
pick up
बहुत time से.
as many points as possible. Unfortunately, for D+, it's
Okay,
just a little
team
bit
split
harder
is
to
done.
handle. RCB sent Silas
They are
out
done,
as a
man. They are
scout. This is very
seen
typical
from
Silas
two
behavior.
parties.
He just goes and does his own thing. RCB is
Okay.
like, sure, boss,
Okay,
do what you
Rezek.
need to do.
Rezek,
Alpha
need
7,
it
though,
through
now
कर,
on that
brother.
eastern side, attempting
Okay,
to breach on through. RCB
right
is
मांगे,
very
right
careful
मांगे,
in the
Potato.
meantime. Team Spirit
Potato,
moving over towards
Rezek, दोनों
Donkey
unit खींच के.
ID. The nades are going to have to be phenomenal here.
Need to try and find an opening knock, but they're not
Okay, no
quite
Matic.
getting the full damage through. A lot of damage sent back towards Point Donkey.
Okay,
ID on the
Matic
inside.
गलत जगह फंसी
They're
है.
playing with 2 players on this shack.
Matic
There's
can't do
also
anything, yaar.
Kitsune to worry
Matic
about.
कुछ नहीं कर
Third
सकता, bro.
party,
Matic
that
कुछ-
high ground off
okay.
and easy behind that tree, forcing Point Donkey to wait for
Okay,
the breach
Nomi
to
पे
come
MG
through.
है.
They failed to
और
find
गिल
the
के
nades
वैगनर को
just
कैरी
yet.
उन्होंने डाउन
Potato's
किया.
cooking up
और
another
nice
one.
nade.
Nomi doesn't want to wait
और
for the
Nomi
nade
down
to
हुआ
explode
Potato,
there.
nice
Tries
one,
to go for the
Potato,
trade,
yaar.
but it doesn't work out well. Thunder Talk now moving in from that north side, and Kitsune is under a lot of threat now, a lot of pressure. Will
Or
be the
team
last to
split
stand
them.
and will fall
Good
down.
soon.
Thunder Talk can take that western side.
Really nice defend,
Yeah,
brother.
also
Nice
actually,
defend,
yeah.
yeah. Like
Had
बाहर
a
से
little
कुछ
bit
भी
of
नहीं
an
करे.
impact in that fight.
Really
Taking
got
down
the kill, yeah.
Mantic
I think
on that
they-
sideline.
yeah.
Again, I think
Really
this is
is
one of the positions
on
where you
second
need
position,
you
yaar,
need
now.
nades remaining to make
Good.
that push here. And I think for Team Spirit, they
TT,
assumed from the spot
TT
that
का
they had,
अजय.
they wouldn't really
Zing
need those
King
going
अजय
into the
हुआ ही.
future.
टीम तमला से
D+,
गए. अगर ये अरे
be
मेरे
alone with
को
Osal on that southeast
अगर ये
side.
near
But
भीतर
Thunder
जाता
Talk did a
भाई.
great job. I actually enjoyed the fact that AJ
Okay,
split
now
out over
really got
towards that
no zone.
northeast side of the peak in was like, this is really not free for us. I think we're better off trying to take on these
Alpha
teams
7 मेरे को
that
लग
are
रहा है इस
down
मैच
on
में
that south
comeback है.
side who have been fighting
Alpha
for a
7
very long
comeback है.
time. RCB though with that central
Chicken
position, we move
not
off from
confirmed,
Paradise
but
Resort.
they can get
Suddenly, Influence Rage
Top 2.
have to play the
Because
game.
INF have to move,
They have to
A7 have to
from
move.
Paradise
RCB
Resort.
get
They've sent
confused.
Lil Boy out as a scout down south. He's on the high ground.
Okay,
ridge line,
okay,
and they
okay,
do have a
Silas.
lot of power to play
Oh,
in
wild
that
को knock
area.
किया.
Thunder Talk will
Magdalene
push
ने nice
forward,
lead. Oh,
potentially looking to try and push
माफियों
through
को
there,
बगल में
but
साइलेंस करने
Influence
और
Rage
साइलेंस
still
निकल नहीं
as they
है.
drag down
Silas
one
like
from
में
the
चला
back
इधर.
as well. King has been
ये मैंने
knocked.
बोला ना RCB कंफ्यूज होगी
A
डबल
little bit
डबल
harder to
टीम
play with. Alpha
A7
7
का
approaching
चेक
from this
इतनी है
northeast side in
और
the
ओसल को
meantime.
स्पॉट किया बट
RCB may be a little bit too wide on their split, a little bit too bold here. Sara looks to try and control, but not going to stop the flush from coming through either way.
A7
And
के
the
एक और बंदा मर
only
गया क्या?
Influence Rage, the 4-player team, as
Mafia
the west
से
side
knocked
and the
है.
south starts to resolve.
वाइल्ड का किल चुरा लिया गया है.
Nades pouring on
Okay,
through over
Mafia
towards
sort
Alpha
finished.
7. They take a couple of knocks.
सारा के नेट से
And they're making sure that they are holding this team out. They're out inside the blue. RCB, though, they know they need to conclude this fight quickly because obviously there's got to be a team in
Okay,
Paradise
RCB is
Resort
pushing
who are
it.
making their way
They
out
know
who
they
are
have to clear A7.
healthy as anything.
And that's a
Lovely
nice
play
push,
from
yaar. They got 2
RCB,
kills.
rolling up in the vehicle, take down Alpha 7. And like I said, they needed to get them out of the circle quickly. That's one way of doing it.
There's the Sarah push, and you're going to be rolling out with RCB this time around. Influence Rage, they've lost a player, they've lost Lorazin, but they still have 3 players up on this high ground as well. With 1 player from Thundertalk beneath them. Ching trying to get the stuns, man? To roll around, trying to wrap it on up, but with the last player.
Oh, nice nade, yaar.
Will send them skyward, and it is now 3v3. Is actually maybe 2v2. RCB lose 1. Sarah did go down, and now Silas and Loxy trapped on the inside. The circle closes dead center on this.
I mean, I think Silas there just forgot to recall Sarah back into the Pokeball, apparently. Just left him out inside the blue. And now we'll have to play on as just 2 players and see what they can get done here. They'll need an absolute hyper beam to remove Influence Rage from this high ground. But a 2v3.
Okay, nice one, Silas.
Okay, Silas opens the bidding. One knock found towards that high ground. That gives them a little bit of breathing room. Loxy breaks out to
Silas!
Silas standing tall for RCB from
Silas made it with the
as well. The all-time champ steps up for another performance.
Silas silences the opposition and they come away with a chicken dinner.
Well, we were watching that game, and that was definitely an unexpected result. However, Max, you were really diving into the way RCB played that final zone out, that final push out as well, and that was the thing of you.
They knew we have to push Alpha 7 early. If we do not send it to Alpha 7, we're going to get pincered between them and Influence Rage. It's going to be a Brazilian sandwich here, 7. They avoided it just like they should have, and really the way they after got those shots, like Silas, what was that about? That was crazy accuracy on those sprays.
Great opening. I really enjoy how they just ended up, you were mentioning too, they waited for the circle to end up pushing INF down. Yes. I got to give some props to INF though. They played that so well. One thing that we're looking at is Little Boy, the way that he was able to control that ridge worked out perfect. They ended up taking care of Thunder Talk Gaming, which was the biggest question mark in regards to what they were going to be able to do there. And Silas, I mean, even with that starting knock to opening there for ultimately the win, ends up getting MVP.
Yeah, not only Doc can also put up numbers in terms of fragging power, also Silas can do it. And you know, Silas currently one of the few players at this tournament that does have a PMGC title under his belt, and he's ready to reclaim it here already on this Sanok game.
I mean, he's only got 1, King's got 2.
Oh.
Okay, well,
well, you got to one-up him
How
like
many
that.
do you have, Jason?
5. No, I guess 4 because I missed 1.
Oh, actually, I didn't. Okay, like in terms of fair enough.
Those don't count though.
No, but again, for RCB, if you guys aren't familiar, I mean, they are playing Star. Razy did break his arm, which means the players they really can't communicate with, which makes seeing them win even more impactful. I mean, obviously we heard Blank and John talk about, you know, Simon's probably calling out push, and it ended up working out for him. And 7, go ahead.
And this is the one that you were talking about there, Max. The way that he was able to just wait for that ridge, wait for the circle to end up pushing them, wait for the right timing ultimately, and ends up getting that accuracy, ends up getting those shots, and ultimately the opening knocked. Right timing right there. That was the winning play, I feel like.
Yes, I think there was an opportunity maybe for Influence Rage to get the win, as if they third-party the push of Regman Karabrat onto Alpha 7. I just don't think they quite got the information from the perspective how much intel they had a connection. But because of that, they just
Silas,
they waited out the circle to push them out. They knocked that ridge.
That's called experience,
and that was the perfect play if you want to get the win. And here you go, 3 eliminations for Silas and 2 go in the way of Sarah.
And maybe the reason why Influence Rage decided not to end up pushing RCB, I think it has to do with Thunder Talk Gaming. They were just waiting it out. I think that with Thunder Talk Gaming, at least having some players still alive there, it kind of forced them to just be a little bit more passive. Stuff that we've been talking about with some of the other teams, one that comes to mind is like Boy and Donkey. Sometimes they tend to be a little bit too passive there at the end and be extra careful.
It was good. Like, it was such a good approach from Influence Rage. They know we are going to get backfilled by a few different teams. Here was one team in particular, Thunder Talk, that did delay their rotation significantly.
But they did like 1v2.
And they knew that's why they placed Little Boy on that southern ridge of Paradise Resort so early, to make sure we do not lose that pivotal position for a possible chicken dinner. So again, good approach here from Thundertalk and Influence, but Little Boy had the key position.
Something massive that we actually ended up noticing at the beginning of this match was that drop on Bootcamp. We expected Falcons. Falcons decided to end up backing up away from that fight, ends up being really of Bootcamp. And Team Spirit is the one that ends up landing on Bootcamp.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was just decided before this game or if they just dropped all the parachutes, like, okay, we got another option that we know is available. It's going to be south of Paradise. As we saw, it went towards Paradise, so that was a good drop location to go for. But we know, 7, I mean, playing games, tournament, southern terrain of Paradise Resort is horrible. And every team that tried to make that approach from that location in particular got eliminated so early in that mid to late game finish.
And something else that we noticed throughout this match was Team Spirit. They ended up with the 2-2 split that ended up getting punished by D plus Kia.
Yes.
They were able to catch 2 players too far away from the other squad. They were not going to be able to get there in time. They ended up getting one of the players there from Team Spirit and forcing the last player from that 2-2 split to just back off.
Yeah, you can see here in the replay how it worked out. You had Effect and Matic split from the rest of the Me, Nomi, and Kitsune that were high up north. I was actually quite surprised that they didn't instantly get in the cars to try and regroup or to have their teammates come and back them up. They just stuck it around that position despite getting pushed up by D plus Kia. They knew that push was coming up too, right? and yet they lose effect and Matic is able to regroup. So a little bit unfortunate. It is a Sanoc, but we know that on a wrangle, they can truly deliver.
If we're going to talk about D plus Kia, we got to talk about how ultimately their match ended up just coming to an end with Incilio Fashe. I mean, he was able to clutch up a lot of elements. If he would have had just that full health and maybe not the zone pressure him, I think he would have been able to just fully clear the squad.
9 points.
Look, considering they got 9 eliminations, they just cleared all the South Korean teams, by the way. They
Falcons देखो top 7 में सबसे सबसे पहले almost खत्म होने वाली team
actually like Concilio.
They are good teams, yeah. They will do well
because they also did a similar thing to like 4MV, right? We saw Riley pick up a 1v2 up against them. They knew they were already wounded from an earlier elimination, and they ended up getting themselves 9 eliminations in total. But you know, Alpha 7. Another 9 points for them as well here. What would you kind of categorize that? A decent game, 7?
That's how they need to start off today, especially for a team that was far down in the leaderboard after they won. Being able to come out in the first match, top 4, 5 eliminations, is not the usual insane performance that we've seen out of Alpha 7, but it is the performance that they need to start off their day, to set that momentum on the right track. The big question mark, though, is we saw a great performance out of Alpha 7 in the first 2 matches yesterday. What are we going to be seeing out of them for the rest of the day?
Actually, it's kind of weird to me because Sanok has never been a map that really stands out to me when I'm thinking of Alpha 7, right? It's more of a Nera in particular. I'm like, oh, that's going to be typically their really, really big map here. But if they do good on that map, that's really good. But going into Wrangle, that's going to be the big question mark for today.
I mean, speaking of good, right? With this victory, RCB moved up to 6th place with 47 points. Void moved up to 2nd as well here at 58. And that gap that 4MV did create yesterday is slowly dwindling away as we obviously are going to be heading into Erangel next.
Yeah, very important for these teams as we go lower on the leaderboards, and Alpha 7 not budging then. It does close the gap a little bit, so now one other game like that might be able to push them up significantly in the rankings. So we have another arrow going up here is going to be Influence Rage. With a game like that, sure, it's a 2nd place. They maybe could have got the win, but this is the type of game you want right now, early on in day 2, if you want to have a chance to compete at the top of the ranking.
And as well for Team Falcons, even though they didn't end up getting any of those placement points, they did end up with at least 6 eliminations. That is going to be massive for that team. A team that usually relies on the squad to just be aggressive. It's good to see, even in Sandhawk, even though they didn't end up getting that bootcamp drop that they're so used to getting, they were still able to rack up at least 6 eliminations.
Yeah, you had a lot of stragglers just coming in from the southern side they were able to just get rid of, as of course crossing that road is going to be down into a valley, then uphill, so you can get a lot of eliminations off the back of that. But as we said, southern terrain of Paradise is always rough, so I think they understood we're definitely not going to have a winning game here. We're just going to capitalize on early eliminations and then
I think
that's fair considering it is Sandhawk right now. You'd expect to get high placement points, look for those limbs, and I still kind of surprised at the gatekeeping that we saw, but also some third party. I know you guys did talk about it a little bit here with D Plus being very aware of the fact that DRX did fight up against Encilio after D Plus fought up against Spirit and kind of collapsed on top, but looking for eliminations because you know those limbs, like we saw with IHC, are going to move you up the leaderboard. And speaking of being at the top here and being strong, the Mountain himself, as we do have the Arctic Conqueror guild set. Max, you did not gain strength. I know you did not weightlift. Is actually going to be here on the 7th, which is today. If you guys are actually here in the house or near, you can come on in. And the weightlifting challenge is also going to be live during this, which I think, Max, as you two try to pretend like you are buff, it's not going to be working out. But make sure you guys check this out in game and you can get it for yourself. What do you mean pretend? Have you seen him at the gym?
Arctic Conqueror guild set
bulking for the past 20 years.
Pick up 7 right now.
You have a rowing machine?
No, don't.
No, do not pick me up.
You're too gullible. You're too gullible. Also, big shout out here to Qiddiya as well here, as they are the heart of the Qiddiya city in the gaming esports district, the world's IRL gaming and esports district, and the epicenter of gaming culture. Make sure you guys check that out next year. I cannot wait till we get to go there, and maybe I can get an MG3 and take you down. Not a real one.
Not a real one?
Maybe we'll start working out there too.
No. 7, how many years have I known you now? You go to the gym for 1 day, we go to events, and then you just
2 days.
Hand warmer partner.
Take a picture.
Okay, I'm done.
I went for actually 2 weeks.
Why hand warmer? Gaming के लिए hand warmer भाई.
Well, you know what?
H.
You know what? With a Koopa, they might just be hand warmers, but maybe you can use it to heat up your knee and actually help it out here. The UT2 Gamer Pros with its 5,000 milliamp battery and 4 different adjustable heating levels. You can pick one up. You see the players on the stage using it. And honestly, these things are sick. I'm surprised we haven't seen them around earlier on because you know what? My hands get extremely
It's really
cold.
Good actually.
Rechargeable battery bank as well. And you know,
वही तो मैं क्या कल तो दिखे ये क्या
I
बस
think I got the best ones, to be fair.
भाई
And they got
हैंड
RGB as well on top of that. But gentlemen, as we are about to head into Erangel here, we got to kind of turn our attention toward this because this is the meat and potatoes of what we have every single day. 3 matches. Inciglio is definitely going to be a team we're keeping an eye on because we know how important hovercrafts are. We even talked to Defi earlier on, the coach for Void Donkey, and he says like these things, like we don't necessarily go completely out of our way like Inciglio to get them, but if we see one, we pick one up because they are that instrumental in success.
I think that's the game plan for every team here. If we see it, we're going to take it. But unlike Inciglio are the only team here that are just, we are going to actively go out of our way to try and get one of those. And I love that game where Enigma Galaxy won yesterday. They were just hiding behind one of the hovercrafts from Inciglio and like, this is actually
pretty good.
This is actually a really good defensive position. We're just going to maybe use it a bit more. It's actually
as well with him, and we were talking about like, why don't teams try to exploit him a little bit more. It's the fact that if you end up, wasting your entire clip on it, someone can hop out and just shoot you. So teams are being very respectful of knowing, like, we can't invest too many bullets to blow this up. Instead, we got to be careful about being eliminated ourselves.
Extra careful. I mean, I'm not even going to talk about it because my driving is absolutely awful. One team I do want to talk about, especially before we head into Erangel, has to be D+ Kia. I mean, we saw them being able to not put up any performances yesterday during Erangel. The first Erangel, 16th place, 1 ilm. Second one, 9th place, 5 ilms. And then the third one, 8th place, 0 ilms. For this team,
D+ Kia, okay. Nah यार बहुत अच्छी कोरियन टीम, बहुत अच्छी कोरियन टीम है
this team that we saw that they were
really
capable
best
of
कोरियन टीम भाई अब तक किया ये
that quick thinking, that positioning, and also the aggressiveness to
यार ये बंदे फॉर्म
stop
होते
any
हैं
third
इनसे
party from
नहीं
happening. If they can do that, honestly,
but
that
Alpha
is a
7
champion caliber team.
Yeah, in a similar vein to D+ Kia, I'm going to talk about the other South Korean team, right? That has been having some varying results on that map. They got, I think, a 2nd place, but with only 2 eliminations, relatively low for like a good finish on their angle.
Yep.
I think DRX, especially after how they played in their group Yellow, we expected big things going into the grand finals. Unfortunately, has yet to fully deliver, but there's a lot of teams that are looking to improve their performances on Erangel, so D+, DRX are definitely some of those teams, and in Inciglio, hopefully they're just going to hope to maintain their performance on that map from yesterday.
We're talking about teams that need to be able to improve in Erangel. I think one team that was actually able to do really good in the first Erangel was Enigma Galaxy.
Yes.
They were able to get that first win, they were able to back it up with 10 eliminations. I want to see what this team is going to be bringing into Erangel today. And I see your thinking face.
I'm thinking, actually, real quick, before we do go into the game, I want to see Falcons. What are they going to do with their 2-2 split drop in Milta and also Novo? Are they going to fix it? Because Inciglio are still going to be there looking for the hover.
We heard Senator that they need to fix those mistakes.
Yes.
Well, not to mention 4MV, can they pull off another amazing match yet again on Erangel in day 2? There's a flash in the pan and League stage to see if they can change their future as we head over to our commentators and drop it into our first Erangel of the day with John Allen and Blake.
Thank you very much, Jason. We are, of course, going over the grassy pastures once more. Plane path from Sosnovka military base up towards Georgia Pole. So, on the plane path blank, we have cut out areas like Kameshki and Stelba, a little bit far afield, but not going to be too dramatic.
No, I think this is absolutely fine for a lot of our teams here. Obviously, getting over towards the Povka, Yasnaya, a little bit more difficult, Severny as well, but most teams will struggle. Most teams will be likely to pick up vehicles from around Milta and Farm. I think
team already jump
are likely to drop around
them
try and pick up vehicles off them, so they are instantly out looking to pick up those splits. Might be a little bit more dangerous early on here.
The triple on the south side. You got Falcons also around that Nova. So 4 teams on that military base. It is going to be a little bit rough here if it's not a military island circle, which, statistically, quite likely to happen apparently here at PMGC finals.
4MV is at
Inciglio,
military base.
Drop here. I mean, they drop this is their standard drop, right? But I'm wondering
TT drop हुई है military base के
staying near that bridge, right? You loot around Milta, you loot around the edge of this bridge. You know there's a lot of teams who have already dropped out over that military island.
Zone is at center of
with a circle like this, you know they're going to have to be rotating up north, so potential to collect quite a lot early getting Inciglio.
Yeah, they can head up towards Milta, a wide wrap. There is a ton of options for Inciglio going forward, and they're going to be happy.
Falcon coaching के पीछे वाले compounds में
they get to pick through.
South की तरफ. ओके फिर से एक और बंदा कटा ब्रूनो जिन कट चुके हैं इंटरप्लेस ब्रूनो जिन सॉरी इंटरप्लेस की तरफ से और वीसी के डेविड भी टॉप डाउन हो चुके हैं टीजेबी फ्लावर एज बट रेस इन दिया फॉर
full squad wipe.
Oh, wipe!
Tong Jiabao getting some vengeance from game 1. That was in a 2v4 as well. The backup hadn't come through yet. They managed to make it work.
VC बाहर VCS
weaponry
और गोलियां बना दी गई हैं सालों चले
added for TJB. That is a great result.
भाई कल बर्थडे आपका प्लान क्या है मैं तो पढ़ूंगा मूवी देखूंगा
got taken down.
मेरा प्लान ब्रदर
we'll be fine. Just grab a couple bandages.
भाई
get a first aid
कल इंडिया की बैटिंग
and the fact
होपफुली
that this fight concludes so quickly is
9:30 बजे से
massive,
बैटिंग है तो वही देखेंगे
especially on such a pivotal
मूवी एक्चुअली पुष्पा 2 का अच्छा प्रिंट आ गया है
Yeah, for the Vicious, it's so unfortunate.
वो देखनी है और मेरे को एक कमेंट्री की मूवी यार मेरे को दोबारा मन कर रहा है वो देखूं
Great game to get up there with the likes of Fifth and
और
upwards.
PMGC चल ही रहा है
Incilio and D
भाई
plus
सैटरडे संडे
high on
रिलैक्स
points at 52
नींद आज मैंने नींद ली है भाई 2 बजे सो के उठा हूं
2
मैं
points ahead, but in that top
लिटरली
3
2
up
बजे सो के
on
उठा हूं
side
मैं
with
उठाऊं
Voindonkey
नहाया हूं
ID,
जूते
who
वूते
have
जूते
been a
करने लगे थे
consistent team
कपड़े
from
बदलने थे
start
फिर
to
देखा
finish.
धूप नहीं
And I can
है
only
कोई कोई फायदा
imagine
नहीं
how
कल
happy Indonesian
कपड़े
fans are to have such a great representative here at the PMGC
लागी
Grand Finals 2024.
Okay, Falcon के IC
taking a
Overlord.
I don't know if they've
Overcraft सॉरी Overcraft भाई ये जो ये चीज है ना ये
Overcraft. That is Fash from Incilio. This is a roll up on Icy. He hasn't been able to take the fight. You can't
fight
for the spray down, and they just keep that pressure on.
Oh, दो टीम्स थी IC को टेक डाउन किया गया ओ मैं ध्यान ही नहीं दिया INS के फैश में
I imagine for
भाई Overcraft भाई कहीं भी चढ़ सकता है वो चढ़ाने की कोशिश कर रहा था
we'll have an interview
ये Overcraft में गोली नहीं मार सकते ना तुम किसी को
not entirely sure
I think it was with Defiant from Vulcan.
yeah,
I think we got an interview with the coach of one of the most consistent teams.
Absolutely.
And we will be
Let's take a
hearing
listen.
what he's got to say right now.
VD के डिफिनियो भाई ठंडी में बहुत चलकर भाई ठंडी में बहुत चलकर काट रहा है वॉशरूम का टीचर को लग रहा है कि मैं किसी लड़की से मिलने जा रहा हूँ अब उनको कैसे प्रूव करी कि लेजेट आ रही है उनके साथ ले जाकर दिखाऊं अच्छा सॉरी अच्छा ओके आईएनएस के रेड लिंक किसको फिनिश कर दिया कौन फिनिश हो गया अच्छा वॉशरूम ज्यादा आ रहे हैं उसमें ठंडी में कोई ना कोई इधर होता रहता है स्कूल टाइम में पानी कम पियो स्कूल के बाद पी लो यार मैं ये चीज कर सकते हो लेकिन लिक्विड वाली चीजें कम मत पियो जैसे सुबह होते हैं ना कि दूध पी के चले आते हैं पर दूध सीन होता है कि इंडियन मॉम्स हमेशा दूध में पानी जरूर मिलाती हैं like drink less water if you are having a like toilet issue
Such a fantastic mind in the PUBG mobile scene. He is
क्योंकि सर्दियों में इतनी ठंड भी नहीं लगती मतलब
from the front
इतनी
here
प्यास भी नहीं लगती है
Voindonkey ID and
दो लोग इमेज स्ट्रीम आज कर रहे हैं who is the second one
a successful strategy for
क्या
them so
INF के
far.
लोरेंजिन
Very cool, very calm.
मिनी 14 क्या 8x है इनके पास
Team is
8x से
feeling
चांटे
that
दे
as well.
पाएंगे
They are just
और
coming into this one thinking, you know what?
कोचिंग के आगे वाले कंपाउंड होल्ड कर रहे हैं स्कूल की तरफ वाले नॉर्थ वाले
Let's just give it a go. There's nothing to lose, and right
काफी
now,
अच्छी जगह है बट सीन ये है कि एक डिप है
especially in the second place that they
थोड़ा
sit.
डिप में आ जाता है अगर टीम ऊपर से
Yeah, I think for Voindonkey ID, there's certainly going to be pressure on side for them, but they are playing it out fairly well. And I think that you come in, this is the big thing. You come into day one, and what you've done in day one has worked. Always a massive blessing for a lot of
भाई
people
ये
when that
McLaren की
happens. You
skin
don't have to
भाई
change anything.
How this is
A lot of
allowed in
times
esports
day
यार
two, it's much easier
McLaren
to
skins
do.
allowed
You
कैसे
have to
brother
really
बग्गी और
swap
McLaren की
through
skin
all
में
the
तो बहुत
VODs
अंतर
in
है
the evening. Really wake
much
up
faster
quite
यार वो बग्गी
sleepy
से
because I imagine
और टीटी
there's
का
a lot of
रोटेशन
work
आता
to be
होगा
done.
मिल्टा के साइड से
Just
जाते
go
हुए
back and be like, yeah, that was
मिल्टा की
good,
इसकी
we
तरफ से
could
निकलते
change
हुए
a couple things here and there,
और टीम
but
स्प्लिट
not
वैसे डीके के ओसाल बहुत ही
That
फेमस
means
प्लेयर
you feel
और तुरंत ही
very
दिमाग लगा के ओसाल ने कहा मैं तो चला क्या वो बच सकते हैं और ओसाल का स्प्रे आया
matches coming through so far between
और नोमी one of the famous players
plus
और टीटी को मैंने आईएनएस के 310 को डाउन किया
interesting way to
जो कि
start.
ऑब्वियस था आईएनएस यहां पे फैल्कन के बंदे को मार के चिल कर रहे थे
countered.
और वही बंदा मैंने
Elimination over towards Incilio, and
Overcraft
it will
वाला
be pilfered as well. Thundertalk will take that
Overboard,
one
sorry.
away from them and carry on in
बट यार मिल्टा
on
को
the
जो
east
चेंज
side
किया ना
now.
समझ में नहीं आता ओह
Not quite in the circle just yet, playing slow into this one over in the Milta area. A little bit unwieldy on the
TJB
graph there, but
longs कर कहाँ है भाई फिर इनका?
that. So Incilio playing on with 3.
676
However,
Flower Edge खेल रहे longs
Incilio
करके
have already managed to get 2 points extracted from the Falcons. We saw that during the interview as well, able to find that second elimination. So they will be all right for the time being and able to keep pace a little bit. You can see they've jumped up just over.
Guild के Wagner काफी अच्छे बनी for
That was the game plan. So ruined.
But
No more
not
hovercraft. What are
enough
you going to do about that now? That's the
Guild
real
is the
question.
last team right
I do
now
also
with
enjoy the
11
fact that
points
the
only.
drop spot plays into their hovercraft fantasies. Right?
Falcon के दो
always
player
drop
जा
around
चुके
a
हैं.
position where they can pick one up early
They
on,
only 34
but losing
points.
it is somewhat of a detriment to them because again they like to play in open spaces. They like to take advantage of those positions just because they have basically a moving wall that goes along with them anywhere. So losing that to Thunder Talks might be a big blow to their game plan. 4MV down towards our southwest side, pushing over towards Nigma Galaxy and DRX. Nigma Galaxy not doing too badly.
Okay, Redx scored किया Baron ने.
Currently on 40 points so far. It's a
4MV की
respectable
Apex.
result
अच्छा
going into day
4MV
2.
कोचिंगी की लेफ्ट साइड कोचिंगी के अगल बगल में बहुत टीम्स घूम रही हैं.
Remember, they finished yesterday
कोचिंगी
on
का जोन होगा या फिर
62
स्कूल वाला? मेरे को
points.
लग रहा है स्कूल वाला जोन निकलता है
But
मोस्ट.
overall, in those last 2 Miramars, they got 0 points total. Right, so 4MV weren't able to pick up too much more off the back of that. They could have been soaring ahead of everyone else here coming into day 2, but they were happy to even.
Okay, Alpha 7 ने ब्लंडर खेला है कि नहीं ये जोन 7 नहीं जाएगा.
Teams biting at their heels though. It will be all
Alpha 7 played it for.
to that first place.
Okay,
Hard southwest shift
okay,
blend. It does
I already
isolate the
told
south
it.
side, but it's over
Okay,
towards
school
the
वाला
Gap
zone है.
fields, meaning
DK,
that
INF,
Everest cut out to that western edge.
DRX,
the river crossing
they are
on
at
the
a
north
very good
side
point
now going to
here,
be
right
dangerous.
now.
We're looking at Alpha 7, TJB,
NGX,
and Guild all looking to
ये
make that move. The
पुचिंगी
question is who's going to be able to
के ईस्ट
filter
की
through
तरफ.
this one
ये
unscathed.
पुचिंगी है. इधर आपका हो
DRX
गया.
massively good position
अरे
for
यार
them. They
मैं
can
तो
pick
उल्टा
up
देख
Castle,
रहा हूँ.
they can pick up Ruins. These
अरे
are
स्कूल
very,
वाले
very strong
कंपाउंड जो
spots
बीच
to
में पड़ते हैं
play
ना
in.
स्कूल के
There is
और
also
कोचिंग के बीच में जो
bunkers,
कंपाउंड
which
है
they
वहाँ
do
पड़ेगा.
actually have an outpost in.
मैंने पुष्पा 2 देख लिया. आपको एक टिप देना चाहूंगा ब्रदर. दो बिल्कुल दो मेरे को तो स्पॉइलर दे दो कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. ओके टीजे फ्लो ने अल्फा 7 को नेगेटिव स्पॉट किया.
Tongjibao hopping out at the moment, looking over towards Alpha 7, trying to find a pick
TJB
up.
versus Alpha 7
is
डिस्टेंस हो रहा है.
more concerned with getting into the circle right now and send them away in the meantime. But Tongjibao on a high after taking down Vicious so early.
And
Okay,
kind of
पक्का होगा.
almost
TJB Alpha 7
free-rolling
होना
this
है.
match, right?
Same
With
rotation
4
चल रहा था ना
eliminations
टीम में.
already. You've already done a lot of work that you need to get done into this circle, into this zone,
Okay,
and
Alpha
into this
7
game.
not yet,
so taking
not
these fights, you
getting
can be a little bit more
same
aggressive
issue
in the
with
knowledge that
not
worst
getting the
case
zone they
scenario, you get
wanted.
4 points on this match, which isn't a terrible
Okay,
place to be.
okay,
But
Corelio,
when you're down
Corelio,
towards the lower end of the
Corelio,
tables, maybe
कोई
you
आ
want
रहा है
a
कोई आ
little
रहा
bit
नहीं
more.
आया.
So
TJB के एक भी
that
बंदा नहीं आया.
strategy can change
Yeah,
a little
Corelio
bit.
got it
TJB, they
carefully.
fall short of the river here because Alpha 7 are already across. They read into that, and TJB don't need to cross just yet. The compound that they hold now is in the circle for the next one, and they will be able to wait for the next shift. Alpha 7
versus
much
DK.
more likely to just send away.
DK
In fact,
का
that's
नाम
what they do. Get a little bit closer.
No,
to
AJ,
play the
AJ.
compounds over towards Ruins.
Okay, AJ.
Smart play from
एक सेकंड
TJB, honestly, really enjoyed that one.
बस
A lot
56
of
एक्सेप्ट
times
मत
we'll
करना.
see teams just razz it across, and Alpha 7 is used to punishing that. This time around, they're like, oh, we have to just keep going forward. There's no point in sitting around this bridge forever. In the meantime, D+ currently up against the Thunder Talks, and already there is an initial knock that goes through.
TT के होए डाउन हो चुके हैं. नेड पिन खींचा गया है.
This nade could
Fabian
prove
की तरफ से
devastating.
Fabian का नेड.
No
Nade
real
can he
third
get
parties to
zing
be
down हो
seen
सकते
onto
हैं?
this location either,
Okay,
which means
Nade-
it's a
Nade
straight
1
up
HP, he's 1
4v4
HP.
in the apartments.
हेलो पाजी क्या हाल है
A
जेडी
wide ramp
पाजी?
maybe from a team like
कैसा
Team
चल रहा
Spirit,
है?
but that's got at
Kingston
least
जो है
30
ना
to
जेब
40
जाऊंगा पर
seconds on it.
पुष्पा 2 की
We'll see
एक
how
हाथ
long
पूरे
this one
भाई
takes.
नाइस नेड यार.
Nolbu
नाइस
nades
नेड
out
नॉबू.
and finds the flush. Good start for the fight.
Again,
From
nade.
the talk, losing one.
ओके ये क्या नीड था स्मोक था.
It's a little bit slowed down
हाँ,
now.
easy.
Seems
भाई
like
बचा
Team
कैसे ये
Plus
बंदा?
not going to continue with their aggression onto the fight, but they've claimed one of these
Okay,
apartment
smoke
buildings.
path बनाया जा रहा है.
Push Thunder Talk away.
they can
Came
leave.
up on that high ground, not really
Oh,
having to get
why
back.
nice.
A big nade
Oh, sir,
over
one
the
of the
side
best
there.
plays I've seen in my
A lot of damage to
entire
AJ
life.
as well. King
क्या
needs
ही
to find value on
knocked
this
up
nade.
है.
Needs to
Zing
find
के
1
ऊपर.
or 2 knocks on this one for sure. Goes in, plus
Okay,
a
oh,
lot of
Nobu
damage
died
to
down.
Nobu's health bar, but doesn't quite find that knock that they were looking for. AJ gets the heal off.
Oh,
but
AJ down.
immediately
Last
taken
round,
back down.
King
They get
remaining.
sat, and it
King
is
like
Thunder
match
Talk with
मेरा
one
आया
left
था
to
खत्म.
one
क्रिंज
left
को जेल
to
जाना.
stand in
कोचिंग
this
से आ रहे
game.
ब्रदर जेडी
It's a great nade
बढ़िया
start
है.
with, honestly.
क्या कर रहे हो आज?
Plus,
किस चीज़ की
because
कोचिंग चालू
send
है?
the first into the building, immediately follow up one through the window. So even though it didn't do a lot of damage, they understood they were on
Okay,
the outside of
कोचिंग
the
की का
building
zone
at
कट
that
गया
point,
guys.
because Osal could
Well,
follow up with a
अरे
nade
कोचिंग की
around
में
the
गया.
side of the door.
मजा आ
It's
जाएगा
just
भाई.
smart play from
भाई मैं चाहता हूं जाए
very
NGX
hard
बैठी है
for
यहाँ
Monitor
है
to
zone.
deal with because as soon as they were
Okay,
on
Zing
the
spotted
defense,
1 HP.
they weren't getting away
And
from
down.
it. Another
Bhai,
great
nice
takeoff,
gameplay
and
from
now
DK.
VG2 with 4
One of the
elims.
best team from
South
Korea.
Korean
Almost
representatives doing very well.
top 5
score.
team
Pretty
in
much
the
a
world.
masterclass
DK.
of how to play
You can say
apartments
always
on the
every
CC
tournament they
side.
played.
4MV going up
I have
against
watched
Boing
them in every
Donkey
tournament.
ID. Potato blasts
Okay,
into the
VD
building.
ने 4MV down किया, 4MV
And
down
Vexy
for दूसरा
sure,
match
but they're on
without
the
any
inside.
kill.
They've got
Right
the
now.
protection they need to get this
Zeta.
res. 4MV trying to get some
Zeta 1v2
retribution
करते
here
हुए.
after losing
Lead
2 of
खींचा
their
गया है.
players, but they can't get into the warehouse position. Now Void
Okay,
Donkey
warehouse
ID
ले लिया,
looking to
VD के
repair
साथ,
themselves,
VD
pick themselves back up in this position to the west side of
Okay,
Pachinki
need
lane.
है,
They
need
have
है,
got
need है.
a
It's
solid
dead,
area
can
under
do
their control,
nothing.
but they just need to put it back together to make sure that they've got that strength to play around. RCB, you
Then
can see them
go.
marauding on the north side here, and Nick
just
Vidalisi
camping
just
with
across the
camp.
way.
You can't do
RCB
nothing.
quick to try and replenish
You can't do
supplies
nothing,
here.
brother, man.
They know teams are wandering on the outside. They're wondering if this fight's concluded, if it's third partyable. Is the real question. Void Donkey ID
Okay,
will look to
RCB
bust
and
open
GX,
that building that 4MV
they're on
holds over
church.
on the eastern
Pachinki
side.
के church पे.
If they can get it done. But right
बाहर
now,
है.
Void Donkey ID
बाहर
is
है,
pretty
बाहर
content
है.
in the spot they have.
Guys,
Lot of
I'm
vehicles
watching
in there
other
as well
things.
that they have available to them to block off entrances. I think there's more than the players on board over there at the moment, which is very nice to see. Alpha
RCB
7,
got a-
after
okay.
they rotate in, they will
RCB
sit
got a
on
good-
the
good
western
position,
side.
sir,
They
if they
have
got defended.
a compound that sits a little bit of high ground over towards the western edge. It is right on the edge of the circle, but
Okay, INS के फैश अगेन फिर से ओवरवुड का फायदा उठा के टीम स्पिरिट के मैट को डाउन किया और रेड लिख का कवर फायर भी आता हुआ और इफेक्ट को भी नॉक किया जाएगा.
One player going down nice and early.
Okay, easy 1v2 for INS.
Some old school mistakes coming through from Team
Oh,
Spirit.
no me.
Staying
Team
too
Spirit का
split now,
downfall
2
कल
matches
second
in a
position
row,
में दिया, fifth
getting
में हैं.
punished for it. Incilio, a nice roll up there and capitalizing on the opportunity, so adding more to their tally. 4 elims found now for them. They're up into that third place. They're starting to
Where
make
is I
sorry,
want to see if
yeah,
where is
4
Alpha
elims
7.
found for Incilio. They're up into that tied third place with D plus Kia currently a little bit behind on the tiebreakers, but they will continue to march on forwards. On the southeast side, looks like they're going to head through Pachinki. I'm interested on this one. And you seem to, you said earlier they lost that hovercraft. They've got one back on side. Fash sidles up to the south end of Pachinki.
Yeah, the thing is about the hovercraft is that you can't shoot the
Navi
player
की
out
flip
of
ने
it.
red
The
lick को down
only
किया.
response to
Hit
it
soon.
is to blow it up,
Tip
and
खेलते
it
हुए.
has a massive health pool as well. It's pretty durable, so it's extremely good, and they are putting it on Fash every single time. Purely
Okay, Alpha
because
7 playing it slow.
what can you
They
do
know
about
if
a
they have zone, they
fragger
can
that
win it
just
easily.
cannot be stopped when they're crashing in?
Alpha
And
7
if
ना
Fash
भी
can
यार
get a lot of
same
work done
game
in
चलता
that
है
front
at
line
the end ये इनकी fight
immediately
होनी है
with
कोई भी
basically
game.
no
Okay.
consequences for
That's a
crashing
pretty
in
भाई
aggressively
यहाँ पे अब
like
जो
that.
भसड़ मचने
It's
वाली है मैं
such a
लिख के दे रहा हूँ
difficult thing to
भाई
play against, and then it provides a
1
massive
2
counter play game.
3
I'm tempted to
4
say
टीम या तो यहाँ
the
क्रैश
hovercraft
मारेंगी
is
या फिर ये
somewhat
सीधे यहाँ
broken
क्रैश मारेंगी
at the
क्योंकि
moment.
ये स्पॉट ना भाई
But
बहुत
it
गंदा
is
है
making
सबको
for
दिखता है भाई
a
यहाँ
fun
पे
experience here at the PMGC.
And that's the
सीधे
thing,
center
right?
crash
Insidious seems
पसड़
to be one of the
पूरी
very
मजा
few
आ गई.
teams that's actually
मूवी ओके बट
really
हाइप पे खड़ी नहीं उतरी हाँ
capitalizing on that.
मूवी
They have
ओके भी नहीं है
really
एक्चुअली
added
उन्होंने
to
ना
that stat book,
बहुत सारे
and they're
कैरेक्टर
making it
इंट्रोड्यूस
work
कर दिए
beautifully.
जो मेन मतलब था
Lose another, a
जो
nice little
फर्स्ट में
tumble
विलन
there
था
from
उसको एज अ साइड
Ezekiel,
कैरेक्टर का है
10
और
points from the judges.
थर्ड मूवी की हाइप ज्यादा बनाने के चक्कर में उन्होंने सेकंड मूवी की अम्मा बहन कर दी.
Yeah, Team Spirit losing another is
काफी सारे
unfortunate,
lose
right?
ends हैं
Spirit,
like
they're
senior
not in a bad position on the table.
बट मूवी में अभी देखी नहीं है बट ये
place,
चीजें
it's
समझ में आ
unlikely
चुकी
they'll
हैं.
get their player back up again. This has to be a
But
classic salvage game now coming
एज अ
from
मास
Team
मूवी देखा
Spirit,
जाए तो भाई फिर
trying
तो
to live
मतलब
as
बहुत
long as
अच्छी है
possible and get
क्योंकि
those placement
साउथ में
points.
मूवी है
Tsune
बड़ा एक्टर है
goes
तो मास
down.
मूवी ही बनेगी.
So now just
You can't
Domi,
expect
I
anything.
believe, remaining for the squad.
You can't expect a very good writing,
Circle
very good
shrinks to the
dialogues, very
west
good
side
story.
of
हाँ, but
Pachinki.
dialogues अच्छे होंगे, मैं अब तक नहीं बता सकता. But very good writing, very good story. You can't have.
Cilio in the trenches, see if he can.
Like जैसे पुष्पा में ना unexpected transfer कि ये सीन हो रहा है इसके साथ बुरा होना है. अचानक उसने already
Flower looking
ये
to
आप
try
हर
and
मूवी
hold
में
off.
नहीं
They've
देखा.
already got 4 elims, remember, from that early game
Oh, bhai,
engagement.
nice
But
defending.
Gilda looking to try and take the fight with them as
Okay,
well. The
TJB
roll-up does
Flower
go well,
Edge,
though.
Flower Edge, nice.
Still has a little bit more gas in the tank and
और
has
Karfar
room
है
to the
और
high
उसकी तरफ
ground
से.
on the off angle there. Last player from Guild to try and take the fight, but it's put down.
676.
676 can try and
और
get
Guild
into
is
this one,
complete
and
भाई.
3
That's a
players
nice one
survive.
TJB.
A nice heal off coming through in the blue zone, stage 4.
मूवी
This
के बड़े
will be
पैन इंडिया लेवल
survivable.
पे
They're
ये
up
तो
to
नहीं
8
होना चाहिए.
points now, Black.
No,
There's
बदर
an
नहीं होगा.
unreal
पैन इंडिया
response
लेवल पे
from Flower.
नहीं होगा.
He absolutely blossomed
It's a mass
into
movie
that
whether
fight,
you
gets a
have to
ton of
understand
damage
South
done.
movie industry is
Point
mass
Donkey
movie
ID
making
up
industry.
against D+.
I really do.
They're inside the
Center
building.
crash
They're
होगा,
unable
DKD
to hold
center
on.
crash किया,
And
VD को
Point
wipe कर
Donkey
दिया.
ID will go down with the help of
मैंने कहा ना
RCB
बना
driving in
तो
from
एक
that
और टीम आई
sideline.
RCB आई.
They now send
मैं बोला ना
over
center
towards
crash होगा,
position.
RCB is crashing.
Plus,
RCB is
suffering
crashing.
at the moment. They
मैंने
have
बोला
a
ना
player
center crash
down.
होगा.
Nades
RCB
coming in.
crashing.
4MV also. Crash on crash. RCB
DK
try
nice
and step
defending,
on
but
in. 1 for 1 on the trade, but the numbers are in their advantage.
Last
That
player
gives them
500
their favor, but
5-1
Fabian
or
tries
DK
to
is
take
out.
it back. Unfortunately, won't be able to find
Center
enough.
का
Now
देखा
he's got
another
another
team.
team.
There will be
Anybody
another team
else?
coming.
Anybody more?
और कोई आएगा, और
Navi
कोई
on the
आएगा.
south side, they
जल्दी,
could
जल्दी,
potentially
जल्दी,
look to
जल्दी.
push into this one, depending on how
और कोई,
fast
और
RCB
कोई,
can get
और
themselves
कोई.
back
TJB is
together.
here, TJB
Maybe
is here.
TJB want to try.
TJB is here.
4MV
अच्छी
quiet
होगी साथ
on
की.
that one. They allow them in.
आपने लकी पास कर दी कि नहीं बता रहा
Set up towards that position, but for every team that gets towards there, it's safer sailing for 4MV going forward. Alpha 7 still yet to push in from
Netflix
that western edge. Tongjiabao, honestly, a great game from them so far, and this was the turn-up that we wanted to see coming through from that team. 8 eliminations on the match, fantastic news for them. 4 elims for Incilio, but now down to just 2 players as they try and make their way through.
676
Pachinki
have to play a miracle
on
here
that eastern edge.
or he's done. Navi के 11 को डाउन किया बेरन ने.
I'm looking at RCB right now, Blank. I mean, they took that warehouse.
Okay,
they
DRX
back
versus
to their
Sexy.
feet, so they
He
are
spotted
full
him.
four in this central
But they're gonna
rotation.
finish him.
There's not too many full 4 squads as well who are looking to
और
push
Cyrix is
through
done.
them. The roll
Cyrix
down
is done. Okay.
towards
Nice from
PMGC,
676.
DRX.
एक और kill लेगा
I
बंदा.
mean, they lose one, but
He is already
will
spotted.
have half of their remaining players taken out. DRX now down to 3 players. Influence Rage, I think the most dangerous spot right now
it is
for
done,
RCB.
INFB center घुसेगी, DRX पे center घुसेगी.
But if they
Alpha
lose a
7
player or
की
two in this
position
fight on the
बहुत
north
ही
side
wrong
with
है.
DRX, that is
ना
going
भी
to
shield
make it so
देगी
much
भैया
easier
Alpha
for
7
RCB to
को
hold.
जो कि single compound होता है Pochinki के
This one dangerous.
west side
A lot
में
of teams
नीचे की तरफ
head
down
dead
in.
center towards the fields of Pachinki.
INF
on the western
versus
side of
DRX
it.
होना
There
है.
is high ground play around with, and honestly,
Women,
Enigma Galaxy
women.
have a strong spot in church.
Okay,
They
Diago
continue to
nailed-
play this
nailed.
one. Multiple times in the past, we have seen teams somewhat blunder
Okay,
church
okay, okay,
holds,
okay.
but I'm hoping Enigma Galaxy
वो
can
net
get a
किसकी
lot
तरफ से आया
done
NF
from this position. Kitsune fairly happy with this one as well. He's able to live out a little bit longer over towards Pachinki, keeping him in, and there's always that
4MB ने
possibility
center ले लिया है, वो
to
still
creep out
alive है.
over
That's
towards the fields
good for
later.
them.
I think he's playing
That's a good for them.
the
Like दो teams eliminate होंगी फिर वो आराम से
mistaken,
finish point
down
ले
towards
सकते
that south side. Smart place to be because you can dodge a lot of the nades that come through, but we'll keep an eye on him as the game progresses. You're right though about Influence Rage. They
TJB
would like to
longs.
move down towards that
9
south side.
kills,
There's a
man.
strong
TJB, that's
possibility that
awesome
they'll
game
even
for them.
play on the
9
hillside
kills.
around church
Damn,
and try and
man.
aggress on that position because it does deny sightlines for a little bit longer.
Damn.
Yeah, you don't expose as hard towards 4MV's position in the compound that they have
Ligo.
out in the open. There is only 2 players there though, and it
Okay.
looks like they're more concerned
तो
about the
नहीं.
west side. They know that
Center
even
crash
Pachinki,
होने में
not super
अगले
likely,
30
especially
सेकंड बाद
given
देखते हैं
that
center
the
crash
church
कहाँ
is
पे हो रहा है.
such a high ground powerhouse there to be able to take shots out towards from
फाइनल्स के
the
सारे टीम्स के प्लेयर को F1 वाली बग्गी और आउटफिट फ्री में मिले हैं. No brother, they wide यार, they have
will allow a team to approach. So for Enigma
there
Galaxy,
enough
they just wanna
uses यार.
keep,
But
a little
I
bit
don't
of
know
control.
why
They don't wanna go too
esports mode in the
fast out
finals
in
they
the
are
open.
allowed it
4MV
F1 buggy
looking to play off of that and control the
Why
west
they're
side
allowed?
away from Alpha 7.
because it's really fast
RCB, I'm
यार.
pretty sure they know that it's a weakened team down towards the south side, outside of that
Really
warehouse.
fast, man. Yeah,
The
बहुत
issue is
fast
getting
है.
out. I think that depending on where the circle goes, there will be an investment of smokes coming through from
Okay,
RCB
Alpha 7
to
कहाँ
attempt
गई?
to train across towards 4MV. I think they know that.
भाई अल्फा 7 को नावी झीलेगी.
Were a former
अगर
squad
नावी ने
team
यहाँ
that
से
like
मतलब
to
अल्फा
try
7 ने अगर यहाँ से
and
नावी को
that
रोक
fight
दिया
came
भाई
through
तो
from
अलग केस है
RCB
लेकिन
down
अल्फा
to
7
players,
बहुत ही
but
गंदे
4MV
पोजीशन
was
पे
very
भाई.
passive.
उस
their
कंपाउंड
approach
से
there.
निकलना तो भाई
So RCB has
मौत का
a
खेल
lot
है.
of good information.
देखते हैं अल्फा 7
off the back of-
Esports World Cup
Influence
चैंपियन
Rage,
है.
on the other hand, Lord does get up
PUBG
over
के.
towards that hillside
देखते
underneath
कैसे
Redox.
करते हैं यहाँ से.
For the rest of Enigma Galaxy, they're ensuring that no one
Okay.
escapes from Pachinki here.
और next
Navi on the
okay
southwest
DRX is
side,
going.
trying to play from their hilltop that they've had for a little while. Quite
Oxy
quiet
down
in
हुए.
that zone of the map, Blank. Everybody on the
Okay,
north side of
INS.
this one, but the open
INS
ground that sits
clearing
between
dip.
Navi and everybody else is going to be
Okay, Kingston को नो है,
like
Kingston
a
need
sea to cross.
pull out कर चुके हैं already
Will
बस
need to
पिन
breach
की
it.
पिन नहीं
Kitsune
है.
in the trenches,
is in
Cilio
hand.
trying to move out of
thumbnail अच्छा
Pachinki.
है.
4 elims
चड्डी का
found
कंपैरिजन में हाँ.
for them so far. All of them, I believe.
चड्डी वाला मैंने
are
जल्दी
flashed
जल्दी
there.
बनाया, मैंने थोड़ा आराम से बनाया, थोड़ा
Left
बैठ
to
के आराम
stand,
से
so
मैच देख रहा था
Kitsune,
इंडिया ऑस्ट्रेलिया.
with an aid in hand, wants
Must
to try and
आराम
slow
से.
this approach.
Okay,
Interesting
okay,
spot.
Alpha
Actually
7
allows Kitsune to
versus
peek out and
DRX.
send a nade through. I'd be interested to see if he goes for that one.
Okay,
Cilio might have
Rev D
pulled
गए
himself more
हैं,
properly
Revo
than
is
not.
out.
I think they were hoping
Sorry,
to hold
Revo
off
is
versus
out.
multiple angles, but it's just Kitsune in there for the time being. Getting our next circle now, depending on where it goes, this could get a little bit hectic.
Oh dear.
Oh damn.
Enigma
man.
Galaxy have one of the
Open area
strongest
brother.
positions
locations.
Fully
in
open area.
circle.
Fully open
This is
area.
really
एक घर है वो
dominant
नीचे
stuff
वाला,
for the position
वो
of
size
Enigma
में।
Galaxy. They left Novalo back over into Pachinki, but I'm expecting
Oh,
to see them
भाई,
start to move in
Oh, अच्छा,
about
नीचे नहीं।
30 seconds when the circle does as well.
Okay.
They know that those
Restaurant
sweep
एक
around
मिनट
the
हो जाए।
sides are going to
Restaurant
be
एक मिनट हो
much
जाए,
less
प्यारा।
likely, so you can push him up towards where
Okay,
Redox
okay,
sits
Kingston
in that
already know.
church hilltop.
He already
and
pinned it.
try and play that 2-2
Okay.
position.
दोनों ने
The
pin किया।
south side of it can hold
दोनों
on
ने
to
pin
these
किया।
players on the
Okay,
south edge
Western got
and
it.
get so much
पीछे
done
आया।
towards the open field. It's really,
Okay, अब दोनों बंदे
strong
ऊपर
for
से।
Enigma Galaxy. I think that cannot be
इससे नहीं आया।
overemphasized. Fantastic position for them.
20 SP गया।
Ooh, for Kitsune, it starts to get
Match
very
begin.
tough
Kitsune
now.
क्या ये
Able
need?
to push on
अरे
through.
need girl
Keeps putting the
नहीं,
pin
यहाँ डालना
back in the
था।
grenade. DBS in hand, so pretty good in
Okay,
close
DBS.
quarters. I think you'd be better off just sending one through at this point in time. Enigma Galaxy now understands
but
the
a nice
player
play from
inside here.
Western.
Kitsune cannot hold
Need
his
wait,
own.
need wait,
It's
Vulcan,
up
need
to
wait.
5 eliminations here. Team Spirit going down in 10th place means they get little
Okay.
to no points.
Navi
on
versus
this
Alpha 7
game.
versus DRX.
Ralph
Okay, Alpha 7 decided they will push up to DRX.
Fantastic
और
opening.
DRX से नीड आया है। करेलियो के बगल में पड़ेगा। नहीं, मैगलेरियन के
of
पास
that eastern
पहुंचा।
side.
करेलियो जल्दी हो।
Redox
बचा ले
really
रहा है,
have
बचा
to
ले।
be on the swivel here, like a periscope over towards Church, watching out
Karailio
for
down.
Influence Rage, because that is the big
Karailio.
target.
करेलियो।
The smokes
Alpha
about
7
to
done
fade
for
as
now.
well on Alpha 7's position here
Oh,
on the
bhai,
west
head
side
control.
as DRX continue to put pressure on. They've been in this standoff for a little bit now, Blank, and it seems to be going the way of DRX,
Mafioso.
even though DRX did
Can
lose a
Mafioso do
player as
anything?
well, but
Okay, Navi crashing into center.
Okay, the
They
first
already
team
know
to try
there
and
is
crash
only
in
one
towards
player.
4MB.
4MB के Baron
Everybody else is
को पकड़ लिया
preoccupied
गया है।
out the west side. Enigma Galaxy seemingly not having a say
और
in
need
this
है।
one. Navi clean up to this one. They've left one player behind. Flip is still
That's
out
need
in
a
the
good. That's a
open.
good need.
And with Navi on 4
4MB
players
के
fighting
रेफर्स
a
डाउन किए कि
nade
Navi हैं?
over towards the
Reverse
Reapers is
round.
down, and this is an excellent
need to come
opener.
from
The
there.
roll-up for Navi going miraculously well.
Okay, only Baron remaining.
Through the nade up the stairs, I'm pretty
Bro,
sure it
Reefus
bounced
दूसरे
and
नेट से
then
डाउन हुआ है।
hit Reefus, which is really
भाई वो नेट वहां
unfortunate.
से निकल के रेफर्स को
The
डाउन
Baron
कर
was
गया।
like, "Ah, you missed me, guys."
That's damn, man.
Realistically,
Okay, done. 4MB done.
he went exactly where
No
they
points
wanted to
gained for
be.
4MB.
And now Navi
वो Alpha 7
constantly control
versus
this
Rexman,
compound off
Karailio
towards the
बचे हुए
western
हैं।
side. Influence Rage
Karailio,
make their way
nice
in.
game,
Alpha
यार,
7
great
taking shots over towards
They got
DRX.
3 minutes alive, Alpha 7.
Now that there's a
That's
full
damn,
4
yeah.
team in that compound blank, that
How?
changes the dynamic dramatically. It means this roll-up for Alpha 7 just got 10 times harder. There is no easier option at this stage to push north into
भाई Alpha
DRX.
7
You've got
भाई
the blue
बच के
zone
आई है भाई,
on your
that's
side.
top level
RCB
team
in the
यार।
warehouse and Navi now
That's so-
taking
how they are top
residency
level
in
team?
the compound. Alpha 7 have got their work cut out for them. And with only one elimination, 7 teams still remaining,
Okay,
it
Magdalene
is going to
spotted.
be tough to
Oh!
make this crossing. 6 does
Nice
go
knock
down,
from
but that's
Magdalene.
traded almost immediately by Puncher. And now it's up to
But अब
Mafioso to
Lemon
try
का
and
cover
cross
fire भी आ
through
जाएगा।
this one. Lemon.
Oh, nice by
What a
Mafioso.
stand-up. What a shutdown
But-
there.
No,
They're looking to try and keep this one under control. Navi had a great roll-up, but the hold, not so good.
बचा।
Mafioso always has been, but in the
Alright,
maverick
nice
when it
from
comes to
flip, yeah.
clutch plays, an insane shot
Last
running
player
through the
remaining,
fields there.
Karailio. Again.
Finally, a bit of a shutdown on towards Alpha 7, but the fact they're able to get this
Oh,
close,
Karailio, nice यार।
disgusting. Opening up onto another with Carrillo through the window. A nade needs to be phenomenal.
Okay.
They will find the last. But not without
Alpha 7
punishment
can't
onto
do nothing,
Navi.
यार। They have no.
Crucially
Kiss
though,
not many
Blank, no flushes. Just knocks sent to Navi.
भाई,
Sure,
इतने
it'll
knocks
drain
निकाले
their
कोई
armor,
flush नहीं
but they
होगा।
still have foresight
Navi
lines
is
to
all
play
alive.
with. The circle moves down south, and surprise, surprise, it's onto one of the strong positions that Enigma Galaxy hold. Influence
Enigma
Rage
Galaxy
actually
का game
moved
है
in
पूरा, ये
and
Enigma
pushed
Galaxy
them
का
off
game
of the
है lose
high ground.
करने
You
के
can see
लिए
the
वो आके
regroup
lose
has
करने
now
को।
come in. Redox is off from the church and moving back towards the rest of the team and playing down the hill. Will be a little bit exposed as soon as Navi try and leave, as soon as RCB try and leave,
In the
which
wizard
they'll
tower.
have to.
He's fine.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
He's got the cover there.
Inside
Navi
the
के
wizard
level
tower,
का game, little
where
boy
he's
ने।
to be in. It actually sets up a lovely off angle.
INF
for
4 kills,
Redox.
nice यार।
Nades do have to be pretty potent, but you know, even if they lose him, he's a
Okay.
very good stopgap
Little boy
between
के
him and
पीछे अभी
Influence Rage. I
RCB
think
की
it was
पूरी
the right
team है।
decision to give up Church. I think a lot of teams realised it's not likely to finish there anymore, but he got the
अच्छा,
early
अच्छा,
warning
sorry,
signs
INF
come
के
through
बंदे ही
for
हो।
Enigma Galaxy, in which case they
RCB
could
नहीं है।
pull away from that fight between them and Incilio and further cement
It is
themselves
RCB,
inside
yeah?
the circle. Quick push out coming through from Navi. Dangerous stuff, but it will keep them in the game
Oh,
a
यार,
little
that's an
bit longer.
experience move, यार।
Puncher, giving them the
Punch-
shimmy,
that's
shimmy,
an
shake off to the
experience
round,
move from
sent his
Navi,
way. Just about staying alive. RCB not so lucky on their
अच्छा,
road.
Redex kill,
This
right
game
on
for
पे।
Navi has been really quite strong.
Bro,
I
that's a
think their
nice
roll up
move from
over
Navi,
towards
yaar.
the compound.
Wहाँ पे zone लेना.
Excellent.
Okay,
but now
RCB is
their
going against
movement
Heinz.
over ground is made tough. RCB try and head up towards the church, but Influence Rage giving no quarter. Immediate shutdown. Silas the last to go. In a flaming vehicle, hops over the top, and Redox now looks for the fight, shuts it down. And it will be the end of RCB. Influence Rage on the north side.
RCB
Yeah, I think for RCB,
but पिछला game RCB जीती थी.
fight versus
पिछला game RCB निकाली थी.
earlier on. And then they just have a last-ditch attempt there, trying to move over towards Church, hoping that it's free. I think it's your last play, really.
PSIX.
Inside there, you could have maybe dropped some vehicles over towards
Well,
the loot crate in the
damn
middle,
car
create a little bit of impromptu cover and just taking a fight toe-to-toe with Na'Vi, although it would have been a bit awkward. But certainly possible. But I don't think RCB were getting much further into this game after what occurred earlier on. They were a little bit too passive inside that warehouse. Now this is interesting. Moving back over towards that northern side, suddenly Influence Rage have a ridiculous position to play in.
Oh, that's nasty. And they will take shots out to the open. I've been impressed by Na'Vi this game. A top 4 in the elimination count that they've gotten so far, Blank. It is a good result, and they've been needing one pretty desperately up until this point if they want a chance to step towards the podium. Wait to see how much exactly they can get back into it, but they're out of the circle. They'll need to cross open ground.
Oh, nice nade from NGS value taraf se.
The cover is there, and the
एक को nade आता हुआ, follow-up nade. That's a good nade.
Bounce on top does actually
but
find the
bounce हो गया गाड़ी
protection
पे.
from the hay bale there somehow. Doesn't go down. Nick McGalaxy continues the
Rauf
bombardment.
और ये done कर देंगे. Navi is out and done and dusted.
I understand what Nick McGalaxy is trying to do here. I think that you
Okay, face का nade. Okay, but
elimination
Smix.
though
हैं?
for favor of more nades in the pocket, because Nick McGalaxy expended a lot there, and I'm pretty sure you'll need these when the push comes through from Influence Rage. It all depends on how many more death crates, how much more nades they have in the back pocket. But for Na'Vi, they were somewhat doomed. Slightly worried for that first place coming through from Nick McGalaxy, though they put up more points off the back of it. We'll see if that comes back to bite them. Westron now pushing up. Imagine if Team Spirit had more than 2 players here. They're able to fight off against Incilio. Potentially, this is a 3rd place for them.
Unfortunately not to be. 5 elims though in a 3rd place for Incilio, and they just keep going, Blank. We were talking about consistency at the start of the day. Donkey ID really impressive, but Incilio were still there, and they continue to chug away that diesel engine of a team, making it work. Westron, though, probably not long for this one with the blue zone pushing him around the back of the tree. Has to make a crazy dash. Does manage to get up to the wall, but the corner not going to be super friendly here. Nick McGalaxy know that he's made this cross. The smoke is there. A little bit of cover. He's getting some healing done. We'll try and take a fight. Hopping forwards. Is he outside? I think he's managed to make it to the shack. However, last circle starting to close.
Moving into zone 9 now. And this will close until there's nothing left. Influence Rage as well as Nick McGalaxy trying to make this one work. Influence Rage moves over towards that high ground. They expose themselves. Nick McGalaxy not able to find too much off the back of this one. It is a tough rollout from Influence Rage. But like I said earlier, nades are dry for Nick McGalaxy.
Okay,
Redox has been holding this tower for a while, and finally Influence Rage descend. Looking for the shots. Navallo looks for Little Boy. Clocks him on the descent. And 2 players down onto the ground floor. They need Redox away, but he's just been so stalwart in his hold. Across the open though, gets passed through by Lorazin, and the spray down is good for a flush. Influence Rage with 3 players now left standing, and it's up to Snowix and Redox to try and find the crossfire, but there's nothing.
But
it's Influence Rage. They move into the church, and they evict Nick McGalaxy from the game.
I mean, for Nick McGalaxy, there was a possibility to basically extract themselves from that fight between them and Cilio a lot earlier, but they just did not go for it. Influence Rage, though, with a fantastic chicken dinner from Church.
Back-to-back games here for Influence Rage as well, and if you went into this whole event saying which Brazilian team would be towards the top of the table, I think most people out there would not have said this team for Influence Rage, but a great finish off for them playing from Church, and they get themselves the points they desperately need here, Max.
Yeah, it's all over the place. We thought Team Liquid would also be able to make it through, right? But no, the Brazilian teams is all over the place here, 7 coming on through, but their push into the northern side of Church, able to bully out Nick McGalaxy of that the entire game, and claim a game-winning position.
Yeah, Redox making him push back.
And just throw, why don't cross before to the last tower?
I mean, Diego being able to put up those 5 elims, 522 damage, but I really enjoy how they were able to control most of the circle towards the northeast. They were taking
64 players होते हैं lobby में.
making sure that they put pressure on
Chill लेते हैं
DRX
भाई
as well. Whenever DRX ended up fighting with Alpha 7, and I think they were
Marvel
able to pick up some of those
7's
eliminations as well.
Yeah, I mean, when you're playing north of
Free
that
to
road
play on
side here,
Steam,
7 in particular, you want to clear the space because any kind
Free
of
to
offense that the
play.
teams have on you is just going
Marvel
to result
Rivals
in
free
you
to
losing
play.
players or maybe the entire team getting eliminated. They knew that was going to be their main weakness in that kind of terrain. They cleared it, and once they had free control, as you said, in the northern side, they send it up in those dips north of the church, and then, as you said, bullied out Enigma Galaxy of a game-winning position.
And I gotta give props to Influence Rage because Lorison kept getting knocked whenever they were pushing towards the north, whenever they were trying to just hold that pretty much that area of the circle. With them, they didn't want to give up on that player. They wanted to make sure that they kept going after him, picking him up, because they knew how important it was going to be to have all those 4 players alive there at the end.
Yeah, we saw at the end that final push of Enigma Galaxy over the road. If they had some of those nades still available, or any kind of utility, maybe they can make the cross. But we saw, right, a lot of those nades were thrown on the crates onto Na'Vi to eliminate that angle, which I understand. But the issue when you're just playing all in one building, you can't loot those crates, and the lack of utility might have just cost them the game.
I wonder how much Westron actually had inside the little shack that he eventually finished off, which I don't know why he peeked out to be taken down by Little Boy, because every point's going to matter, but maybe that would have been an opportunity. But you did say, Max, like I think they're a little bit too afraid to push into him and get knocked and then have Influence Rage clean it up.
I think he just had a hovercraft in his loot crate. He just looked at, whoa, what is this? but maybe if they get those extra smokes, I think we're talking about nades, but smokes in particular, to cross that road were going to be very, very important. But as we go through the replays, I do want to highlight one fight I know you in particular here, Seven, you really want to talk about. It's Team Spirit that keeps just getting caught off guard on the edge of these circles.
Yeah, Team Spirit, those 2-2 splits that they've been having, and it wasn't just them, 4MB as well, he ended up backfiring. But for them, losing 2 players to that is massive. We talk about how they've been able to make the right decisions, how they've been working on their timing so well, but I feel like in Erangel now, today as well, certain things have not just been going their way, and Celia has been able to take the
Marvel games को मारना free.
He's been having a great performance, not just in this match, earlier as well. I think it was against D-Plus that he was able to stop him.
D-Plus and DRX, South Korean teams that have best out today. Yeah, it's really interesting to see Team Spirit a little bit slow to regroup when they are being approached by Team Mountain, and I think that was a slow response time.
Okay, Avengers नहीं है.
At least that was an DRX in that position and get a few extra plays.
Yeah, and without the 7, I feel like he was...
अरे ओ भाई, Moon Knight, damn man. Thanos, Spider-Man. Which one है? Good.
Even though Alpha 7...
Well, Steam को try कर सकता हूँ मैं आज यार.
Ultimately, he was just too fast there. They were not able to get cover.
Moon Knight.
7 ends up getting just 1 rotation for that.
हल्का है इनकी माँ का पकड़ ले साड़ो. ओ वुल्वरीन को फेंका हल्क ने.
I think if they had part of the timing at which they approached the compound and get rid of DRX, I think that would have been the great opportunity to pull off what Na'Vi ended up doing at the end on 4MV.
Fully send it to 4MV.
Exactly.
Well, to take a look here,
50 GB को game है भाई, 50 GB को.
Influence Rage. It looks like Little Boy in the 1v1s yesterday, definitely helping out for him and his team. Got to give a shout out though to Team JB here, not eliminations. I wanted to focus a little bit on these PEL teams because we expected to do a lot better here in day 2 compared to day 1. But one team who had a very unfortunate time was Thunder Talk up against a D+ over in Apartments. And D+ is a team that's been stepping up because their fragging power yesterday was left a lot to be desired.
Not even that, especially in Erangel. That was the biggest question mark. Going into this match, I was saying, okay, what are we going to be seeing out of D+ here in this Erangel? I was really impressed at how they were able to defend whenever Thunder Talk, as Jason was referring, whenever Thunder Talk decided to push onto them. The grenades that we saw out of D+ here were amazing. On top of that, being able to adjust with what Thunder Talk was able to do as well. I think this is what we want to see from D+. And look at the big jump up of what one chicken dinner can do right now with Influence Rage, Max.
It's not just a chicken dinner, right? They had a second place also on the previous Sanox.
Yep,
so there's 2 good games back-to-back here with decent eliminations that allow them to jump up in top 5 and now be in reach, really. One of the good games that has currently been somewhat silent.
Okay, leaderboard is now
the biggest question mark
getting
is
crazy.
what are they going to be able to do?
भाई कोई सी भी टीम नंबर बना सकती है एक चिकन में.
Getting lucky. I feel like in this one, we continue to see 4MB struggling with the center of the circle. They end up losing just way too many players. They're not able, if they move early, into the center of the circle, they're just not able to focus on which teams they want to end up fighting. They end up focusing on way too many things at once, and they end up getting punished by it.
Yeah, it's a bit unfortunate here because in the center of the circle, they had the warehouse compound, which is good, but as you split yourself away, you can have 2 players in the warehouse, 2 players in the southern position. One team, that in this case was Voin, are going to crash one area of that compound, so you're going to take technically a 4v2. I think when you're in a position like this, 7, you commit to all the warehouse or the city side, and you stay there as 4. Unfortunately, they didn't do that and lost an early fight to Voin.
Another team that I gotta mention here on this second match, not just Alpha 7, Falcons. Falcons, this is gonna be the second match now where they get pushed out or where they used to land in. They didn't end up going Noble. I believe it was Navi that ended up pushing them out of Noble, and they're continuing to struggle as well because they're trying to go for those 2-2 splits that it doesn't end up working out. And now Incilio is starting to notice that Falcons is starting to become a little bit weaker on those early fights. They were able to just fully send it to top, and they made a quick work of them.
You have to wonder, what are Falcons going to change? I mean, that was the big question between day 1 and day 2. How are teams going to adjust? And we didn't see really any adjustment out of them.
I think the biggest change that they're trying to do is just give up their usual drop locations. But something that you did mention, you want them to go towards their second drop, especially in area.
At this point, you got Incilio and Navi to deal with on a pretty consistent basis. Gatka is free, maybe to
maybe they need to recruit Alpha Bjornsson, the mountain himself, on the team, and maybe he can just shove everyone out of the lobby for them because he's here to conquer the Arctic as the face of the guild right now for you guys at home. And of course, we have a weightlifting challenge happening here at the Excel Arena for you guys to pick up if you're in London.
So guys, welcome
to get
back
yourself
to
some
day
extra
2
rewards
of
here.
the vlog.
But also, on top of that.
You think he'll pick us up, all 3 of us at once?
We did have a discussion if we could beat him, all 3 of us at once, in an arm wrestling match, and I think the answer was probably no.
No, we're losing, big time.
Yeah.
Our combined
बाहर गए थे नाइट को काफी ब्यूटीफुल है सिटी लाइटिंग बहुत अच्छा है तो हम कल रात को गए थे डिनर करने के लिए उसके बाद सीधा आके सो गए क्योंकि यार बहुत थक गए थे यार बहुत थक गए थे क्योंकि फ्लाइट की सीट एकदम कैजुअल थी
4 hours डिले था टोटल मिनट्स हुआ
आ गए और मैं स्ट्रीम के बाद सोया भी नहीं था सिर्फ मुंबई में ऐसे सीधा डायरेक्ट आया था ये लोग भी मैंगलोर से आए थे तो हमारी नींद कंप्लीट नहीं होती इसलिए हम जल्दी सो गए थे कल आज होगी हैवी एक्सप्लोरिंग
गुड डे इज डिसाइडेड बाय गुड स्लीप
या गुड डे या भाई दैट्स
तो अभी हमारी
दैट्स अ नाइस थॉट यार गुड डे इज डिसाइडेड बाय ए गुड स्लीप भाई मैं जो सोया हूं ना कल भाई
आ गए और मैं स्ट्रीम के बाद सोया भी नहीं था सिर्फ मुंबई में ऐसे सीधा डायरेक्ट आया था ये लोग भी मैंगलोर से आए थे तो हमारी नींद कंप्लीट नहीं होती इसलिए हम जल्दी सो गए थे कल आज होगी हैवी एक्सप्लोरिंग
गुड डे इज डिसाइडेड
डीप था तो अभी हमारी प्लान है कि थोड़ी शॉपिंग करने के लिए सुशांत को थोड़ी शॉपिंग करनी है हमें नहीं करनी है
खुदा ने बोले हमको नहीं तुम कुछ भी करो समाज को करो फैमिली को करो तो तुम खुश होते
हमारे लिए कुछ भी नहीं है दिल चुन लिया तो कैसे हमारे लिए कुछ भी नहीं है ठीक है हम अभी शॉपिंग कर रहे हैं फैमिली के लिए बस
तुम स्ट्रीम करते हो तुम्हारे सब्सक्राइबर्स के लिए तुझ के लिए नहीं
तुझ के लिए
नाइस हिंदी तुझ के लिए नहीं
तुम्हें और तुझे मिक्स हो गए तुझ के लिए ठीक है अभी हम जाएंगे शॉपिंग करने और थोड़ी सी ब्रेकफास्ट वगैरह
शॉपिंग के लिए 1 करोड़ 2 करोड़ 3 करोड़
जाएगा इधर करोड़ मतलब ऐसे ही जाते हैं चैट समझ रहे हो
टैक्सी के लिए 5 लाख चाहिए
हाँ वही तो लेकिन बहुत ही ब्यूटीफुल सिटी है आज थोड़ा दिखाएंगे तुम्हें ठीक है क्योंकि कल मैं सच्ची बोलता हूँ तो कल हम थक गए थे हैवी थक गए थे और सीधा हमने डिसाइड किया देखो एक्सप्लोर करने के लिए अच्छी सी एनर्जी चाहिए तो हमने डिसाइड किया था कल जल्दी सोएंगे और इसलिए हम जल्दी सो गए थे 10 PM ठीक है आज होगी शॉपिंग सब दिखाएंगे लव यू ब्रो सुशांत होल्ड अप ब्रो
ಲೇಟ್ ಉಂಟು ಬಟ್ಟೆ ಚಂದ ರೆಡಿ ಆಗಬೇಕು ಟೈಮ್ ರೆಡಿ ಆದ್ರು ಉಂಟಾ
ಹೌದು क्या दिख रहा है गाइस इसको देख ओ भाई क्या हाल है भाई क्या हाल है चढ़ अगर तुम्हें नहीं पता बारी चंदा गंटे इब्ರು सर
ಸರಿ ಈಗ ನೀವು ಹುಡುಗಿ
सुशांतन तो गाइस अगर तुम्हें नहीं पता सुशांत जी ने मेलबर्न में कितने साल थे आप
मैं 4 साल था मेलबर्न में
हाँ तो आप क्या कर रहे थे उधर मेलबर्न में? मास्टर्स वगैरह ये भी अगर गैस इसका इंट्रो अगर नहीं दिया तो ये भी बिजनेसमैन है. तेरे इंट्रो कल दिया था ब्रो.
क्या है
तो शायद मेलबर्न में था. ओरलैंड में था. तो गाइस सुशांत अरे
ನಾನು ಹೊಸ ಚಾನೆಲ್ ಓಪನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೇನೆ. ನಾನು ಸ टी-बोन गेमिंग 2 ಅಂತ ಮಾಡ್ತೇನೆ. ನಿನ್ನಕ್ಕೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ
व्हाट द फक इज ही सेइंग यार भाई.
सुशांत ने काफी मुझे हेल्प किया था जब हम सिडनी गए थे, तो उसको पूरा नॉलेज था.
इसको सॉर्ट किया उधर
एक्चुअली अरे वो क्या है? शिट.
कंपेयर टू बैंकॉक ये थोड़ा काफी बेटर है ना? नहीं वो उसका टाइप अच्छा है. ಅದು ಅದರಷ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ ಸರಿ ಉಂಟು. ಇದು ಸರಿ ಉಂಟು.
मुझे तो लगा कि नाइट को ज्यादा ब्यूटीफुल है.
ಅದು ನೈಟ್ ಇದು ಬ್ಯೂಟಿಫುಲ್, ಬ್ಯಾಂಕಾಕ್ ಬ್ಯೂಟಿಫುಲ್ ಉಂಟು. ನಾನು ಹೋದ ಸುಮಾರು ಸಮಯ ಆಯ್ತು, ಅದು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದು ಇನ್ನೂ ಸಿಟಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಆಗಿ ಇದು ಸ್ಟಿಲ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್. ಇದು ವಿಯೆಟ್ನಾಂ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದು ಹೊಚಿಮನ್ ಉಂಟಲ್ಲ, ಮತ್ತೆ ಇನ್ನು ಹನಾಯ್ ಅಂತ ಉಂಟು ಸಿಟಿ. 2-3 ಸಿಟಿ ಉಂಟು.
तो अभी साउथ साइड में बेसिकली नॉर्थ. लेकिन यार नाइट को मैंने तुम लोग को कल दिखाया ना गाइस, बहुत ही ब्यूटीफुल. और सबसे ज्यादा 2 व्हीलर्स.
मैच आ गया क्या? ओके फिर से सेम.
Imagine we're going to see a repeat of that.
ओके फिर से ओके इट्स यासनाया जोन गाइस. इट्स अ फकिंग यासनाया. ये वाला जोन
over to center up on the
ये वाला जोन देख लेना. मैं प्रेडिक्ट करता हूं. देखो लाइव दिख रहा है. देखो लाइव है. देखो लाइव है. ये वाला जोन ये है या फिर ये है?
Severely lightly picked up by one of our teams here inside this game. A lot
ये वाला
to
जोन
get there, but plenty of time to loot up.
ओके
Comes
ओके
Tom G about.
ओके टीजेबी वर्सेस. अरे यार मेरी क्वालिटी क्या हुआ? हेलो पॉज हो.
Goodness me, David's on the outside, he's swinging for the hills, able to find one, and a second found, the flush is there, Brunosen though wades into the fight, Diminor is down and likely going to get flushed away as well, but it looks like the Vicious are going to come out on top of this hot drop. Blank, Erangel, hot drop as they keep unfolding, not ideal, it severely limits your point scoring potential no matter what happens, either you get a game or you don't, and this time around it looks like both teams are going to lose players.
Triple S with a
shotgun. यार.
Signature weapon on the pump shotgun, but it's nothing.
भाई TJB versus VC में ये क्या लड़ाई हो रही है?
But DRX is here in the sideline.
Okay, DRX आ चुकी है.
Almost falls for that one.
Oh, Kaixei rolling close here, but not quite speedy enough for McLaren to get up to that fight in time to have the confidence to go for the full push. However, you know that the mids are going to be super limited, Blank. The healing is not going to be there for the Vicious. That means you know there's low health bars inside. You wait for Soaz to get into position. You wait for the rest of DRX. That is discipline from Kaixei. You don't need to risk it when you know that there could be 2 players on the inside to immediately flush you. This time around, DRX, they're looking to try and stop this healing coming on through. It's only bandages to play with, and Brunosen will hold the staircase, trying to keep his team safe. But will DRX be able to breach this one?
It's a nightmare of a situation coming through for the Vicious. It will have to be a absolute fortress of a hold. They want to make sure they don't go down here. Really awkward. And this is what happens with that kind of playing path and this kind of circle. These teams are obviously going to drop near one another. DRX though, fantastic response time on this to get up towards this location immediately off the back of that initial hot drop. But yeah, Vicious, I actually think they're done for. I don't really think they're getting out from this location.
I don't think they're going to have a good game out of this location. There's potential that DRX play on a misstep here, but you can just see they're not going to be pushing down these stairs, or certainly they don't want to. So why are they going to step into those clear sight lines? The question for me is, how long do DRX want to stay here, right? Because this isn't in the next zone. Do you want to waste this time? And sure, you could get 3 points for it. You could lose 2 players on the flip side as well. So maybe DRX... going to have to rotate away.
DRX is leaving.
Hop into the vehicles, they're going to give up on
they
this
leave.
Allow the Vicious to leave.
DRX चली गई.
There's likely a lot more value to be had up towards that northern side and getting there early.
No, they are baiting it, I think.
And they will send away. Potential to resend back in onto this one though, if the Vicious poke their heads up, and I think that the Vicious are still very much down on their luck. They don't have any meds to play with. DRX still need to get a little bit of looting done, so we'll see if they're able to do it. We've got Barney getting a little bit of a report on the state of the teams over on the stage.
Welcome back to day 2 of the PMGC live in London. Now, I felt that it would be a nice gesture to give you guys a breakdown of what has happened so far at this tournament over the weekend, just to give you a little bit of a recap for those of you who are joining us on stream only today for the first time. So, day 1 got off to a hot start, with Falcon's Force claiming the first chicken dinner of the tournament on Sandhawk. The 3 Erangels were then taken by Nigma Galaxy, Team Spirit, and 4MV. Team Spirit then claimed their second chicken dinner of the tournament on Miramar, and the final win was D plus Kia. But the talk of the town was that 4MV victory, because they claimed 23 eliminations, which was a record-breaking amount at any PMGC tournament ever. Now, today, Regnum Carrier Bra kicked things off with a chicken dinner on Sandhawk, which was much needed points for them to get back in the race here at PMGC. And we have just concluded our second map of the day here at day 2, and it was taken by Influence Rage. Again, another team that needs those points. So things are starting to even up. It's getting more and more exciting, and enjoy the rest of the day here at day 2 at PMGC.
Thank you very much, Barney, for a little update on what has happened so far. And he's right, you know, it's a couple of teams who have needed those points desperately today that have found the early results that they were looking for, whilst the top of the tables, to some degree, stagnates.
I love that he didn't skip a beat for that whole report. He got everything down to a T, but then forgot what day it was.
Well, you know, days are tough.
It's true. Right now it's Tuesday, right?
Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday, innit? We are going to be heading on into day 2 for this one. What DRX have actually gone for, Blank, is they left SOAS to just watch over what the Vicious were doing in the basement whilst that interview was going on, whilst that state of play report was going on. The rest of DRX moved out to grab some loot to bring it back into the fold, and SOAS has just been watching this. Influence Rage are actually now rolling through that hold, straight through the middle of it. I wonder if they're aware of what's unfolded there. They have been a little bit late to this one to get too much value, and it seems like they're just going to continue to send it around the side. But that does back SOAS off, and that may just allow the Vicious to get out of this basement finally. But you can see they just have no loot. It is at 7 minutes into the game. They are going to be really threadbare when it comes to taking any sort of engagement.
Yeah, most teams are in a similar scenario. You know, most teams have only just got themselves into a position where they can start looting, get rid of those level 1 vests and helmets, and upgrading a little bit in terms of the resilience on their players. And it's tough. It is very tough with that kind of playing path and this kind of circle, and it decelerates the game massively, because you're likely going to be seeing a lot of these mid-game fights happening much further into stage 3, stage 4, as opposed to getting presence in the circle around stage 2. So it's definitely interesting in terms of the speed at which the game we had a lot of that fighting happen towards the beginning of the game, controlling space, teams opting not to take those fights and moving further away instead.
Falcon cut off, Falcon is RCB versus Falcon.
Towards RCB, who are on a split. Luckily, RCB are so terrifying that Falcons decide we're not going to bother with that.
Yeah, we're good. We're just going to hang out over in the fields instead. Maybe push into South Yaz, which currently doesn't have anyone overlooking the fields, but instead they take that central Yaz fields position, actually breaking out all the way back to action over on the east side. I thought they were going to stop on the center of it, but no. They are going to try and hold on both sides. I mean, east being out there. Is this another wide Vulcan split? They've got 2 and 2. It looks like that's what they're going for, Blank. We'll see if it's going to work out this time, because every single other time it hasn't.
It's fair play that they don't want to fight Silas in the exact position where they won PMGC way back when on S2G. So fair enough. This is Silas's batting ground.
Okay, we see the last player remaining.
It's concluding between DRX and the Vicious, finally able to pick up the pieces and immediately rolling straight back into the fight. Gonna get a knock around the edge, would be pretty tricky to make it work, and the last player does finally fall. A long and protracted bleed out there. Both TJB and the Vicious go down in the same place. 4 points for the Vicious though, so a little bit more successful on that front.
Yeah, which is good news. I mean, the Vicious have been sat around about 40 points for the past 3 games, even yesterday. So managing to get up to 46, and a little bit closer to that 50-point margin is good to see. A lot of our teams did actually slip from the top of the leaderboards, which are very close right now. 4MV at 65. They've been putting up a good 1 point per game. which has slowly been keeping them in the lead, but Incilio is catching up on 62 with Voindonkey ID at 60 currently, and then drops down by marginal points, right? It's around about 2 points per drop down on that staircase, with Team Spirit, who started the day in second, now all the way down in 7th.
They have really had a full start here over the first 2 matches, but they have a fairly central location, south side of the Asfield, stretching out towards the apartments on the road from Rozhok on the east side. A 2-2 split for them as well, so a little bit of control on the north edge of this circle. Again, I'm going to wonder how long they can hold this 2-2 split. I think it's fairly viable right now to hold, but I'm looking at the end of stage 3 is when they're going to look to regroup on this.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible, right? It's definitely possible for a lot of teams to be able to get back into position. You're waiting for stage 3, honestly, like you're saying, John, for that to come through, because that's where the game is going to get a little bit more spicy, a little bit more interesting, especially with Yasnaya still in play, with the fields over here, Rozhok over towards that northwest side. There's plenty of positions this circle can head over towards in the coming future, which is going to cause problems for multiple teams, especially over towards Dip and Mini Dip on that eastern side. Teams are going to be using that for the time being just to stay alive. That's Thunder Talks as well as Incilio looking towards that position. Guild slowly making their way in on that eastern side, just creeping in, as silent as possible.
It's pretty tricky, isn't it? I mean, they just don't have any access paths here. Thunder Talk right now, probably their easiest approach, but even so, not an easy road ahead of them to try and push through, especially with Incilio being over the ridgeline there. It makes it so tough to approach from this east edge. And they have just been wrapping around trying to find a little slice of something, but it's just been denied to them. Falcons do regroup as a full 4 blank towards the south side of the As fields. Influence Rage rotated in towards School, and they currently hold that clean on the west side of the circle, but it does pop out that way, which means that they are pretty much take up residence.
We saw last year D+ actually do a very good job of holding in apartments, and that was their stomping grounds. And they will be stomping on the rooftops. So the teams are a little bit upset.
Apartments में भसड़ के होने वाली है भसड़.
On as well, annoying all the neighbors. But you do have RCB on that northern side who are starting to make their way in. D+ absolutely cannot hold every single apartment in that area. So it's likely going to be a couple of teams in that location.
Here comes INS.
Taking shots over towards Voindonkey ID, who do lose a player in that process. Down to just 3 now, but they are fairly close inside that circle. Vexy still has to regroup, and with Potato getting knocked, also awkward time ahead for Voindonkey. Luckily, other teams start to pass into apartments, locating renting positions for them.
Oh, goodness me. A lot of teams rolling on in. You've got RCB, you've got Incilio, you've got Voindonkey ID, who now have regrouped. They're looking to get that red.
Alpha 7 versus Navi
about it. They took a knock there. 4MV moving in from the west side. Everybody wants one of these blocks under control. Team Spirit happy to stand on the outside and pick up the pieces from it. They'll add those points to their tally quite happily. On the south side of the meantime, Na'Vi have Alpha 7 to try and contend with. Na'Vi have 3 players left standing. Alpha 7 after that knock, if they can get Revo back up, that will be a 4-player team. But at the moment, they're under threat. Lemon nades over the top, looking to try and confirm that flush. Continues to bombard and push back this position. Na'Vi slightly on the outside track of this circle blank, which means that at the moment, the tempo slightly in the favor of Alpha 7.
Yeah, they are downhill though, so that advantage just go over to Na'Vi in terms of getting these nades position them. That is a very, very nice nade in terms of information. So they know he's in the smoke, so they can be pretty sure that Alpha 7 is trying to push up towards them. RCB do take a knock as Incilio starts to face off the competition over in the apartments, locking a lot of the doors out for some of these teams. 6 spots out one of the players from Falcons who made a
what the fuck is happening?
Down towards that south side. Starting to poke their noses in.
Potentially dangerous here, but Top's going to move forward.
The
buggy action up into the rock. This should be a clean take on the rock, and Na'Vi can't get a knock in response either. Action will go down to half HP, but that's going to be healable. Enigma Galaxy not in position to immediately surge over the top, as Alpha 7 have healed as well. Na'Vi have to turn and run for the hills.
Yeah, always the difficulty playing Potato Hill. right, is that you can't really hold both sides of it.
4MP की dog ने
massively focus towards Alpha 7. In this situation, they just send out, they try and get away. Only one player survives from that. Now, Falcons, will they receive the same treatment by Nigma Galaxy, or will Nigma Galaxy just head back up towards that north side? And I think it looking more and more likely like they're going to go for that. Falcons, though, will have to retake that position.
Okay.
Sends over towards apartments, and everyone who got their keys in early, very happy.
I'm looking at Team Spirit's position as well on this northeast side blank. They have a lot of control. You can see they're going to move another player out towards that north edge. Thundertalk are going to crash into the south though, and they may have just exposed a flank that they didn't mean to. Taking it off onto effect is dastardly for them, but they get 3 players safe to the north edge. Thundertalk will take control on the east. Meanwhile, in the apartments, we've got a move in here as SnowX tries to lead the charge for Nigma Galaxy. They're going for the crash. Gilda right behind them. They're looking to push in. Alpha 7 now fully sending on
Alpha 7 भी वही है well that's a bastard
Nigma Galaxy and Alpha 7 apart from the south side wrap through and meet once again, but it's Alpha 7 to take the majority of the damage here as Nigma Galaxy, despite losing a player, seem to be holding on.
That is a crazy crash coming through from Alpha 7. And they're punished for it. Absolutely. Not enough smokes, and you don't have time to throw those smokes either. They knew they were on the outside edge. They tried to go for something a little bit crazy to attempt to get more points on this game, but it just doesn't work out for them. D+ taking shots through the window. Nigma Galaxy holding on as best they can, down to just 2 players now. And it will be just 1 player remaining on the outside for Alpha 7.
Unfortunate stuff for them, and right next to Nigma Galaxy as well, a dangerous place to be. Incilio putting damage over towards D+ Kia, who are now on 1 player left standing as they do take the flush as well. This is so mean to D+ Kia, who were here first. They were the only team in this location, and then immediately, bang, you got 8 neighbors and they are all looking to take you down. It is really rotten. Falcons trying to roll up as well now, a late entry to the east side of this compound as Incilio looking to rebuff them yet again. Knock over towards Redlick. That comes through from a nade from the last player of Guild, so it's going to have a little bit of an impact still. The Falcons find the east edge, and top is in as well.
Somehow, Point Donkey ID still having impact inside this circle. They will knock out and flush Narvalo from Nigma Galaxy, adding 1 point to their total on the game. I actually like what Team Spirit tried to do. The timing was not off, it was just unfortunate that at that very moment, Thundertalks takes the opportunity to move in, and it's either very good scouting from them or a good opportunity that they found in the midst of everything. So for Team Spirit, this is the type of game that you could absolutely win off from.
Okay, nice knock from
having 4 players, but the fact that they only got 3 does lessen their impact into this game.
Oh, well, Guild is out.
Where you don't get this opportunity unless the rest of the lobby all has this hive mind approach to move into apartments at the same time, which is meaning that we are losing players thick and fast. We are already down to just 35 in the lobby at stage 4, which is a massive culling.
And we only have 6 teams with 4 players alive. Blank, we've got 4MV, Incilio, we've got Influence Rage, DRX, Falcons, and Thundertalk. Most of them are looking very close by towards those apartments. I'm surprised nobody crashed onto school to join Influence Rage. Everybody focused on those apartments. And I mean, it's such a difficult crash to go towards school because of the amount of open ground that surrounds it. At least with apartments, you've got those hills to the south that give you a little bit of cover as you approach. But around school, it is just flat. It's so hard to make that approach as soon as you cross that ground. The fish in the proverbial barrel. The circle does center up on towards it though, Blake, so maybe we're about to see that.
Yeah, Influence Rage, they can get around to the back side of the building, go towards the walls there, you can crash into those fairly easily, and then just push through the shacks and the vehicles that are burnt out in that area, and then once you're in school, you're fairly safe. Right, I do think that Influence Rage might have just played a blinder on this match, picking up this position. They can play the high ground, they can play pool as well, have some fantastic sight lines looking out over towards apartments, and it's looking more and more likely the circle's going to start to push out apartments unless we get a heavy southeast shift. So teams are getting a little bit worried. For Team Spirit though, the rotations are difficult. I think the ideal thing for them to do right now is to, yeah, exactly, set up on the south side and then try and take shots at Thundertalks as they move in. Expose a little bit more space on this northeast.
It is going to be a rough approach for the teams on the outside here. They will be left out in the cold here in London, and it is plentiful. ready to consume. As
chips.
plus Kier trying to hop in, hop out, give them run around, but
chips
steps back into the nade. And
it's nice cleanup.
4 players alive in these apartments. They made the roll-up work. They're up to 5 elims now. This Shack and Spirit is going to be an important rotational position for them, and they are slowly clearing it out. That's ThunderTalk, who just get completely obliterated on the approach. As Team Spirit taking shots out towards School as well.
Yeah, classic PL gameplay, it would seem, here in PMGC, which is, if all else fails, just send it. And it's not working. It really isn't. I think you need first-class mail to get towards that location, the speed at which they had, and they weren't quite on there. So RCB will certainly give them a stamp, but it's a stamp out of this lobby.
4MV on the south side. 4MV but the rest of them not being super aggressive into this one, I think has played very well for them so far. The question is the next circle. Is the coming phases when they will likely have to leave from that high ground. Everybody in their apartments will take the shots out their way. Na'Vi, they're trying to leave with, well, I say Na'Vi, Lemon is trying to leave from ROSOK as DRX have managed to move up the west side, been very quiet so far after their engagement with the Vicious earlier on, Blank, and they are just slowly moving around, slowly gaining some high ground position over the rest of this circle as well.
MG3 in the crates, I mean, would love to have that, but leaving outside of apartments is going to be fairly impossible, I would say, at this rate.
Down here, DRX.
4MV very much on the outside edge, down towards that south side, watching for these teams coming out from apartments. They have a lot more maneuverability. Obviously, that comes with the added caveat of having basically no cover. Team Spirit, though, moving over towards Lemon and DRX now.
One of the famous
Lemon
players
being this outside player could cause big problems. Team Spirit now down to just 2.
Not good day for Team Spirit.
2 players standing, but they are into this next circle, Blank, so they can hold out here for just a little bit longer. They tried to get across the road, losing that player on that transition. Far from ideal. Lemon going to be holding it down inside. I don't think he's in this zone. Will maybe have to move. Yeah, is consumed by it and will go down. The Molotov actually picking up that point. They'll know that that's a squad wipe, so they'll know it was a solo in there, and they know there's a team up on the top of the hill. So likely they can divine that it is just the top of the hill that they need to be worried about, given that Lemon has been able to sneak through ROSOK on his own.
Yeah, but DRX being as a 4-man is somewhat
DRX
worried.
is leaving.
Easy to move out. They are making a run for it, bolting over towards, I imagine, either the western side of School or down towards the south here. RCB looking to move out from this position. They know it's outside the circle. Team Spirit equally have to move. And Influence Rage is on track
RCB.
for a back-to-back.
Now RCB
find DRX as they make that rotate. They got in towards the south side of School.
Yeah, they are going for it.
They are going for it. Time.
They are going for it. Okay, Loxy down.
Losing one on the rollout. That's Falcon's able to get one and the flush as well. RCB going to move out towards DRX's corner of School now as well. So we've got 3 teams finally starting to learn their lesson, maybe. In just a moment, RCB diminished in power, only Wild remains, and Influence Rage looking to shut that one down. Crossing the nades over.
That's a good nade.
DRX to hold the pool.
मेरे को लग रहा है Wild और Silas जाएंगे.
They can send anyone else down. Silas, nade over his way, leaves Wild alone.
I actually think that spot's really good for DRX.
But Team Spirit comes here.
Hard to aggress, and you can play fairly well from that position. Team Spirit make a very dangerous approach here, and they have to go wide either side. Nade goes through over the top side. That might do enough damage over towards Nomi. Does hit him fairly hard, but won't quite take him out. Leaves him very low, though. And depends how many first aid kits they really have remaining. But Team Spirit can play this position. It's just extremely dangerous. Influence Rage, if they want to get rid of them, they will have to expend smokes.
And that's the thing, right, for Team Spirit.
Wild, Wild!
Here for a long, long time.
Wild
lighting them up. Okay. Hang on a minute, Kexe's gone down. Wild hops out. Is Team Spirit going to spot this? Have they seen this hop out? I wonder, because they've got a player on the corner. They've got the potential to just see if they can find that knock onto Wild, because that would be a full squad wipe, add a placement point into the mix for them, but Kitsune, no, he's not going to be too bold with it, not going to expose anything to Influence Rage. He knows that they have that high ground, so it can be dangerous. DRX,
they don't know.
They're not similarly pressured right now. The teams over in apartments haven't made that break, so they can just afford to step out on these angles.
RCB over towards the south side, still one player alive here. Wild not quite taken out yet, though.
Brother, they don't know easier, yaar.
Further over towards that north side, though. Like I say, Team Spirit could potentially take shots down that way, but there were smokes sent backwards to prevent that angle from being spotted.
Nomi ne down gaya NF ke lock.
I don't know how Nomi has got here.
Okay, now wide is out.
Very surprising. Capitalizing off the back of a knock that comes through from DRX. He is in the building.
This is a crazy transition. Gets across. He's on the upper floor now as well. This guy making it work, but finally shut down. I mean, I felt like it might be a little bit of the Nomi special brewing there, but unfortunately it does get shut down. In the meantime, though, Kitsune has made it up to the sidelines of the schoolyard as well, which means that with this next circle shift,
Kitsune, dimag laga
I think Influence Rage should be able to spot this one, though. He's now very, very exposed. Not too sure what was going on there, Kitsune. Try and find something different there. But 8th place, 2 elims, not great for Team Spirit.
No, it's not.
Okay, 4 MB आ रही है. उतार देगा बंदा. जिस हिसाब से experience. Oh, वो सीरीज पे.
Leave me alone. Didn't quite work out. Influence Rage saw through his devilish disguise. Yeah, DRX do fairly well, though I think lose a bit more than they would have liked there. As 4 players, they could certainly play this one out. And versus Influence Rage, technically they have advantage in terms of center. Most teams and departments kicking themselves for this one. But Incilio, despite everything, what a wonderful turn of events for them. I think they've done incredibly well to stay alive as long as they have as 4 and get 5 eliminations off the back of it.
Okay,
they're an improv team. They do very well with it. They're an improv every Thursday.
Oh, nice nade from 4MB Apex.
No, can't. Yes, and your way out of a nade.
Okay,
Nades to bounce in, maybe finding a second, but Voin Donkey dispatched in the meantime. Falcons on the inside, looking to hold them out. Incilio with a knock sent their way. 4MV still one step too far, it seems. 3TN with shots over towards Falcons as well. They're handling 2 players from Alpha 7 on the upstairs. The drop down. Apex wants the fight, gets the flush. Can Incilio find anything more? Apex is now pushed out to the outside. Can't really step back in. Doesn't want to either, with the blue zone pushing them away. Needs to try and stand up in this. Engagement. Incilio have still got 3 players to play around with, and Apex steps back into the blue to try and give them the slip. The off angle from Influence Rage from School, though, makes this exit all but impossible.
I have no idea how Apex makes that work, and
Apex
should go down for it, what a wonderful way to hold them out, and that helps the rest of the team, who's down towards that south side, prevents as many teams getting through towards the location, which is technically still fairly safe. I say that, as an 8 flies over the top side, we'll take down 1. He knows exactly where Doc is, that nade should be on target, attempts to crawl away, but it will not be finding it. Despite that, 4MV do a good job to get towards the position. Now it's Influence Rage, DRX, to take control of the rest of the game.
DRX have been slow on their approach to this match so far. They found that south side of Roswell. They were waiting for their time to strike, and they chose it perfectly. Now in the driver's seat of this game, we'll see if they can take it over the finish line. Influence Rage still stand as 4, but Lorazin not
9 kills for Influence, yeah.
An incredibly early cleanup in this match. We lost so many players, and it all comes down to this now. The big fight between DRX as well as Influence Rage. It is a tough one for DRX with only 3 players still left alive here. The 4 from Influence Rage looking for the second chicken dinner in a row here.
Hyunbin out on an off angle there. Needs to have an impact. Could be dangerous, but the center of the circle blank lies outside the walls of School, which gives Hyunbin's position so much strength. The 2 players for DRX on the inside are going to look to trade to try and slow down Influence Rage here. Hyunbin, though, is such an important position for them. On the outside, he will be the player to win this for them if they can make it work.
Important game for DRX in terms of point scoring. They have been a little bit slow to the party here. This one they're looking to get done in style. Influence Rage to make their push out. Heading over towards Pool, and they're looking for a splash.
Little boy waiting.
2v3 की फाइट है.
Exposed
अभी 1 मिनट तक कुछ नहीं होगा. Almost 1 मिनट तक कुछ नहीं होने वाला. एक नहीं, आराम से 1.5 मिनट तक बैठे रहेंगे. उसके बाद देखते हैं क्या होगा.
It's find value with Soas, with QXZ as well. And have Hyunbin pick up the pieces.
DRX pass nothing.
You can take 2 players down for Influence Rage. That
DRX have 4 nades, 6 smokes, 1 volley, 1 stun. देखते हैं क्या निकाल पाते हैं।
The wall side
2xg के पास तो कुछ नहीं है बिल्कुल। Average elimination 0.9.
Blue pushes now. Influence Rage need to get a move on.
Okay.
Head out
एक
towards
मिनट
the
तक
front
अभी
side of
धीरे-धीरे
school.
होगा।
Are they teaching the lesson or are they learning the lesson? Provided by DRX on the outside.
4v3 के हिसाब से तो भाई
Hyunbin
INF को
has
जीतना
got a
चाहिए।
massive amount of weight on this guy's shoulders.
But
Needs to
INF
be
have
shot
to
and
come in
has
front
to
of
stay
them.
alive.
That's the
His
scene.
position, he's fairly exposed and will push him out. He needs to find value from it. And I love the fact that Influence Rage is trying to slow this down as much as possible. So Hyunbin does not find that early pick.
Hyunbin is spotted.
High ground from Lorazin, keeping that one suppressed.
Okay.
Waiting for that one to step up. QXZ just dragging his feet on this fight as well. Hopping out of the window, playing up to the wall. Influence Rage do not have the high ground angle with Lorazin because he's not stepping up. Immediately Hyunbin would sit him back down if he tried it. Or at least give him a challenge for it. Influence Rage,
60% chance दिखा रहा
they
है।
really want this back to back. Diego on the staircase, pushes on.
Okay, it's easy.
DRX just slowly protracting this one away from them.
Okay, अच्छे smoke from Lorenzen.
Smoke's been thrown now into the mist for Influence Rage. Nade goes through, QXZ lucky.
Okay.
Take too much
Hyunbin
damage
भी
from that
आगे
one.
आगे. Okay, that's need.
Smokes
That's
out,
3 nades from
denies
Hyunbin.
The cross angle
Okay,
here.
you don't know the
Hyunbin
locations.
does not know. Limited nades, good damage though to start things off.
Okay,
In
little
goes
bug down
QXZ,
here. That's from nice
finds the
from
first on the
QXZ.
little boy. Influence Rage now in trouble.
Lord God did get tagged with the nade around the side as
Okay,
well, which
Diego
gives
is
info
here.
on where
We
they're
don't know
holding.
Diego
Nade
is
set
here.
back out, but
Diego
there's no
moves.
knocks to be seen.
Okay,
The
okay,
DPS
Diego
connects,
down, take
and
down
will
STC,
find the spray now with
Lorenzen down,
Lorenzen,
sorry.
but they're getting lit up down the line, and
Oh, Lorenzen down,
QXZ to go big against Influence Rage here.
Only
Law
Law
now the
remaining.
last to fight.
That's a
Low HP
miss
on the
from-
sidelines. Hyunbin still on the outer with the crate to play around. A little bit of improv cover
Okay.
to find
Law has no
chicken
position
dinner.
to come
Maybe.
outside.
Law with the blue zone now pushing. QXZ on the outside. There is no way they can hop out. DBS to secure these eliminations and Influence
Oh
Rage
my,
for
nice
DRX.
gameplay from
For
DRX,
South
yeah.
Korea make it work.
That's a nice
Awesome game from DRX. A
Hold
chicken
it,
dinner
that's a
goes
nice
up to them
for a
and
golden
one
goose on that.
denied to Influence Rage. Lovely stuff coming through from this team and a great hold.
Great hold यार, बहुत ही अच्छा hold है भाई.
What a
That's a
fantastic
fucking
game
great.
coming out of both these teams, to be perfectly honest. South Korea and Brazil really showing up in match 3, our second of Erangel of the day. And Max Fenn and Several Worlds Gaming, we're talking about DRX. I mean, multiple plays, multiple movements they made facilitated that win for sure.
Amazing match coming out from the South Korean team here. I mean, I feel like this is one of the top games in PUBG Mobile Esport here for the Grand Finals. You have some great fighting in apartments, and then DRX, their strategy to get in that position from the get-go was insane. You go on the southern side of Rozhok, you get the really good hill to scout that position, send it into the western side, and you kind of coexist with Influence Rage. You don't really commit to the fight. You're like, we're just going to hold on to the swimming pool area. They're going to have eliminations here and there.
टू व्हीलर्स ज्यादा
ये क्या फिर है? क्या है?
जी
What is this यार? This is नारियल?
ఈయన తలకి దొడుతుంటున్నాడు.
अरे क्या बोलता है भाई?
फोरहेड जितना बड़ा है.
Oh, भाई moving tree. Snickers. Enemy spotted. Enemy spotted भाई. ये तो ग्रैंड क्लिक बैच दे रहा है. Oh, nice भाई. Old guys भी रहा है.
नाइट को सिटी देखो गाइस क्या दिख रही है यार. एकदम लास्ला एंजलस.
लास्ला एंजलस. लॉस एंजलस नहीं लास्ला एंजलस. तो यार तेरा घोड़े वर्गा.
हाँ ना वो सुबह वाला बुर्ज खलीफा.
सस्ता बुर्ज खलीफा.
Next day.
भाई 4 दिन से सिर्फ यही खा रहा हूँ.
क्या है?
बेस्ट है गाइस.
क्या है?
इसका नाम है चिकन पो. एकदम जो रीसेट करता है ना, तो मैं नेक्स्ट लेवल वाली सच्ची बता रहा हूँ. सबसे पहले मेरे को ये सीखना है. कुछ नहीं है, पानी है, कोरिएंडर लीव्स है, बाकी थोड़ी सी नूडल्स है और थोड़ी सी बॉइल्ड चिकन. जितना पता है मेरे को, ये सबसे हेल्दीएस्ट मील ही है. मतलब ऐसा कुछ है, मतलब हेल्दीएस्ट है एकदम से. कुछ नहीं, पानी है, ये सीखना है मेरे को.
पानी है.
नेक्स्ट लेवल बनाते हैं भाई ये लोग. मुझे बस यही पसंद है, बाकी सब इधर समझ रहे हो, मतलब इंडियन खाना मिलना बहुत डिफिकल्ट है। तो मैं वही खा रहा हूँ, 4 दिन से सिर्फ पानी जा रहा है अंदर, तो मज़ा तो आ रहा है। काफ़ी बिजी शहर है, कुछ भी बोलो, रात की मतलब रात भी बिजी रहती है और सुबह भी। अभी फ़िलहाल टाइम तो मेरे हिसाब से 9 बज गया। मैं थोड़ा जल्दी उठा क्योंकि मेरे को कल उन लोग की शॉपिंग कंप्लीट हुई थी और मैंने भी आधा किया था, तो मैंने पूरा कंप्लीट नहीं किया था, तो मुझे कंप्लीट करनी थी शॉपिंग। तो मैं सोचा कि मेरे लिए नहीं, सिर्फ फैमिली के लिए भाई, मेरे लिए कुछ नहीं लिया मैंने, समझ रहे हो। तो जाके मैं सोच रहा हूँ अभी कंप्लीट कर दो, क्योंकि बाद में जाना तो पड़ेगा, इसलिए तो अभी जा रहा हूँ उधर कंप्लीट करने के लिए। शहर देखो एक बार, तुम्हें लग रहा होगा कार ज़्यादा है, लेकिन सबसे ज़्यादा तो टू व्हीलर्स ही है। उधर देखो भाई, पूरा टू व्हीलर्स ही है।
इंडिया में आओ, टू व्हीलर्स हम दिखाएंगे।
शॉपिंग वॉपिंग सब हो गया गाइस। हॉट व्हील्स
बैटमैन कौन कौन सी वाली भाई है भाई? बैटमैन के हॉट व्हील्स भाई, और क्या क्या है दिखाओ।
जो भी
क्या है, ये क्या है?
इनका कपड़ा वगैरह कितना भी सेम ना, सिर्फ फैमिली के लिए।
ये क्यों मुझके लिए?
मुझके लिए
हमारे लिए हमने कुछ भी नहीं लिया यार। कितने डाउन टू अर्थ है नाम कितना, सच्ची बता है इदेवेंत। तो हमारे लिए हमने कुछ भी नहीं लिया। अब सारे पैकिंग वगैरह हो गया। रात को हमने कुछ कर ही नहीं पाए व्लॉग, क्योंकि हैवी लाइम जूस, समझ रहे हो, गाना वाना आएगा तो फायदा क्या है, कॉपीराइट आएगा, है कि नहीं?
इधर का गाना कॉपीराइट का मेन कारण है।
That's it guys, अभी हम जा रहे हैं एयरपोर्ट। आई होप तुम्हें मजा आया। तो अभी कहाँ आ रहा है, कहाँ जाना है? ओह सुशांत भाई अभी उठ गए, अब वो जाके नहाएंगे, रेडी होंगे, सेलिब्रिटी है इसलिए, समझ रहे हो। अभी जा रहे हैं हम सीधा एयरपोर्ट। हो गया हमारा थाईलैंड, सॉरी कहाँ, वियतनाम। ठीक है, लव यू सुशांत भाई।
जो भी कोई आया
6 बजे की फ्लाइट है।
5 घंटे के, हाँ 5 घंटे
हर बार ऐसे ही
5 घंटे
ಗಡಿಬಿಡಿ करते हैं फालतू का।
5 ಗಂಟೆಗೆ ಫ್ಲೈಟ್, 3 ಗಂಟೆ ಮೊದಲು 2 ಗಂಟೆ ಇರಬೇಕು, 1 ಗಂಟೆ ಅರ್ಧ ಗಂಟೆ ಅವನು ಶಾಪಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ಇದು ಉಂಟು, ನಾವು ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಅವನು ಇದು ಉಂಟು ಎಂತ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿ ಫಂಡ್।
I want subtitles. ಅಣ್ಣ ಟೀಮನ್ subtitles
ಟೈಮ್ ಕುದೋಡು ನೋಡಿ।
किन्ना भाई 6 बजे की फ्लाइट में आप 1 बजे निकल रहे हो।
ನಾವು ನಿಶೆ ಮಾಡೋ ಶೋಭಿತ ಎಂಕ್ಲು ಬೋದಿಪ್ಪ ಈ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಟೈಮಿಗೆ ಬಲ್ಲ, ಮತ್ತೆ ವಿಮಾನ ಹಾರುವಾಗ ಕೆಳಗೆ ಕಾಟ ಮಾಡಿ।
क्या लैंग्वेज है भाई, बच्चे देखते हैं मेरी स्ट्रीम।
ಏನು ಮಾಡೋದು ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ।
कितना व्यूज है टीवन भाई नेक्स्ट लोग मुझे
ನಾಲಿಗೆ ಕ್ಲೀನ್ ಇರಲಿ, ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ ಬೇಡದಲ್ಲಿ MC BC ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಬೇಕಾ?
यार टीमोन भाई भी यार नहीं आती यार हमको, जो भी लैंग्वेज बोल रहे हैं वो प्लीज सबटाइटल एरर, सबटाइटल टीमोन भाई भी नीड सबटाइटल।
अच्छा बोलता था।
मैं लिखता हूँ टीमोन भाई वी नीड सबटाइटल्स इन हिंदी सबटाइटल्स इन हिंदी। Even why we need subtitles in Hindi.
टीम बनता वो गाली देता बेकनिंग ಅದಲ್ಲ।
नहीं किन्ना भाई एक बात बताओ, 6 बजे की फ्लाइट 1 बजे गान मारने जा रहे हो।
गान मारने उंटु ನೋಡಿ ನಾ ದೋಸ್ತ ನಾ ಬಾಗಿ ನಿಲ್ತೇನೆ।
अरे यार कितना ये
बहुत मजा आ गया यार। 2017-18 का प्लान था हमारा साथ में जाने का, फाइनली हो रहा है, मतलब आज हो चुकी है।
नेक्स्ट ईयर
हाँ हमारी प्लान है अगले साल भी जाने का। डेस्टिनेशन क्या है ब्रो?
तुमको क्यों, तुम नहीं है
अगले साल की डेस्टिनेशन प्लान है पोर्चुगल।
नहीं तुमको नहीं चाहिए।
पोर्चुगल,
हाँ पोर्चुगल भाई नेक्स्ट ईयर,
हाँ ना,
हेलो
क्योंकि क्या है ना, SCA में ना क्या होता है, खाने का सीन होता है। सुसु की कलर चेंज हुई है हमारी सबकी। कभी
भाई साउथ ईस्ट एशिया बोल रहा है वो, SCA में खाने का सीन होता है, जिसको नहीं समझ में आया।
कभी पिंक कभी कभी येलो आरजीबी भाई वो ड्रैगन फ्रूट खाया हमने इसलिए ड्रैगन फ्रूट के वजह से मैं सच्ची बता रहा हूँ। तो गाइस अभी फाइनली एग्जीक्यूट हो गया। कैसा लगा यार? मजा आया ना?
हम जा रहे हैं, हम दूसरा व्लॉग कर रहे हैं, हमारे ही चैनल बोलते हैं, हमारे ओन चैनल को हम ये व्लॉग करते हैं। तुम नहीं चाहिए व्लॉग हमको दिखाने का मरना नहीं है, हम किधर जा रहे हैं, क्या कर रहे हैं, क्या कर रहे हैं।
तो अभी जा रहे हैं एयरपोर्ट। आई होप तुम्हें मजा आया। काफी ट्रैवलिंग प्लान्स है मेरी भी, मतलब
नेक्स्ट व्लॉग बैंगलोर एयरपोर्ट से घर।
अभी सच्ची बता रहा हूँ गाइस, अभी देखो अभी घर पहुंचते अभी वापस ट्रैवलिंग है मेरी अभी, ठीक है। तो
बता ना, फॉरेन फर्स्ट टाइम आए, बताओ।
ये मत बोलो भाई, मैं अगली भाई मेरी शेड्यूल देखो गाइस, अभी वियतनाम, अभी इसके बाद चाइना, उसके बाद ऑस्ट्रेलिया, उसके बाद ऑस्ट्रेलिया, उसके बाद न्यूजीलैंड। देखते रहो। तो अगले साल डील कंफर्म है फिर?
तुम नहीं है।
अगले साल रियो दी जनेरियो, ब्राजील। ये हम तो जा रहे भाई बस, ठीक है। हमारी यही प्लान हुई थी, मतलब हर साल हम जाएंगे साथ में, ठीक है। ठीक है प्लीज यार, मैं भी आऊंगा यार। यार ऐसे ना करो यार, लव यू। मजा आया ना तुम लोग को?
तुमको आया, हमको नहीं आया।
तुमको तो आया नहीं है। अच्छा तो आ गया क्या नेक्स्ट मैच? नहीं आया अभी। इसकी वीडियो दिख रहा है?
मार दे लुल्ली पे।
सही है भाई, इस बंदे की वाचिंग काफी आती है, मिस्टर स्पाइक भाई, इसने भी नाम कमाया है भाई। कॉटिमन लाइव स्ट्रीम और तो कुछ नहीं, ये देख नहीं सकते हैं। इंडिया कप लैंड फाइनल्स बताओ, एफ चल रहा है।
That's an offside. I mean, see it coming from a mile away, but even though it was a good attempt, it just has to be perfect for him to create that chance. But yeah, as I saw at the start of the game, Karman has been very patient, at least from the start of the second half. He's going to take his time because he knows he's down by a goal. True. Great chance there.
Cut back. No, he actually goes in for the near post. Goes for the head as well, but it's not in. It's actually outside the net. A valiant effort indeed. But Tekka could not.
अच्छा गॉड लाइक, दिल से गॉड लाइक चल रहा है भाई। यहाँ भी 40 की वाचिंग कर रही है, दिल से गॉड लाइक कर रहा है। सही है भाई, ये गेम खेलेंगे, माल ट्रैवल्स खेलेंगे। और पीसी साफ सफाई स्वच्छता अभियान लाइव। हाँ यार, मेरे को भी रीअसेंबल करूँगा एक दिन। मैंने को भी इंडिया फर्स्ट ग्रेट सुपर मिनरल मुरली देख लिया मैंने देख लिया। तारे ज़मीं पर तेरा जिक्र जिसमें हुआ ना हो। मेरे पास ऐसा लम्हा ना हो, मैंने खुद से तुझको मांगा नहीं। टेलर तो देख सकता हूँ मैं। हाँ भाई, ये उसके स्क्विड गेम्स के अगेंस्ट अच्छी चीज निकाली है। स्क्विड गेम्स की जगह अच्छी चीज निकाली है। मैच आया 40 सेकंड में, नेक्स्ट मैच आ रहा है। लास्ट रिंगल ऑफ द डे। इंडियन बंदे Save, merci. Early game फाइट नहीं, मेरे को एंड गेम सर्किल में पहुंचना है.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. It is not going to be our final air angle of the day. Instead, it's going to be a show match here on Metro Royale, and I got the two best casters in Metro Royale existence here with MaxMan and Severworld's game to take us in.
Oh, that's a big title to live up to. Okay.
I like it.
I'll take it. It's a dub. But here we go. We're going to get into our Metro Royale game here to see how things are going to be going down. And we will be playing on the old blockade area of the map. So this is going to be interesting to see how things are going to go down. But of course, compared to the Battle Royale mode that we all know and love here, Seven, things are completely different for all the viewers that maybe see it for the first time.
It is going to be different, and there you go. The teams that are currently going to be participating, we have seen some of these teams in the past too, being able to participate in this kind of events. And in case you're wondering what Metro Royale is, there you go, a quick breakdown. It's actually, it's not just be the one. All you have to do is just make sure you loot. If you're able to eliminate some players, definitely eliminate them, because you're going to be able to get 300,000 Metro cash value added to your final score.
All players have same
loadout.
loadout.
Make sure you extract before the timer. And you were mentioning there, all blockade zone advanced, so they're going to get a chance to go into the radiation. And once we get to that part, don't worry, we'll be able to explain it a little bit more, because the radiation is definitely where you need to go. But you need to be careful, because there's a lot of things that can happen in radiation that can hinder your performance.
Yeah, things that can happen and things that can attack you. Also,
lots of things that can attack
agents, especially, are a little bit tricky to deal with. But it's not be the one here, Seven. It's be the richest when you are getting Metro Royale and trying to get some loot. And of course, as you said, get some elimination. 300k per elimination is very important. You get a squad wipe. 1.2 mil right away, right out of the gate. So that's going to be very important. And one thing we've seen in past Metro Royale tournaments we've covered, Seven, is that we have a lot of third parties happening, because if you get a majority of the eliminations between two teams, guess what? Chances are you're going to be winning that game outright.
And with the way that old blockade zone is going to be set up, if you do end up going inside the radiation, it's going to be tough. You could end up getting third party. You could end up actually getting camp to extract. One of the things that I'm going to be looking at earlier on is seeing if there's any team that wants to go into the radiation. I'm starting to see some teams starting to fight already, none other than Gold Bapej. Are they going to try to go for any of the green flare guns? Because if you do end up getting a green flare gun, you'll be able to call an extract regardless of where you are on that exact location.
Yeah, we've seen it actually in the CSA versus SEA tournament, where they would sometimes give all the high value loot to one player, have that one player extract, and keep 3 players to loot around, maybe get extra elimination. So just to secure that loot, once you extracted, there's no way you're going to be losing that loot value whatsoever. Though, already have a little bit of a fight here with a Voin, it seems, clashing with the side of non-GE.
And one thing to keep in mind, if you do end up using one of those green flare guns to try to extract, it is going to give a heads up to everybody within the map. They'll be able to open up the map, and they will know exactly what they're trying to do. But we're going to be switching up as we have none of Songru's just pushing up on Brute Force. Brute Force actually trying to see if they can breach on this high ground. Grenades are going to be thrown. Formula backing down, waiting and seeing if he can maybe get an angle as some of his players end up getting eliminated.
And of course, we know that in this mode, the MK14 is like the meta weapon. It is so insanely strong compared to the Battle Royale side of things. So this is going to be the meta weapon. Everyone spawns naturally with this weapon in their arsenal, with also an AKM. And I do believe it is just the normal bullets they have right away. So that they spawn like in the CSA versus SEA tournament. And here we go, Sim9, one player's going to get knocked.
और कुछ हाँ मैं चीज़ कर सकता हूँ फ्री वीकेंड नहीं डेल्टा फोर्स भी नहीं डेट्स नहीं एपिक गेम्स पे क्या फ्री चल रहा है Star Wars Lego नहीं Infinite Nikki Marvel Rivals यहाँ भी फ्री है यहाँ रम उसकी और तो कुछ नहीं यार ऐसा। यार गेम खेलने का मन नहीं हो रहा, एंड कर दूंगा स्ट्रीम में। लोग सोलो खेल रहा है, रेबल क्वीन उसके घर में है, जैस्मिन जी इसके साथ खेल रही हैं। चलो बीजी में आज तक खेलूंगा नहीं, मैं कोई मतलब ही नहीं है। हाँ फेसबुक चलते हैं, फेसबुक में क्या चल रहा है। सो मैच है क्या ये? सो मैच चल रहा है थी, झुट्टियन वाली में क्या चल रहा है? ये शेर पंजाब वहां नहीं पहुंचा इतने बड़े टूर्नामेंट में। डैम मैन, अड़तन बर्तन तेल है जी, क्या अड़तन बर्तन तेल, वेलकम यार। देख रहा है क्या ये शो मैच?
This is, I mean, if you
क्या है ये? मेट्रो रॉयल खेला क्या तूने कभी? यस।
All the ammo you're taking in might not cut it to take them down, so you've got to be very careful. Gold bar! Dodge if you can, and here you go. One gold bar has been indeed picked up. That is going to be 200k in the back. In the bank.
And now they're going to have a total earnings of 623k. I mean, this team currently the last one alive. We're talking about you don't really have to be the last one alive. You do have to make sure they extract. So even though they're currently performing well, even though they weren't able to get those eliminations, they need to make sure they do end up extracting, because if they don't, everything could just end up crushing down.
Like what Voin are trying to do here, trying to take shots on the mutants without really gathering too much aggro, which is the best way to do it here. And create a lot of space here. They're going to be able to loot other buildings that they cleared once. And here you go, Extraction. Aria got all of that loot. I think they even swapped out some low value loot for some high value loot to try and just get them to extract and confirm all of that. Now, is the team going to follow up in the extraction, or they're going to keep looting? Seems like they're going to follow up with Aria and get out of there. And that is going to be a big game here, Metro, for Voin.
And I know it says right there, you can secure your loot by using 2 of those extraction points. As I mentioned earlier, you can definitely use that green flare gun to call the helicopter like these players from Voin were able to do. And they just want to be safe. They want to make sure that they extract one by one. And you can see right there, Voin being able to get 2.2 million Metro cash. Nobody contending them. And on top of that, Max, 6 eliminations.
Yeah, those 6 eliminations alone are just massive. Gets you so much value right out of the gate. So that was a really good setup for them. And looking at the extraction too. They're like, yeah, we got all the loot we need. We got 3 players alive. We got some gold bars. We are going to be looking really good leaving the extraction zone as we go into our second game here.
And now I'm really intrigued to see how Void is going to be able to play this, right? They do have a massive
India
lead in regards to all the major cash they were able to collect early on in all blockade. On top of that, we're going to be moving on now to Misty Port, one of my favorite maps in Metro Royale. With this one here, Void, what kind of strategy do we want to see out of them, Max?
I don't know. I think that Void here, because you know you're in the lead, right, going into the second game, maybe you just go for some loots in the radiation zone and you focus on extracting as soon as humanly possible. Maybe even just loot around an extraction zone that spawns naturally for the team and then get out. And because of every other team being in negative, right, so they got no value, it rounds up to 0 after that game. I think here that you just played safe. Knowing Void and how they were playing, that 6 eliminations and losing 1 player, I think they're just going to be again chasing down the competition and trying to create an even bigger lead here in this Metro game.
And for a lot of these teams that are currently trying to hunt down Void, that are trying to catch up and just close the gap in regards to the Metro cash that Void currently has on them. If I was them, I would just try to go into radiation, see if you can maybe find some of those gold bars, see if maybe you can find some of those gold piles, because that is the only way. Yeah, you can get some eliminations, get 300k apiece in regards to elims, but you need to focus on the gold bars, and that's exactly what's crazy right now. Is that Void is trying to be the team that does that, which is a scary sight considering the lead that they already have.
Actually, it's quite smart of Void to go in the extraction zone, because if you go, not in the extraction zone, in the radiation zone, because if you head on over there and other teams come over, you can deny them access to the highest value loot.
True.
And you can maybe also eliminate them, but if you don't, at least you're able to hurt them a bit and maybe deny a bit of their backspace and have less players to take loot away in the extraction.
Same 9.
Go though, Push9 taking the fight here in a 1-on-1 around this truck. And he's going to be actually almost 1v2, but able to actually get down on the competition, and Ginny's will be able to get rezzed up by his teammate.
And then on top of that, we have Gopapesh moving up. They know that some players from Board Gaming is going to be close by. Board Gaming trying to make a push. It's going to end up backfiring as they're just getting pushed down the tunnel. Molotovs are going to be coming through. Great Molotov there by Board Gaming, although it's going to stop their push as well. It's going to have them to have some time to think about what they want to do here. Brute Force, we're going to have 3 teams fighting here.
In the underground here, it's going to be quite risky. If you have some nades and molotovs, any kind of utility is going to be very, very impactful to use it. But here you go, Balls Old Boy trying to go for a big pre-fire. Does take quite a bit of damage, down to half HP. It is going to be also a bit of a staircase, so any kind of nade coming out from their side will just be able to roll on down over. But yeah, Goat Bapesh is also around the corner. This is going to be all over the place. And while this fight is happening, again, the loot value of Void is just going to keep going up. They're at 2.2 million.
Nobody's currently touching Void Esports, but I am looking at Board Gaming. I mean, they're currently, I thought they ended up losing some players. They didn't end up losing some players. Sam 9, I feel like they're going for the extract already. What do they have? Are they just trying to make sure they secure at least some type of money here in regards to the extracting? It feels like they are.
I mean, here you know that you're not going to go for the win because Void is just too much of a threat in that first game. And here too, though, again, over 2 million in loot value is crazy when they went in the radiation zone. I think the game plan is just we want to secure second place, maybe a top 3 depending on how this happens. Again, 3 teams as of right now are fighting underground, and it's all over the place as Balls get eliminated, and they are not having the game they wanted.
They're not. They're currently in 4th place in regards to the loot value. We're seeing Sam 9 already has 3 players extracted. They did end up losing 1. And meanwhile, Void Esports is just having an absolute blast with everything that's going on because this team has radiation fully to themselves. You see the loot value going up higher and higher, and they only have 1 elimination. They really didn't want to have to worry about the eliminations on this one with the lead that they had coming in.
Yeah, and the main issue is that if you want to catch up to Void here, you only have 5 minutes and 20 seconds left in this game. That means you'd have to go into radiation zone and compete against them. And I think that knowing Void and what they did in the first game, right, they're just going to extract. Once they have the stuff, like maybe they looted a flare and just going to flare out of extraction of the radiation zone, and they will be good to go. As Brute Force, 1 million new value.
They thought about it.
Looking good, but what's the game plan for Brute Force? That's the big question.
For Brute Force, I think they were thinking about maybe going into the radiation. They know that they were able to get a lot of eliminations for. You can see their loot value has been able to go up. And I feel like with Brute Force, they maybe learned their lesson of earlier, not getting too greedy. If you can extract, if you can just secure some loot value to your tally, just go ahead and do that.
Exactly. You just want to secure it. Oh, there you go.
Gold piles?
Oh, more gold piles. Wait, 2 gold piles, 5 gold bars? Okay, they're rich.
On top of that, you got some graphics cards, you got some secret dock. Okay, you know what? I see you. I see you, Void.
Officially in Metro Royale. And yeah, there you go, extracting and confirming all of that loot. Okay, how much are they going to have in value here? Like 6 million over the course of 2 games, I think? Like, they're going to be so high up there.
I think even more. I think they might get even closer to 10 million.
Really? In 2 games? That's an insane amount of value to have in only 2 matches. You see that typically in like 3-4 games. Void are just destroying the competition. 2 matches on Metro alone. That's crazy.
If I was to pick anybody to be on my team, I would definitely pick Void because they are absolutely destroying it now. Brute Force, they're saying, we're not even going to try to challenge anything that Brute Force is currently doing. They do have a 1 million value, and you were wondering what Void was going to be able to do? They have 8 million so far just in this match alone, Max.
I didn't see that number. I thought it was a little bit lower than that, but here we go. Void extract out earlier in the radiation zone. 9.3 million in Metro cash value. That is madness. I think that's the highest we've ever seen, even in the CSA and SCA tournament. That was madness.
Metro Royale show match. If you guys haven't checked that out, make sure you check it out. It's not just about being the one, it's about making sure that you extract with all that beautiful loot.
Hashtag be the richest. We're starting the hashtag, it's the real one.
Be the richest instead of be the one. You know what? I can get behind that. I do have to question some of these teams, though. I obviously understand you get so much value out of getting these early eliminations, but if it doesn't work out for you, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah, you lose everything. You just get 0 Metro cash.
I feel like you almost want to avoid fights, and then if you're contesting like certain looting areas, like you're talking about the radiation zones, that's when you want to be like, okay, now we're gonna fight for this because the value we can get off of this can get us a win.
That's the beautiful thing about Metro Royale. You can either try to go fight people, or you can just take the other route and just go for that loot in radiation.
But if you go for the loot in radiation, guess what? You're not the only team typically that's gonna be going in radiation, so you're gonna fight over there, and then you're taking a risk because high value loot locations are heavily contested by multiple teams.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna go in the radiation zone, the best way to do so is with your Koopa UT2 Gamer Pros. The hand warmers we have here, rechargeable hand warmers that also have RGB lights with a 5,000 milliamp battery and 4 different adjustable heat settings. You weren't prepared, Max, but there you go. You should have went green for the radiation
I got green.
zone. You got green.
I got
well,
the
you are 7WG
green.
That's a green, right?
It's more yellow, but you know, you're number blind and colorblind.
Ah, there we go. We got the green. Yeah.
You got there eventually, but yeah, make sure you guys are checking out Metro. Honestly, I think it's so sick, and I would love to see more and more events like this.
Yes.
Also, what I'd like to see is you guys at home making sure to check out the Night Raven set and the Enigma set, which you can pick up right now. It's the PMGC set for you for 2024, and you can use the code 2024 PMGC to get 50 UC off with 10 draws in the Lucky Spin. So make sure you check that out. You can get your Sandstorm skin in-game right here, right now. You know, that's a little too mean. He's not here to defend himself, so the Jason
does look like him.
skin in-game.
Taking up all the oxygen, but I actually like that skin. I need to be able to go. You know what, Max, remind me. After today, go enter that code.
If you had a 7WG skin in-game, what would it be? What would it look like?
It would be short.
That too. Wait, that might be an advantage.
Yeah.
Your character
little
will be
buddy,
shorter.
I can't 7 buddy.
I can't hit his head model.
I'll be like the little King Kong.
King Kong.
I like it. You know what? Let's get on that. But as we are going to head into our final Erangel in moments here, we need to start to focus back on what's really important here is who's going to come out to be the one, who's going to flare up here in the final 3 matches of the day. And honestly, Influence Rage.
Yes.
They have been the team to have a massive glow up in this day. Can they maintain this though? Because if they do, with only being 1 point behind 4MV, they could be 1 day away from lifting that trophy.
I think doesn't like 4MV, they get to the center of the circle when they don't lose players.
Yes.
That's the thing. They have 4 players. Like, it goes to show if 4MV do the similar kind of approach in terms of rotation, but don't lose players, there might be an Influence's Rage's position to actually compete for these wins of getting at least in top 3 positions. So, I gotta say right now, Influence Rage are like a perfected 4MV on his first 3 matches.
Just the consistency that we've been seeing out of this team. I mean, you just mentioned they're able to take full advantage of it. They're not gonna overcommit to something. They're not gonna overextend to anything. If they're forced to be aggressive, be aggressive. So remember something that none other than Defi from Void Donkey told us. It's like, if we finish 2nd place every single match, we'll be happy with that. It's not Void Donkey doing it, but it is Influence Rage currently doing that by finishing almost 2nd place every single time.
I like Max's answer to that. It was like, well, if you do that, you're not going to win. And then you and I look at each other, Seven, like,
they are.
Well, if you get 2nd every game, I feel like you're going to win because not one team is going to get 1st every game.
I mean, getting just 2nd place, right? When he said just getting 2nd place in terms of placement points, never going to cut it. Like Influence Rage, you're getting eliminations off the back of that too, right? Because they're being aggressive. Maybe not always in the sense of taking fights, but in controlling the circle. And that is very important that we were not seeing actually from Void yesterday.
not even Void. I feel like it was for some of the other teams as well, but especially Void, right? We wanted to see a little bit more aggressiveness out of them. And when we see aggressiveness, just to educate the viewers at home, we don't necessarily need to go fight right away. You can just set yourself up within the zone, within the map, to just get full control, like DRX was able to do here. DRX waited for the right moment. They pushed up, and this is something that you were able to point out, Max.
Exactly. They were being aggressive in the sense that we know we have circle control. We're going to be aggressive when the opposition, when Influence Rage are deciding to send it away from school. And look, you get the easiest chicken dinner you could ever ask for at the end here for DRX, even though it got risky at points, but it still was the perfect setup for them to get a chicken dinner against Influence Rage in that kind of circle.
Ooh. Well, here we go. Currently sitting like he's going to be potentially our MVP of the event so far. It's going to be Nomi, but also really interesting to see Vache here in second. I mean, normally when we look at in Seal, there's so many other players we can talk about. I mean, Westron is definitely going to be one of those, but to have Vache, who we had the casters talk about so many times, he's been massively stepping up for them.
I mean,
3TN, if it was driving distance, I would be like, okay,
beginning of the day.
Step up.
Vache, the South Korean team's hating because of this one simple trick. I mean, he got third partied at one point after fighting DRX and still just swept the floor with most of the D+ gear players. So yeah, Vache, I mean, we knew him when he was back in the day on Konina Power, right? He is a true OG, and this guy's just still here at the top of his game here on the PMGC.
What worries me though for him and his team, this is the last Erangel, and yesterday, I know it said this towards the start of the day, they got 0 points on Miramar across both matches. So if they want to be able to continue this team, they're I think in third place at the moment, they need to have a good final Erangel, and more importantly, they need to figure out what's going wrong on Miramar for them. But if we talk about them, also, what about Alpha 7? Miramar is their home ground. That's where they seem to always put up most of their points, and yet yesterday, they were extremely quiet. I know we were talking about earlier on, are we going to count Alpha 7 out? Because we're already starting to look towards some of those teams. If they have bad Miramars today, I would almost say in my books, they have no chance of taking the trophy.
That's why earlier when you were asking about that, I said I need to wait and see what Alpha 7 is going to be doing when we actually go to Miramar. From what their coach told me, yeah, we always feel comfortable. That is our best map. Yeah, you can say that as much as you want, but if you're not being able to perform on the other matches, if you're not being able to perform in Sandhawk, if you're definitely not being able to perform in Erangel, those dreams and hopes of being able to follow up the championship that you were able to get at PMWC, trying to get that final championship here at PMGC, it's not going to end up happening.
It's not also, do you need to see Alpha 7 have good games on Miramar? Do you see the other teams like, you know, your Team Spirit, your Void is still constantly remaining in that late game of those Miramar matches? So if you're only really relying on Miramar alone when the other teams are popping off on every battleground, catching up to first place is going to be super tough unless they get like win after win.
It would have been perfect if they did it earlier in the day too, because 4MV just wasn't being able to put up performances. 4MV now starting to wake up. 4MV is not getting blessed within the circles. They're starting to adjust. This is something that we were talking about it yesterday. I feel like a lot of the players that I talked to at the beginning of the day, even their coaches, they were saying, yeah, 4MV ended up getting lucky. I kind of agree with them to a certain extent, but what was impressive was all the little things that they were changing that we noticed from league stage over here to grand finals. And we're starting to see it not just when they get circle place. Now whenever they actually have to push themselves, now whenever they have to set themselves up in a 3-1 saying, you know what, wait it out, wait for the right moment. Right now it's working out wonders for them, and that's currently why they're in first place.
I could hear his team right now saying to Doc, don't go in. He's like, I'm going to go in. I'm going to go for it. I mean, the thing is, I guess you can talk about a little bit of luck yesterday when it came to 4MV, because they had, what was it, 2 military zones?
Yes. Yeah.
The first one, they got absolutely demolished. The second one, they had finally a good performance. So for 4MV, if you're going to use the excuse, especially in the league stage, we just didn't get zone. When you do get zone, you better make those plays work.
I have one issue for 4MV that I've seen a lot right now. Is in PMWC, they were trying to play only edge, and that was clearly not working. Here, they're trying to fully commit to the center all of the time, and it's not working. The key word I want to see from 4MV is adaptability. No, based on the situation at hand, based on what kind of terrain and circle has come in your way, you got to adapt, because center's not always going to be the answer. Their splits, the way they approach circles is good. It's just later on in the match, what are you going to do to actually try and go for that big winning play?
I like their splits. I like the especially, I got to correct myself there. I like their 3-1 split. Whenever they do the 2-2 splits, they end up hindering themselves. We kind of saw that in this last match. We've seen it in the past as well. I believe it was yesterday whenever we went to Miramar. Those 2-2 splits, even though they feel confident, you can feel confident as much as you want, but if they're not working out, you got to switch it up. And right now, the 3-1 splits are working out for them.
I mean, we saw Team Spirit, right? They're doing the 2-2 splits too, and have not been doing great so far today.
Yeah, I mean, it's more of the regrouping that they're really struggling with. I mean, you mentioned on Sandhawk, when we were talking earlier on, when D+ pushed them, I think it was Matic in effect. D Plus pushed with cars. They pushed with vehicles. They should have heard them coming, yet they kind of still overcommitted to their stay, got caught off and lost too many players.
Yeah, I'd say that when you're doing a 2-2 split, which is a completely valid way to play the game, I think 2-2 splits are one of the strongest splits in my opinion, it's the way you set up your 2-2 split. And the very important thing to do is if you have cars facing the direction of your teammates, ready to go at a moment's notice. If you see a team coming your way and you're not ready to defend, you send it. But as you talked about in that Sunlock game, they did not send it instantly. Effect was instantly flushed. Yeah. Like by D plus Kia, Matic was able to survive, but it was not enough to make it out of that game as a three-man team. You need to be quick to reply and get together. So that stands not only then for Team Spirit, but as you said, Seven, also for 4MV.
Yeah, for 4MV. You know what? I'm going to switch off from 4MV. I want to go into Falcons. I want to go into some of the teams that we need to start actually seeing some reaction out of them. If they even want to try to make a push to that championship, you could end up being second place against Falcons. That's not where they want to be. That's not where Top wants to be. Action is all of the players from Falcons. That's not ultimately what they want to do. They want to end up being the champion. Right now, 12th place, 44 points is just not going to cut it going into the last aerial. I want to continue to see what we saw in this previous aerial, which was that quick rotation out of nowhere. If you don't end up going to Nova for Falcons, I don't want to see them fighting with Incilio early on, because Incilio has been getting the best part out of them over and over again.
For me, it wasn't even about the quick rotation coming out from Falcons, even though it was like a really big point they were making that previous game. It's just they are now aware that Incilio is there, and they're just going to avoid them. They're just going to wrap a little bit further down south, go towards the farm area, and that because of that, you're going to keep 4 players alive, which is all you have to do. Do not take these early fights. If you have 4 players alive in the mid to late game, you still have a chance to go for that chicken dinner.
So if we're going to go in on Falcons, I'm going to bring this topic up. Okay. It's who is going to stand out for their team here today in PMGC. If we think back to last year, it was Top. MVP. We think back to the league stage in Last Chance, it was Action and Icy. Who's going to do it for them right now? It was Top, it was East when it came to day one, able to put them on decent numbers, but they need someone on that team to stand out and really step up to be the motivation and really momentum going on their side.
We're not going to see anyone right now unless they still have 4 players alive in the late game. Like, you might be an insanely good fragger. Guess what? 1v4ing these players, these teams in this lobby, it's not going to.
Well, you're not Monkey. You're not playing the show.
Exactly. You're not on Warehouse right now.
Cappy's getting flashbacks right now as he's listening to us. But in regards to a player, especially Falcons, that needs to stand out, I think it has to be the superstar that everybody expects to end up performing out of this team. None other than Top. He's the one with the most pressure. He's the one that, I mean, we saw the emotion that he had whenever we were in Turkey, and they didn't end up getting that win. We know what he wants to do as well.
PMGC Grand Finals MVP.
Exactly. We need to see those kind of performances again. We really want to see that much this year. Top, right now is your time to shine.
Do it.
Make your future kid proud as well, right? Because he definitely expecting a child very, very soon. But I'm going to throw a question your way to both of you here, and I'll give you a second to think about it. You cannot pick Influence Rage because everyone has seen how well they played today. But in your opinions, out of all the other teams, who has had the biggest step up today in your eyes? And I'm kind of thinking maybe towards D+. Yes. I can already see 7 as being that team. But explain to us, what were the changes we've seen with D+ from day 1 to day 2 that have allowed them to have this step up?
I would say the scouting is quite interesting to me, especially on the Rozok or school finish. They actually got some really solid information and made the best kind of decision based on that scouting they got on school. They did it actually in Miramar yesterday, right? Where they had the 2 players on the compound, 2 players on the mounting. Information is a key factor that helps D+ do really solid place to go for the win. They did it here on that school finish, and I think that shows to me at least that they are able to bring that Miramar scouting over to Erangel and just perform thanks to it.
For me, it's going to be D+ as well. The big question mark is that, we are seeing them being able to perform better in Erangel in regards to eliminations. We're just not seeing really any placements out of that team. We need to see placements, and on top of that, we need to see eliminations.
Well, they got 3 matches left to do so today. We're going into our final Erangel of the day. So we're going to throw it back to our commentators to drop us on in with John, Allen, and Blink.
Boys over on the desk, from Novo over to shooting range. Our final Erangel of the day is just around the corner. Let's head on over, see what is available for our teams. It's a little bit kinder to the teams that drop over to the east side of this map, Blank. It's a little bit more chill. No long drops over the water.
I think we've been to Novo as our starting point for pretty much every single playing path today. So this has been a little bit more readable for our teams, but interesting positions all around the map that we've headed over towards apartments, even over towards school on that last game. crazy stuff coming through, which is always nice to see here over the PMGC Grand Finals. We've got massive support for 4MV here going into our 4th game of the day. Let's see if they can channel that.
TJB versus...
Plenty of energy here in the XL. We're looking for some excellent plays to back it up. Hot drops, maybe. We've seen TJB, the Vicious, have trouble at the start of these matches before. A little bit of a symptom of the plane path, but maybe they're on the lock-in. And we did criticize them for it a little bit. We didn't really see it too much yesterday. Are we going to see it once more? Over on that northwest side, just around that Gatka area. Circle goes out east though, blank. It's Milton Peninsula, it's Lipovka, it's the mansion splits.
Your Thunder talks over towards Milton Power, an adjustment we saw from them earlier on. They do head over towards Milton Power again, and it supports them, actually, you know, over on this eastern side. They can make a rotate up towards Lipovka, have a much easier time of things, which is nice to see. Na'Vi also on that side. Actually, you know, over on this eastern side, they can make a rotate up towards Lipovka, have a much easier time. Chikadinas back to back here.
Certainly could have been. They had that opportunity, but they still managed to profit greatly off of that, and now 1 point behind first place. They set themselves in a launching position to get up towards that top spot. Hoping to do that here. Over in Yasnaya, they will share with the Vicious. They've been playing against this team for a long time now, blank, both coming from the Americas region. Influence Rage on the east side of Yasnaya. But for now, Yasnaya will hold 2 teams, and it can do so comfortably for a little bit longer. It's the routes out that you need to try and isolate, and I think it's a little bit more pressure on the Vicious to make that move first because of the fact that so many teams are going to be pushing in from that west side, and they don't really have too many eastern routes out, given that Influence Rage sit on the east side of that settlement. The teams out on the west side include Guild on South George and Alpha 7 up on North George, and they'll have to try and navigate that river crossing, maybe sweep around past Stalba, or go through the middle near Potato Hill.
Yeah, always awkward here. I mean, most teams are going to shift over from that western side anyway, including DRX, Nickman Galaxy, Team Spirit, so there will be openings made later on. Just means you have to play edge for a little bit longer. For the Vicious, there is a rotate up towards that north side, wrapping around Yasnaya. They can do the same down towards the south. And there's plenty of vehicles in that area as well. And I think for Influence Rage, they'll likely want to try and get ahead of this, but it's not like they can fully hold out the Vicious from making that move out. It just depends how aggressive they're going to be. You can see the lovely new McLaren skin coming through in-game for the buggy. Probably my favorite new skin for the vehicles so far. Looks sleek.
I like the wheels. That's my favorite part of that skin, I think.
Yeah.
The little designs on the wheels, you know.
That's right.
Look pretty fresh.
The wheels make the car go, John.
No, that's the engine, actually, I'm afraid. Fact checked.
Without the wheels, the car no go.
Without the engine, the car no go.
Yes, yes. Symbiosis.
Yes.
One cannot
occur without the other. 2 things, both necessary. Thunder Talk necessary to hold down this ground as they push in and up from the Milton-Power Peninsula towards Na'Vi, who have taken a knock. Not the flush just yet, but Cheng is moving into position on the off angle now to try and enact a little bit of pain over towards the Na'Vi ranks. Lemon exposed and a little bit up on high.
Oh, King, nice spotting.
Give Overwatch from the top rope there, and a flip is found as well.
Na'Vi
nice pulled apart by Thunder Talk.
For Na'Vi, it's a weird rotate in the first place. It's a strong rotate from Thunder Talks though. And again, this is something that maybe you wouldn't expect coming from Thunder Talks, moving over towards Milton Power at that point in time. The fact that they're able to do that catches Na'Vi off guard. They're able to make their way up. But again, scouting is key, and things do change on a dime as we move through this PMGC. And I think that's something you've got to be aware of. For instance, even though that last game, there was a great adjustment there from TJB where they were being held up by Alpha 7. They were like, fine, we'll sit in inside box compound. You guys are going to have to move anyway, but we're going to refuse to play into your hand. So this is what Na'Vi kind of fails on there.
Influence Rage, they moved out. So did the Vicious. Both of them coming into
Okay,
contact.
Team Spirit के 9 मिनट आउट के Zing को.
Damages coming through from a lot of teams. These early maneuvers, quite treacherous seemingly. ThunderTalk have taken a knock. You've seen a knock over towards Incilio. Damage sent towards Influence Rage. Obviously Na'Vi going out entirely. But it is definitely a little bit of a nasty set of rotates. Incilio losing a player. The Falcons make their way across from Novo as well. So they breach in towards the Milta area. Incilio going to have to flee towards the peninsula. And allows Falcons a straight shot towards the middle.
For the Falcons, it's much better. They have been cut out plenty of times down towards that south side by Incilio, so getting the first impact over towards them is very important for them, and it means that Incilio is going to be playing a little bit more cautiously. Team Spirit actually were able to find a hit over towards ThunderTalks, but unable to confirm that flush. But at least ThunderTalks are now aware of that position down towards the south side. And for Team Spirit, it is pretty imperative right now. They pick themselves up some more points because that points margin for them really hasn't moved all that much. The dial not swinging too hard for Team Spirit today.
No, they started a very similar scoreline to what they are on now. I think they started the day, was it on 55 points, 54 points?
54,
like that?
yeah.
It was 54. So they have not moved a whole deal at all. Up towards 57, definitely looking to try and convert the second half of their day. And this is the position to do it, right? They have currently got a very central hold around Prison to try and make something happen on this match. On a 3-1 split, I think they're on right now. Actually, Kitsune scouting down towards the Milta Power Peninsula. Potentially get a lot of info over towards Incilio, spot that rotation, maybe the vehicles in the compound down there, feed that back over towards the rest of the team, and to be fair, that does keep their south flank fairly secure.
Yeah, playing over on that cliff face for Kitsune, it's a bold move, I'll give him that, but he'll be on his own for a while, but it did provide good information going forward. You can always move over towards the crates, which Incilio likely might want to move over towards later. Voin Donkey, though, outside in the blue, cut out by 4MV. Doc watching that angle. We have currently Enigma Galaxy on our screens, who are scouting everywhere. We got Ralph down towards Milta at the moment, looking to regroup back over towards that north side, but it's D+ laying down the wall in front of them. Shields up for them, looking to rebuff Enigma Galaxy.
Playing around those shelter locations, D+ Kia stretching a line across the center of this circle as it shrinks in again.
Okay.
Goes a little bit more land-based, so not too dramatic on this shift. Falcons have managed to get ahead. I mean, this is what that pick over in Milta has allowed them to do, to move in ahead of Incilio on their rotate. Kitsune now very likely to look for the regroup. Team Spirit want to play the west side of that prison opening. You can see that the majority of the players are going to be moving out that way. Kitsune regrouping on the east side of it. ThunderTalk still to their north, and that's going to push ThunderTalk up towards the mansion conflict that is very likely to occur between teams like Alpha 7, like Vicious, like Guild, and all the way out on the north side. You've still got TJB to come in as well, so plenty of teams yet to condense on that top side. The south side a little bit more set in its ways.
Yeah, Kitsune regrouping with the team. Falcons move through this area. It's getting a little bit claustrophobic for Team Spirit. Similarly for RCB, surrounded on all sides. I mean, they have definitely a position to play from. 7 getting scarily close to DRX. Over towards Alamo. As soon as DRX has to give up this high ground, it gets a lot more easy for Alpha 7 to make that approach, but they do find themselves at home. Will immediately move over towards that location. Good stuff from Alpha 7. It's on the north side. I think they'll be happy to play this spot out for a little bit longer, especially because we're still in stage 2. Stage 3 is really where we'll start having to look for more significant portions of landmass.
4MV trying to navigate their way on in. They still, towards the latter half of the day, Blank, hold that top spot, right? They are in first place, but now only by a hair, where before it was by a country mile. So now that gap has shrunk. They need to post up another strong result. It's not going to be a military circle, which means they will not have that assistance on side. They need to find a little bit more. They had a decent result over by School on that south side position, able to survive quite long into the game, get a lot of eliminations in the apartments positions as well. I think they played that very well. So we'll see if they can repeat that here. Voindonkey ID, though, going to be moving in behind 4MV on that southwest edge, just on the north edge of farm, and over towards those dips in those road junctions that could potentially be hotly contested here. But for now, arm's length between most of our teams.
Thunderdogs were able to get a knock over towards Falcons. It's not been res just yet either, as East makes his way on over towards Icy. Scrape him off the floor, put him back on his feet. Pretty calm circle for the time being. Some interesting spots around here. We do have Dip still in play over towards that western side mansion, as well as Shelter. There are a lot of strong positions. Waiting now on stage 3. This will be the big kicker for a lot of teams of whether they decide to play. Now Dip becomes really important. Foreign V could challenge for it, but Voindonkey hot on their heels.
A fast rotate on the southwest side as we head up a little bit closer to the Yaz Fields. You've got the Vicious in a really important compound, in that Heaven compound that oversees the northeast side entirely. We have seen it shared in the past, one team up, one team down, but right now the Vicious have it 2 and 2 on their split. Voindonkey ID faster than 4MV, and they get up to the roadside. They'll challenge off, they'll stand off against DRX, who actually take a little bit of damage over in their building. Over in the Alamo, and the roll-up for Voindonkey ID successful.
Voindonkey ID, they've been struggling, but these type of positions, they love to play them. They work out well for them. Voindonkey ID currently still on 4 players. From the ditch, though, they have a lot of presence when it comes to that long-range firepower. Enigma Galaxy inside a dip at the moment, holding this one out. Strong position to play, but you got to be massively on the swivel. And this is not likely to be in the next circle. It definitely could be, but with it being so far down towards the southwest, they will be praying for a circle shift going their way. Spirit slowly angling their way into position where they can drop the net on Enigma Galaxy and potentially catch them off guard.
Oh boy!
My big nade from Kaikse. Over towards Voindonkey ID. They lost Vexy on the rotate. I was worried about their rear duo regroup, and it seems like that fear has come to pass. Unfortunately, could potentially be pretty devastating for them. DRX, they weren't able to stop that first duo coming through, but as soon as they had those sightlines established, they were ready for the second set of Voindonkey ID players. And now they are down to 2, Zeta and Potato. As Zeta gets pulled out of the vehicle, DRX just being so brutal. Down shots on towards this position, and it's just Potato in the smoke with the shotgun, looking to try and stay alive, but those smokes will fade eventually, and there's teams waiting in the wings to pull them down. But Revo for Alpha 7, a scout down to the south and up to the ridgeline. It's going to work out.
So is immediately is on the case though, and that forces him back, which gives more time to DRX. For the rest of Alpha 7 starting to move down from that north side. Mafioso not at all close by. He's on the southern edge of Yasnaya, just peeking his way out, getting some information for the teams down towards that southern edge. Team Spirit still playing their cards right, just very safely down towards that south side. In purview, though, of the Falcons on the east, who are just making their way out from prison, so they do have that high ground to play around with.
And the Falcons did manage to get that res earlier, Blank, so they're playing as 4 on the northwest corner. Incilio going for a wide sweep around the edge. Thundertalk, probably the team that they're going to come into contact with here, with Guild on the far angle. Could potentially be a third-party situation, as Guild are very likely to want to move as well. Taking a look at the map feed, Voindonkey ID do go down in a central position. They wish because now it's Alpha 7 on the north, it's DRX in their
and for DRX, strong spot for them. Looking like it'll play out very nice. And again, once you get this spot and it's not been removed from you at this stage of the game, it becomes really strong. Fajay up towards that top side, looking out over towards Guild. Azer doing his best, but it's not quite enough here versus 3TN. Incilio takes a pretty heavy hit, but nothing they can't stand back up from. In the meantime, RCB flying past the Thundertalks, getting ahead of them. How in the hell the Thundertalks let this happen?
I have no idea. I mean, it was a rotation, I guess, in parallel there. Thundertalk didn't have the sightlines established. They can't really step up. It's worrying, though, that they couldn't stop it. You're right. Alpha 7 on the north side, they've got the rooftops to play with. Mafioso is still in South George. The function of Mafioso in South Yasnaya, the function of his position is to keep that high ground and protect Alpha 7 from backstabs, right? For a team like Incilio or Guild or the Vicious, moving in from that east side, wrapping around, pushing into the north edge of their compound. Mafioso stays there. That option is removed because you cannot step up to that wall. You cannot establish a push, drop those smokes, take your time with Mafioso taking those shots. This is what Incilio are going to attempt now, and this is where Mafioso needs to come in clutch, but the Blue Zone's going to be pushing him as well, so he needs to be very careful as to when he takes those peaks.
If Mafioso is basically an installed alarm system over towards that northern side, and the alarm is going to start blaring very shortly. In the meantime, Team Spirit rolling through over towards Dip.
Okay, Team Spirit versus Aina.
Further forward over towards Influence Rage. This feels like a very, very dangerous rotate from Team Spirit. Kitsune might get left behind. The vehicle is smoking away, and you can see those shots absolutely blasting away at his team. But they make it in. Strong position to play from. Influence Rage might want to head on forward. But this is so exposed, John.
Oh, 4MV managed to thread the needle on the shot. That's from outside the circle blank. The vehicle has gone up, though, and there is cover now available for Team Spirit. They can just hunker down for a little bit longer. DRX not going to be flexing out from this one. They want to keep their building under control. There's too many people around them for them to actually be able to go and third-party this position. So it's only going to be nades that could potentially reach Kitsune, and he's already getting raised. So potentially a strong result. TJB want to try and challenge for this rotate, though. Thundertalk has taken heavy casualties in the meantime, and RCB want to capitalize. High in the compound will not. And RCB,
damn, man. No.
With a fast roll down, make it work. TJB trying to keep things together for the PEL squads now, because Thundertalk have been pushed down by the wayside. Nomi and Matic very low. Kitsune healing up, but TJB can't find that opening.
For TJB, it's a scary team for Team Spirit to go up against here, considering the fact that they are so aggressive. I think as soon as they got that first knock, saw that first knock go towards Team Spirit, they were like, I'm going to push this, try and take a more central location. It was Nick Galaxy to float on past Team Spirit, though, head over towards RCB, who just concluded their fight with the Thundertalks.
Nades cooking for RCB and for Enigma Galaxy. We've seen this bombardment from Enigma Galaxy before. They do like to invest these at this stage. A nade over towards Redox does connect from Wild. Looking to put a second down as well and chew through it. That is an excellent opener, but what more can they do now? Enigma Galaxy really want to take this under control. The circle gives them so much strength on this position, but they just need to lock it down. Unfortunately, two of their players been knocked. I don't think RCB are going to invest any more nades here, so 4 players may be a piece for both of these two teams in a central roadside position.
Yeah, you leave it at that. Leave Enigma Galaxy crawl away from this one. Alpha 7 taking some longer shots over towards Vicious, who are on the south side of Guild. Good shots as well, actually. They're from very long distance. For Team Spirit, as well as Influence Rage, they're essentially waiting for the circle to close, because right now, because there are so many sightlines on the edge of this circle, Team Spirit and Influence Rage's position, not necessarily the safest, but they will be come stage 5.
Oh, a nade over the top from Axo. Able to find a player on the Vicious. Bronozin does get some healing done, but the vehicles are getting battered about by the nades, and so are the health bars. Guild able to move through, and that is the Vicious down from the northeast side. They cannot leave from that Heaven compound. And on the northeast, Guild find a little opening, but Incilio have taken the opportunity to move in front of this. Low HP, this is dangerous, they're getting pulled out. And it will be another elimination going through for Guild. They go down in the open. Unfortunately, the sightline's not playing well for them. That's Alpha 7 to chime in and trying to get that step forwards, but I just don't see it happening.
Good hold from Enigma Galaxy over towards the Falcons. They attempt to get a little bit closer. Deep Plus also holding on. Stalwart lead down towards the south side, where much of the action is taking place. And Alpha 7 might just hit a blinder here over on this northern edge. Able to play this game nice and slow outwards. Falcons now down to 1 player.
East on the east, just trying to keep himself together. See if we can keep it under control for the game. 4MV trying to make their way through, but Influence Rage now, with that point and against 4MV, are in first place. There is an overtake now as Influence Rage from the south edge look for D+ Kia as well. Nolbu just about able to sprint his way back to the rest of the team, a little bit closer to cover. But Influence Rage can continue this pressure. With chips down on the off angle, D plus Kia are down a player. Influence Rage can start to exact control over it.
So D plus we're able to get back into this one is very good, but like you're saying, Influence Rage controls a massive amount of land, but a great nade from Osal. Understanding the direction that Lorenzen's coming from, and he's completely separated from the rest of the team. Unlikely to get their player back up. And D plus can force the initiative.
Ooh, Fabian charges it down over the side of the cliff there, and with 3 players, D plus clear, not out of it just yet. Nolbu gets the information on the push-up from Influence Rage to that ridgeline. Meanwhile, over on the west side, Team Spirit are still trying to rebuff TJB, as the nades just bounce overhead, and NVMe once again fades the damage. Team Spirit did lose a player earlier. Now with TJB right on the edge, I think they're going to be starting to run dry on supplies. 676 has at least one more nade here. Team Spirit just trying to keep their heads down. If they stay alive, they have the edge of this circle.
It is so awkward here. I'm more worried about Doc, to be honest with you. He could be a massive outside chance. TJB slowly moving these vehicles up, and Team Spirit somewhat of a stranglehold over towards them. Luckily, though, DRX finds the angle from the sidelines. They pushed over towards the west, and that's one player down in Triple S.
They've realized, Blank, that there's no one actually pushing onto their compound. No one's threatening from the hill, so they can afford to flex out like this. And the nades are brutal to TJB. They are not getting 676 back up. There is no way that they're able to make that happen. And what do you do at this stage? It is pretty much done and dusted for TJB. They're locked down by the sightlines from Team Spirit and from DRX on the overhead crossfire. It's so difficult to make anything happen here, and I think that they are not long for this match.
But here, DRX
having the buggy as a way to scout out for these nades is so busted in this location. Longs are living as long as possible, but the shots going over towards DRX at the moment, so they have to be very careful. NVMe spots one, but will go down as TJB holds on for a little bit longer, but there is a refrag. Question is, are there any smokes to get NVMe back up into the picture?
Big nade overarm from Kitsune, doesn't find Flower, but his position is known. Everybody has sightlines over towards it. NVMe makes a smart crawl, knows that the ridgeline is covered off towards DRX, knows that he's isolated that angle as well that had threat towards him. And the regroup now from DRX leaves TJB's head spinning. Team Spirit may have just been thrown a lifeline by the flex out from South Korea.
It's a good play from Team Spirit, it has to be said. A Doc nade gives me the spooks. I think when you look at this, it looks bad, but for Team Spirit, they realize it's the only option they have. They just need to survive. It literally is survival. RCB crashes through.
But they've still got one more to go. They find it. RCB with another roll down. Blank. They're up to 11 eliminations on this match. They have been sweeping, they have been aggressive, and they have been earning point after point. A fantastic push up the tables for the team from Turkey.
Not a good game for Alpha 7.
I've been waiting for it. It's good to see it come through. On the northeast side, it seems like things have been isolated. And it was TJB to fall as well. So we're down to 5 teams. And out on the west, you've still got, is that 3? Yeah, 3 players from Team Spirit. As 4MB do finally fall. No eliminations, but a 5th place is not the end of the world.
We had 4 out of the top 6 in the top 5 of this game, which is somewhat surprising, honestly. It really does feel like
Team Spirit को देखो guys,
इतना
late खेली patience से late करे भाई आप देखो
now.
zone है.
Team Spirit down towards that southwest side, getting a little bit of damage done over towards DRX. The circle will close. And Team Spirit's going to have to figure out their game plan going forward because their vehicles are shredded. D plus though now going up against RCB. Great nade, has to run away from it, won't quite take him down. Good reactions there from D plus.
Team Spirit's cupboards are bare here with very little utility. You can see they are just running on fumes right now after their standoff with TJB. They expended all of their smokes to keep themselves safe. So really don't have too much to play with other than the magazines and their weapons. That is still a fearsome prospect. If they can push up, if they can find an opening, they will take
Okay,
it. D plus Kia trying to handle RCB out on the east side. 4 players for RCB alive as Loxy tries to keep that suppression down. The wide sweep, they love these vehicle roll-ups. Osal falls. Now the last to stand for them, and he's dancing around, but Sara takes his dinner away from him. Able to find the shutdown, and RCB up to 14 eliminations now, Blank.
14 elims. Top 3. What a game from RCB. Still 4 players alive here going forward. Silas just had his interview. A little bit of encouragement. You've done it before, you can do it again. He took that to heart.
Team Spirit, they found a vehicle from somewhere. Dredged it from the depths. Digging deep on this one. Effect with, I think, the only nade on side. As they roll forward,
Okay, that's a good
to find the
point.
dip, and DRX really can't push out too far. The question is, what sightlines do RCB have over to this? The vehicle blockade continues as Team Spirit find it a little bit more.
Okay, RCB have the
up to the
rotation
hill,
too,
over the
right.
top of DRX. So
Okay,
they just
Nomi can
give
have
this
this chicken
presence
dinner, yeah?
towards Team
Sorry,
Spirit.
Team Spirit.
Feels like they maybe have,
The
but
player
they've
is
left the
slow.
player out on the east side. Sara, the Lone Ranger. A little bit less easy to communicate with him, of course. That language barrier means you put him on an off angle, he knows what he's doing. He is that Lone Ranger, doesn't need to communicate as effectively. He can ping out those approaches, he can ping out those positions still.
Team Spirit has played in some of the most awkward locations of every single portion
RCB
of
know that
this
we have to be up to do.
circles. They have literally never had a home. They're sleeping out on the benches at the moment. But they're still doing it. This is an unreal result for Team Spirit. A true test of survival for this squad. They are now in nade range, which is somewhat spooky.
It's basically a death
Players
sentence
are going on boom bam beam.
at this stage. Loxy lands one on Kitsune's head and
Kitsune
finds a
down.
second from Silas. Sent his way too. The
Okay,
bouncers
Nomi
still
will be
continue.
RNA.
And Team Spirit have nothing. They have no answer to this. Their nades are completely gone. They blew them all earlier on that southwest hold.
They're playing for second. They got some more nades off of that ditch in the first place, but they're all on
kills
at the moment. But they have to essentially hope that by the time this circle closes in, DRX becomes the focus for RCB, which they should do from Alamo.
Hyunbin trying to jump peek the smoke there, Effect crawling up behind it. Those smokes are about to fade, Blank. They're about to disappear.
This is a great play. I really like this play, John. Honestly, getting Effect up to here to damage the exit here from DRX is huge.
Okay,
because it means that they're likely to go down first, and they're just hoping that Nomi lives long enough. This is so good. The delay is massive. It doesn't matter that Effect's down. Like I said, this is a death sentence for DRX.
The blue zone pushes, and DRX need to find their way out. They have not got the pace. It would be a miracle to break free, but Nomi is still down there in the ditch. With RCB on 4 players alive, DRX just want to ladder up into second place. They've had a great game here, Blank. We may be redefining the top of the tables based on this.
16 kills.
With 16 eliminations, RCB want to close this down on the 20. See how much they can get. DRX moving out to hail of fire, but it's not quite connecting here. Sara nearly running drive. Finally, a spray down connects. 1 player falls for DRX, a second as well. That goes to Loxy. 2 players still trying to make their way through. The open smoke ground not going to be clean. Soez goes down next, and only 1 player survives. It is Hyunbin. What can Nomi do to maybe get that second place? He's still down in the ditch. He's spotted the player, I'm sure.
DRX still 1 player left remaining. Like you say, Hyunbin's still
up. He killed him.
And he will take him down. Nomi takes the second
He
place.
killed himself.
An unbelievable game from RCB. A survivalist performance from Team Spirit.
Chicken dinner, I think.
2 parallels in motion.
I think it's 18 or 19 kills, brother. That's damn, yaar. एक मैच में
I'm not gonna lie, right now, I'm starting to wonder, will Sara start to learn Turkish? Because RCB is looking to dominate this lobby, potentially taking first place as we get into our leaderboards in a little bit of time. But Max and 7, Alpha 7, I feel like it could have been their game.
We're getting on a negative right away. I thought we were going to hype up RCB after that win, but yeah, this could have maybe been then the Alpha 7 win, but look at the crowd, man. They are hyped for that RCB win, and
And they have to
Sarah was not even supposed to be. He's like, well, I guess we win.
The thing is with the performance, we were so blinded by what Influence Rage has been able to do so far today that RCB has still been able to put up good performances. They started off the day with a great win, 5 eliminations. On top of that, they finished out with a 5th place, 5 elims. Every single match that we have seen out of this team so far today has been 5 or more eliminations, and now being able to get another win is gonna be massive for that team. We'll get a chance to talk about Alpha 7, but I feel like we definitely gotta give some props here to RCB, because we were wondering what was gonna happen with Sara. How was the communications for that team gonna end up working out? So far, it seems like they might have been able to figure out what they needed to do. The control that they were able to do in this circle, the pushes that they were able to do on Alpha 7 were so impressive.
I had so many questions also for Regnum Karabrak going into these grand finals, because as we saw during the league stage, right? Big improvement. They peaked kind of during the survival stage, and then it kind of slowed down and were outshined by especially Voin Donkey ID. But man, they just came in swinging today, and also got himself that chicken dinner early on Sanok. They're having such an amazing day here for Turkey. And Loxy, actually, I was a little bit sad during the league stage because Wild and Loxy were a little bit silent compared to their typical fragging role in their home.
It was Kimmy's.
Yeah, it was Kimmy's that's not even here. It is good to see here Loxy in particular stand out with 11. Wait,
11. Yeah.
Wait, did I read that right?
Yeah. No, yeah, you read that right.
He just
under 1,000 damage too.
Okay, now we need 12 to beat Ryzen, and we'll get there.
Oh, we've had 2 players already getting really close to trying to beat that record.
So I asked you guys a question earlier on about, you know, besides Influence Rage, who is the team that stepped up the most today? And you guys both went with D+. When I ask you that question again, is it RCB?
Well, maybe RCB.
Yeah, all right, maybe. I think
D+ actually performed really well that match. They ended up with 6 eliminations, a top 4 finish too. Now that we have Aaron Gill out of the way, I personally saw the improvement out of this team that I needed to see for them to even try to challenge on tomorrow. Championship Sunday, they can try to make that push for that first place. D+, though, they need to be able to mimic what they were able to do yesterday going into Miramar.
Yeah, I mean, there was some really good stuff coming out from D+. If they can play Miramar even better, well, might have a back-to-back win on that map. We'll have to see. But here you go. 3 elims going over to Sarah, 4 for Wild, 11 for Loxy, and then just 1 elimination on the other side. But incredible match here. And actually, to bring it back to the team that you brought up initially here, Jason, Alpha 7. Alpha 7, I think, made major mistakes.
Yes.
Regnum Karabra, very quick to...
बड़ी महंगी लग रही है मेरे को। पीसीस नहीं बता रहे तो। अरे वाह, मैं F7 क्लिक किया हूँ तब भी। चलो गाइस, स्ट्रीम एंड करते पहले तो। बाय गाइस, थैंक यू फॉर ज्वाइनिंग इन टुडे। हो गया आज का, टाटा, सी यू टुमारो।
आपको यहाँ देखकर कितना हैरान हूँ मैं। खैमे की तन्हाई में कौन बसा गया है आपको?
हीरे तो महंगा सी प्यार मेरा, हीरे तो महंगा सी प्यार मेरा, चांदी दे पिछे भज भज के तू गवा लिया प्यार मेरा, लोकां दे पिछे लग लग के तू गवा लिया प्यार मेरा। हीरे तो महंगा सी प्यार मेरा, हीरे तो महंगा सी प्यार मेरा। नहीं लभना तेनू प्यार मेरा, नहीं लभना तेनू प्यार मेरा हुण, नहीं लभना तेनू प्यार मेरा हुण। लग लग के क्यों तू छड्डता साथ मेरा, लोकां दी गल्लां विच आके दिलों तू कड्डता प्यार मेरा, लोकां दे पिछे लग लग के क्यों तू छड्डता साथ मेरा, लोकां दी गल्लां विच आके दूर करता प्यार मेरा। मंगे असी मैं तैनू रब तो क्यों नहीं मिलिया प्यार तेरा, ओ मंगे असी मैं तैनू रब तो क्यों नहीं मिलिया प्यार तेरा। होरां दी गल्लां विच आके दिलों तू कड्डता प्यार मेरा, होरां दी गल्लां विच आके दूर करता दिल तू मेरा। हीरे तो महंगा सी प्यार मेरा, हीरे तो महंगा सी प्यार मेरा, चांदी दे पिछे भज भज के तू गवा लिया प्यार मेरा, चांदी दे पिछे भज भज के तू गवा लिया प्यार मेरा।